Hi guys, today's episode is about what if Naruto tried to bring Sasuke back again, how far he's willing to go, and whether he's willing to become a criminal for his village to save his best friend. Enjoy watching.
Chapter 1, Beginning. Naruto was lying on his bed completely broken. He was tormented by heavy thoughts that haunted him day and night. The subject of such painful thoughts was his best friend Sasuke, who had recently left the village of the Hidden Leaf in search of power. And most importantly, he went not just anywhere, but to one of the most dangerous ninja exiles and S-rank criminals, Orochimaru. And he, Naruto, could not stop him, although he swore to do so. He swore not only to Sakura, who loved Sasuke, but also to himself. He swore that he would not let his first and best friend wallow in the darkness of hatred. He was confident that he could force the Uchiha to change his mind and return to Konoha. But he couldn't. Sasuke ended up at Orochimaru's, and heaven alone knew what was happening to him now. Sasuke left, and Naruto's friends, who went with him after the Uchiha, almost died during this mission. And that put pressure on Naruto too. The boy let out a stingy tear, which he immediately wiped away. No. He shouldn't whimper like a girl. He must not give up. Yes, he failed to reason with Sasuke last time, but what's stopping him from trying again? It's not in his nature to give up. This is his ninja way. Naruto quickly jumped out of bed. If he really decided to find and reason with Sasuke, then he should not sit idly by. Even if Konoha renounced the Uchiha, he is Uzumaki Naruto, he would never leave him to be torn apart by Orochimaru. But this time he will go alone. And even Granny Tsunade, along with the perverted hermit, will not be able to stop him. It was only his business. Him and Sasuke. And that's it. No matter what anyone said, no matter what he convinced the boy of, Naruto understood that everyone, except maybe Sakura and Ino, didn't give a damn about Sasuke as a person. In recent times, it has been spoken of either as another Uchiha that has been consumed by darkness or as a combat unit that has fallen into disrepair and should be replaced. But to Naruto, Sasuke was like a brother. He couldn't leave him. So Uzumaki decided to leave now. There was no time to waste. The boy approached the collection thoroughly. He had considerable travel experience, so only the most necessary things flew into the backpack. Extra cargo on the way, and even more so in battle, is useless. However, this did not apply to weapons. Just in case, Naruto grabbed a few extra sets of kunai and shuriken. Already standing at the door, Naruto turned around and glanced around his apartment. When the boy was convinced that he had captured everything he wanted, his eyes rested on the far corner, where the parquet was barely noticeable. To take it or not to take it? Naruto thought out loud. I haven't even opened it since. What if it comes in handy, because Sasuke has become so strong? Finally, the boy, without taking off his shoes, went to the corner and took out the parquet. Behind her, in a small recess in the floor, lay a scroll. Without any more hesitation, Naruto stuffed the scroll into his backpack. And already fully prepared, he moved towards the exit of Konoha. Luckily, he didn't meet any of his friends along the way. And doubly well, none of the friends. If Iruka-sensei or Sakura saw him now, they would immediately understand everything. And then the campaign for Sasuke could be forgotten for a long time. He had almost passed the gate, when suddenly a stern voice called out to him. Going far, Naruto? Uzumaki, without showing any sign, smiled over his shoulder and replied cheerfully as always. No, Kotetsu-senpai. It's just that Grandma Tsunade sent me on an errand to a neighboring town. I'll be back soon. But to Naruto's surprise, Kotetsu remained serious and didn't answer him. The second Chunin, Izumo, folded his arms across his chest and looked at him in such a way that the boy immediately understood that he hadn't rolled. Don't lie to us, Naruto, Kotetsu said softly. Hokage-sama gave us clear instructions not to let you out of the village until your shock after the last mission has passed. You can't go looking for the Uchiha right now. Sasuke is my friend. Not weathered blonde. He clenched his fists in rage. How can you all just sit and wait while he's in Orochimaru's clutches? His life is in danger. He is one of us, and we must help him. Sasuke stopped being one of us when he went to an S-rank criminal, Izumo replied harshly. From the moment he joined the Sound Shinobi, he became an exile. And if you disobey the Kage's direct order and follow him, you risk sharing his unenviable fate. Naruto's eyes were clouded over. His mind at every sharp word in the direction of a friend more and more overwhelmed with rage. So that's it. He roared. You want him dead. He's just confused, that's all. And you are ready to destroy it. I won't allow it. I'm going after him right now. Naruto. Uzumaki turned around and saw Kakashi. Sensei looked calm, but Naruto could tell from his collected stance that the copy ninja was ready to use force on him to keep him in the village. Naruto, calm down, Kakashi said soothingly. Remember, Sasuke made his choice under the pressure of emotions. Hatred clouded his mind, just as the thirst for justice clouded yours now. Think for yourself, now you can't help Sasuke in any way, you won't even be able to find him. At least I'll try. Naruto spat angrily. You don't need more, just don't give up and continue to fight for Sasuke. Naruto's anger was already boiling over. His eyes turned purple. Naruto! Kakashi yelled a warning. Calm down. You start to lose your temper. If you try to leave, he stood up, I will have to stop you. I don't want to lose another student. Naruto began to boil more and more. Anger filled him in waves, taking over his heart and mind. And along with the anger came the fox chakra. As is his anger. The next moment, blood-red eyes with narrow vertical pupils were looking at Kakashi. Step back, sensei, Naruto growled. He was slowly covered with a crimson layer of demonic chakra. I can. Believe in me for once. I believe in you. And we'll get Sasuke back. We just have to wait a little longer. The boy's face took on a calmer expression. Kakashi was beginning to think that Naruto agreed with him, but at the moment when he was about to breathe a sigh of relief, Naruto's face twisted again in anger. The two ANBU sneaking up on the boy from behind were swept away by the Kyuubi's burning chakra. Kakashi also got hurt, who was also hurt by the energy escaping from Naruto. Stop him! Shouted an old man unfamiliar to Naruto with his right eye wrapped in bandages. He was decrepit in appearance, a cane helped him stand straight, but, apparently, he was a respected shinobi. Anyway, the ANBU listened to him like he was the Hokage. Do whatever you want, but the Nine Tails must not leave the walls of Konoha. Eat! Naruto was immediately surrounded by about a dozen masked fighters. They no longer expected to take it with their bare hands. Swords popped out of scabbards. Danzo, what are you doing? A panting Tsunade was approaching them at full speed. There were about a dozen Zenin with her. I order you to stop. The ANBU froze in surprise, not knowing who to obey them. Tsunade, Danzo spoke without any ceremony. He is the Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails, the property of Konoha. We can't let him down, especially now that the Akatsuki are on the hunt for Bijou. We must stop him. Agree. The Hokage screamed. But not in this way. Naruto will understand that we do not wish him harm, and will stay. Naruto, she turned directly to the boy, go back to your home. I ask you as your friend and I command you as your Hokage. You are still a Konoha shinobi, and it is your duty to follow orders. Forget the Uchiha for now. We'll save him later. You can't leave because the Akatsuki are after the Nine Tails that's sealed inside you. We can't let them get it, otherwise Konoha would be in dire trouble. Come to your senses. With each word, the cover of the fox's crimson chakra fell more and more. Naruto, whose eyes were gradually returning to their usual light blue hue, looked around at the faces of everyone in front of him. There were already a lot of people around who, having heard the noise, came running to see what was happening. And the boy was able to look into the eyes of each of them, but he didn't see anything. Not a drop of sympathy, not a shred of compassion. These were masks of readiness. Willingness to stop him at any cost. It was as if he looked into their thoughts and saw what he had seen on their faces all his childhood. Contempt, dislike, fear. And a great desire that he was not around. To all of you, I'm just a fox, Naruto whispered bitterly. Just a tool, and you are afraid that this tool would not fall into the hands of the enemy. No, Naruto, no. Tsunade shook her head, but the boy stopped her with a gesture. Grandma, don't. I know very well how the villagers treat me. I am feared and despised. Only a few have recognized me, the few I call friends. That's just, the boy did not let her speak, realizing that the Hokage was using friends as an excuse. Sasuke is one of my friends. One smart person once told me, in the ninja world, those who do not follow the rules are often called non-entities, but those who do not care about friends are even worse. Everyone looked at Naruto, and no one saw how a single tear rolled down Kakashi's face. But even if I fail to save him, at least I will stop being a thorn in the side of the villagers. So, you will not obey not only the request, but also the order? The Hokage said with tears in her eyes. Exactly, even if it gets you labeled as a nuke. Yes. He made his choice, Tsunade, Danzo croaked. ANBU, destroy the traitor. The katanas whistled through the air and landed on Naruto. But the second the steel was supposed to cut the boy, he was no longer there. A moment before the ANBU hit him, Uzumaki jumped far back and then disappeared behind the trees. Shikado, watch which way he went. Kakashi ordered the Chunin standing next to him. Eat. The representative of the Hyuga clan responded. Byakugin. It is moving at high speed to the northeast. After a couple of seconds, the Chunin reported. A little more, and he will be out of my line of sight. Thanks, nothing more, Kakashi thanked him. He bit his finger until it bled, and, having folded the seal, hit the ground, summoning technique. Only one dog came to the call. Pakun, move to the northeast. No time to explain, just follow Naruto's scent. Don't lose sight of him. You will send messages through yours. Understood, Pakun muttered with displeasure and rushed after the runaway boy like a bullet. The rest stood, unable to utter a word. Everyone was amazed at Naruto's decision to leave the village. Finally, Tsunade spoke up. Zenin advice to gather in my office. We need to do something about this situation. We can't afford to lose Naruto next to the Uchiha. And even more so, we cannot allow Naruto to become a criminal because of him. All the ninja nodded in agreement and followed after the Hokage. Only Danzo and a couple of ANBU from the route were left standing at the gate. Fox still betrayed us, the elder muttered under his breath. Well, Sarutobi, you shouldn't have listened to me then. But now you are dead, and unable to stop me, and turning to the ANBU, he added, now Uzumaki is a threat to Konoha. It must be destroyed. Get ready. The masked shinobi bowed respectfully before disappearing into a puff of smoke. Chapter 2, First Blood. You see, Naruto, the fox said ingratiatingly. They all betrayed you. People never change. They hate everything that surpasses them in strength. They despise you because you are one with me. Don't hold back your anger, Naruto. Take revenge on them all for the way they treated you. Take revenge on them for their betrayal. Break the seal and I'll help you get your revenge. Together we will destroy Konoha. Break the seal and we will unleash the full force of our fury on the traitors. Naruto didn't yell anything back at the fox. Instead, he succumbed to the flow of his chakra that pulled him towards him. Fox rejoiced. A little more and he'll be free. Just a little more. Here the boy is already stretching his hand to the devil's seal. But Naruto's hand went through the bars. In the twinkling of an eye, he grabbed the fox by the fur and slammed its muzzle against the bars with force. Kyubi from such an unexpected blow could not resist on his paws and sprawled on the floor of his dungeon. He looked at Naruto with surprise, not with malice, but with surprise, and could not understand how he had the strength to do this. Shut up, fox, Naruto said with the same calmness, shut up and listen. I don't care how others treat me. I don't care how you treat me. I know that the path of hatred and anger is a disastrous path. Look at yourself, you have been sowing death and destruction all your life, and how did it end? The fourth Hokage, the man who risked his life for others, defeated you, and now you are sealed within me. I don't want to take revenge. Not now. And even if you wanted to, revenge is not ramen for you, it should be served cold. And what are you going to do? The fox growled. Wake up, Naruto replied weightily, after which his image in his subconscious mind dissolved into clouds of chakra, depriving the Kyubi of company. Well, Naruto, the nine-tailed said quietly, maybe I didn't make a mistake in you. In the meantime, Uzumaki was waking up and preparing to continue his journey. An interesting meeting was taking place in Konoha, namely in the Hokage's office. Tsunade, having discussed the situation with Naruto at yesterday's Zenin Council, gathered Niji, Lee and Shikamaru. Kakashi was also invited. You've probably already been informed of what happened yesterday, Tsunade began slowly. The young ninja nodded. As they went up to the Hokage's office, they couldn't quite believe that their friend had escaped after all. But now that the head of the village has confirmed this, all doubts have disappeared. Naruto still couldn't resist and went after Sasuke alone, Shikamaru drawled, bored. That's the idiot. We were gathered to help bring him back. Immediately got down to business practical Niji. The Hokage nodded. Hatake Kakashi will be your commander for the duration of the mission. Your task is to bring Naruto back to Uzumaki village. In case of resistance on his part, you are allowed. Tsunade hesitated at those words. She couldn't say it out loud, but everyone knew what she meant anyway. In case Naruto starts to resist, he can be killed. From such Lee was dumbfounded, even Shikamaru changed his face and looked at the head of the village in surprise. Even so, Niji voiced their doubts. Of course, he did not do the right thing, but still killing him. He violated orders. Hardness returned to Tsunade again, although it was clear to everyone how hard it was for her to say this. He left, considering the villagers, if not enemies, then definitely not friends. His anger towards Konoha can play a cruel joke on us. Besides, in him, Tsunade trailed off. You never know, what if they don't know that the nine-tailed is sealed inside Naruto? Of course, that was the main reason he should have been returned to the village, but these kids shouldn't have known that. For their own good. In it, like in all of you, Tsunade got out, huge potential is concluded. But Naruto is gullible, and, on top of everything else, not too smart. If someone wants to use it for evil purposes, the consequences can be catastrophic. All three nodded in understanding. Yes, the fact that the shinobi of the hidden village escaped from their comrades was not a good thing. Even what he may know about the countryside, its military and economic components, could serve the enemies well. Even if the role of language will be played by such an idiot as Naruto. And if Uzumaki decides to go against the village himself, then there would be many more problems. Why isn't Sakura coming with us? Someone who, but she would be able to get through to Naruto-kun. Lee, Sakura shouldn't know about this assignment. For her, what happened to Naruto was too much of an ordeal. I don't think she should know that he left the village just yet. I don't think it will remain a secret for long, Shikamaru pointed out weightily. My father said that there were a lot of people there. They've all been ordered to keep quiet about what happened. Shikamaru didn't like the Hokage's tone and look. It seems that the head of the Nara clan, at the first meeting with Tsunade, was waiting for an educational conversation, but cleaner than any that his own wife arranged for him. Now go get ready. Show up in an hour. As the three of them left, slamming the door behind them, Tsunade spoke softly. Kakashi, she looked into the captain's eyes with wet eyes. Try to get Naruto back, alive. We'll do everything, Tsunade-sama. Still, Kakashi-sensei, how are we going to get Naruto back? Lee asked when they had already left the village and were now moving in the direction indicated by Pakun's dogs. Zenin didn't answer the question right away. And how could he answer if he himself had no plan yet? All they could do was either persuade the Uzumaki to return with them willingly or use force, which could end in someone's death, and remembering the Rasengan, the technique of the fourth himself, Kakashi doubted that as a result of the fight, only Naruto would be killed. In addition, there was also a nine-tailed one, which could also cause trouble. If it came to a fight, Naruto would definitely use the Kyuubi's chakra. And how used to fight foxes, Kakashi knew. But still, in Kakashi's heart, there was a hope that they would be able to get through to the boy. He simply could not believe that in such a kind and sympathetic child there would be nothing bright that would prompt him to return home to his friends. Yes, sensei, Niji joined in. What's the plan? I don't usually agree with Lee, but in Hokage-sama's office, he was right. If Sakura were with us, our chances of getting Naruto back would be much better. Or not, Shikamaru countered. Think about it, Sakura is a living reminder to Naruto that he didn't keep his promise to her. In addition, she could not persuade Sasuke to stay, and in the competition for stubbornness, our narrow-minded comrade will definitely surpass him. No, the Hokage is right. For Sakura, it would just be extra stress. But what are we going to do when we catch up with Naruto? Shikamaru, have you already thought of something? Nara smiled and nodded. Kakashi was once again surprised by his mind, and was convinced that it was not in vain that the Hokage awarded him the title of Chunin. Giving all his strength to the forced pursuit, jumping from tree to tree, watching the surrounding forest in order not to fall into a trap, Shikamaru still did not leave the elaboration of the plan. He was a real shinobi who could become a very strong Zenin in the future. That's the plan, said the Taiyunin. When we get close to Naruto, Niji and Lee will attack him in melee. Actually, Naruto's taijutsu is not very good, he usually takes the enemy with his clones, so this is the best option. While you're distracting, I'll catch him in shadow imitation. The night is cloudless, so the moon will do fine for me. The main thing is to do everything quickly, otherwise, we'll get rid of his clones. And what have you prepared for me, Shikamaru? You, Kakashi-sensei, will be our insurance, Nara explained. You will stay waiting in ambush, and if it happens that Naruto overpowers us, join the game. Good plan, Niji said. Not bad. Lee was outraged. You made a battle plan. Shouldn't we try to get Naruto-kun back peacefully? Lee, we're his friends, Shikamaru visibly saddened. Of course, we will try to find words that will convince him. But if it doesn't work, let's go according to plan, Kakashi summed up. Half an hour later, Pakun jumped out of the thickets to meet them. Hurry, Kakashi, he's getting close. The dog was visibly out of breath. He comfortably perched on the ninja's head, and, sticking out his tongue, caught his breath. This little devil almost pulled away from me. Hurry up, and in 5 to 10 minutes you will catch up with him. Naruto was enjoying the fresh breeze blowing against his face as an evil growl sounded in his head. He slowed down, and mentally tried to force the fox to calm down, but he became even more violent, and the boy completely stopped. What's the matter? What did you do there? Uzumaki mentally turned to him, trying not to go far into the subconscious. Naruto! The fox roared. You are a stupid boy. You're being chased by Konoha shinobi. I feel them. They're coming to kill us. Their bloodlust is reaching me. Naruto stared ahead of him with a confused look. So soon? He couldn't believe the Hokage had sent chase so soon. Yes, with the intention of destroying it. Would he really be considered a criminal for leaving the village? Damn it. But he thought that Tsunade's grandmother just wants to take him on weakly. And, no. But, if so, if he is suddenly overtaken, he will have to fight. There is no other way out, because you don't want to die horror. What am I? Naruto muttered under his breath, shaking his head furiously. Found someone to listen to. How little did you feel there? You are a bundle of malice. And you judge others. Maybe they don't want to kill me. Tsunade must have sent Kakashi-sensei after me. And he certainly doesn't want to hurt me. Idiot! Roared the Kyuubi. It doesn't matter who Konoha sent after you. If they have an order, they will not hesitate to kill you. Damn boy, they're close. If you don't believe me, at least get ready. Okay, just don't yell anymore, the boy grimaced and rubbed his temples. How many of them? 4. A few minutes after the Kyuubi's warning, the trees around the clearing where Naruto had stopped rustled, and the 4 ninja the Nine Tails had spoken of stepped out of them. But to Naruto's surprise, it wasn't Kakashi Hatake and his friends as he had hoped. It was the ANBU. Hearing the low hiss of the swords leaving their scabbards, Naruto remembered the fox's words. Thirst for blood. His blood. This team was sent to eliminate him. He didn't move even when the ANBU charged at him. He stood and thought, how could this have come to this? What did he do to Konoha that Grandma Tsunade decided to get rid of him? Went looking for Sasuke? Funny. And then the answer came by itself. He remembered the words the old man with the bandaged eye had yelled. That he is the Jinchuriki of the Nine-Tailed. As he put it, Konoha's property. Now he understood what was the matter. Naruto at the academy was not the most exemplary student, but now, at a moment of mortal danger, one phrase he heard in strategy lessons surfaced in his memory: if you can't save something, destroy it so that the enemy doesn't get it. Now Naruto understood that they wanted to destroy him so that Akatsuki would not get him. It doesn't matter what they need it for. It doesn't matter if Konoha's leadership had them in mind when they made that decision. They failed to save him, and the only correct solution was to kill him. Seeing the moonlight in the sharp blades, Naruto seemed to wake up. In the blink of an eye, he drew a pair of kunai and, blocking 2 blows with them, jumped back, kicking off the chest of one of the opponents with his legs, knocking him to the ground. Once at a decent distance, Naruto launched the shuriken. But the ANBU were not wooden poles on which young ninjas practiced throwing accuracy. They dodged his attacks with ease. And it's all. From under the mask of one of the 4 there was a chuckle. Then our turn. He quickly folded several seals. Technique of the earth. Stone rock. The ground under Naruto's feet shook and heaved up. If he didn't bounce, he would surely have received a powerful blow from the rock that had risen up, from which it would have been difficult for him to rise. Fire technique. The next moment he had to dodge the fireball. That familiar fireball that Sasuke liked to throw at his opponent. But now was not the time to be nostalgic. Well, Naruto whispered. I won't give up easily. Shadow clone. Dozens of replicas sprang up around the boy. But such a move of elite shinobi did not surprise. They attacked without fear, decimating the number of shadow clones with masterful sword strikes. Crap. So they will get me quickly, the boy whispered, watching how the next clones disappeared into the clouds of smoke. To not give up. Shadow clone. And again, dozens of Naruto rushed to the attack. Once again, the air was filled with dust, smoke, and the whistle of steel. But this time, the copies were just a red herring. As soon as the ANBU dealt with them, the last Naruto jumped out at them, with an incredible vortex of bluish chakra spinning in each hand. The last 2 clones behind the original disappeared. Rasengan. A couple of ANBU, not expecting such an attack, barely managed to avoid a full blow. True, Naruto still hit one of them on the shoulder with his Rasengan. This guy, spinning in the air, flew off a few meters and hit a tree. Here you go, bastards. Quite through Naruto. Now you will know how, AGR. The boy did not have time to finish, because the next moment, the The same ANBU that used the earth technique against him appeared from behind and plunged the sword into his back to the hilt. Uzumaki stared blankly at the blade protruding from his chest, from which blood dripped. His blood! He couldn't believe it. Two other ANBU are approaching him, and with force they beat him with their steel, one in the neck, the other right in the heart. The boy's body fell to the ground with a soft thud. The shinobi who had just completed their task looked at each other. Ayasu, go check on Miyagi, ordered the ANBU with earth techniques. And while but he did not have time to finish, as the body of the enemy he had just slain with cotton dissolved. What the? Rasengan! No matter how skilled the ANBU warriors were, they were not immune from the ingenious trap. The real Naruto, who did not fail to take the fox's advice, had been hiding to the side all this time, setting up a shadow clone against his pursuers. As you know, such a clone has the same abilities as the original, shares chakra with him in half, and it is almost impossible to distinguish one from the other. The clones had only one drawback: when they received relative damage, they disappeared. But Naruto showed truly miracles of ingenuity. When creating a null clone, he tried to put a little more chakra into it than the copies usually got. Of course, his control over chakra left much to be desired, but he managed with the help of extra chakra to make his copy last a couple of moments longer. And this was enough to mislead the enemy and make him lose his vigilance. ANBU didn't make it. For each of the three fighters on their feet, there were two Narutos, each holding a whirlwind of a Rasengan in his hand. The leader noticed too belatedly that the stones, which he did not pay much attention to at the very beginning of the fight, had disappeared. He outwitted us, thought the ANBU, hit himself and some of the clones with the help of camouflage jutsu. It was his last thought. In the next moment, he and his comrades in arms received two powerful blows at once. One of them, on which both blows fell on the same side, flew even further than his comrade a minute ago. The commander and the second fighter were not lucky. They were squeezed from both sides by indomitable flows of wildly rotating chakra. A moment later, the screams of pain that echoed through the forest stopped. There was a crunch of breaking armor, and then bones, blood splattered in all directions, and already dead ANBU fell to the ground. After that, the clones disappeared, and only the real Naruto remained standing in the clearing in the moonlight. He looked with unseeing eyes at his hands, elbow deep in the blood of the ninja he had just killed. It was difficult for the boy to believe what he was contemplating. It was the first time he had killed a man. Let him only defend himself, let his possible executioners fall from his hands, but still, as a 13-year-old boy, he could not remain indifferent when he had just taken someone's life. He realized with bitterness that he had just killed not just some enemies, but Konoha shinobi, who a couple of days ago were considered his associates. God, what did he do? He just became a criminal who will never be forgiven. Tears welled up in his eyes, and he hid his face with his hands, not holding back, began to cry. A rustle forced him to look ahead. Wounded at the very beginning of the fight, the ANBU stood up, and, stepping heavily and stumbling, still attacked Naruto. The boy easily repulsed the kunai fired at him, after which he jumped up to the enemy and hit him hard in the stomach. One blow was enough for the wounded shinobi to fall to his knees. He was no longer a threat. Now the boy had to decide what to do with him, although the decision was clear. He had already killed two in self-defense. He didn't want to kill a man just like that. It was his choice, a conscious choice. He had already turned around and was about to leave the place of the fight, when suddenly he was called out. "Naruto!" exclaimed breathless Lee and Niji in one voice. "We came to..." Shikamaru started to speak, but stumbled when he saw the torn corpses spread out in pools of blood, "to return you to Konoha." Chapter 3, Crossed Out Life. Naruto didn't know whether to be surprised by the arrival of his friends or not. He had no idea what they were doing here. Does the Hokage not trust his elite squad? Then why send a team of beginners, among which there is only one Tunin, moreover, who has recently become one? What's going on here anyway? The boy asked himself, and did not find an answer to his question. But he knew one thing for sure: those with whom he had just fought wanted to kill him, but they were ninja from Konoha, like the three who stood before him now. There was only one conclusion: Shikamaru, Niji and Lee, his friends, side by side with whom he risked his life, came for his head. Naruto didn't know if that was his conclusion or if the Kyuubi's thoughts were trying to push him astray, but he knew for sure that his friends wouldn't just let him go. Just as he himself did not let Sasuke go, catching up with him in the Valley of the End. And that means to be a battle. "Go away guys," Naruto said softly, slowly stepping back. "I don't want to fight you." "We don't want that either, Naruto," Shikamaru sighed. He kept looking into Uzumaki's eyes. After all, otherwise the gaze was drawn to dead bodies. "Go with us. We don't wish you harm." You may not want to, the fair-haired boy smiled bitterly, but the village does. Just now, as you can see, I was attacked by an ANBU team. That's how Konoha wants to solve the problem she's having. The village leadership wants me dead. You're wrong, friend. Lee retorted with feeling. The Hokage sent us to bring you back, not to kill you. Then what are they doing here? Naruto waved towards the torn-apart bodies of the ANBU. Why did they attack me? Why are my hands covered in blood? Answer. Shikamaru and Lee flinched at Naruto's scream but didn't say anything. They could not say anything, because for them the presence of special squad soldiers here was even more of a mystery. In addition, they had absolutely no idea how to act in this situation. After all, it is unlikely that their friend, who had just killed a Konoha ninja, would voluntarily return to this Konoha. Shikamaru frantically tried to find the most bloodless way out of the current situation. We're not here to discuss the actions of the command, Niji said, taking a step forward. If the Hokage decided to send the ANBU, then she had good reasons for that. We received an order to bring you back, and we will carry it out. Don't come. Naruto warned as he prepared to defend himself. I don't want to harm you. Are you ready to come with us? No, Shikamaru. I will not return to list. Then we have no choice, Shikamaru sighed heavily, nodding slightly. It was a prearranged signal. Niji, whose eyes were already straining at the power of the Byakugan, immediately attacked Naruto with his soft touch. Naruto, on the other hand, remembering his fight with Hyuga in the Chunin exams, did not risk blocking his blows, and only dodged them. Lee, although he saw the signal, stood like a pillar for a few moments, not knowing what to do. He looked at Niji, who was trying fruitlessly to get at Naruto, and couldn't believe it had come to this. Lee! Shikamaru called him back to reality. Niji can't do it alone. Help him. With a heavy heart, Lee joined the fray. Even though he, unlike the same Niji, resisted this need, he still attacked Uzumaki with full force. But now the Naruto before them was not the Naruto that Lee had once laid down on the shoulder blades with one blow. It was a different person, albeit a little for now, but still different. Shikamaru, who had been watching his former classmate intently, just couldn't believe it was really him. Naruto began to act more calmly and purposefully, trying to hit not just for the sake of hitting, but so that this hit would certainly reach the goal. His taijutsu was laughable compared to Lee's and Niji's, but the fire and at the same time cold fury with which he acted more than equalized their strengths. In addition, Naruto, while waging hand-to-hand combat, was moving very actively all the time, and Shikamaru had suspicions that Uzumaki purposefully took him out of the fight with his jumps and other deft acrobatics. Still, Nara's taijutsu was even worse than Naruto's. But suddenly Naruto, dodging Niji's next series of punches and kicking him into Lee's range, just stopped. Guys, enough. You can see that it's all pointless. He threw up his hands. I don't want to fight you. But I will not return to the village either. Just leave, say you didn't find me. And I will go my own way. The boy looked into the eyes of each of his friends with pity in his eyes. And I saw understanding there. He knew that now they were torn between friendship with him and duty to the village. He understood what he was asking of them, but could not help it. He couldn't go back, but he didn't want to fight his friends either. I just had to leave. Don't turn your back on us, Naruto. Niji exclaimed as he saw the blonde walk away from the battlefield. Turn around, I said, or I'll have to stab you in the back. Naruto didn't answer him, continuing to walk slowly out of the clearing. Niji growled softly and, in 2 leaps, shortening the distance separating him from Uzumaki, hit him with an open palm straight in the back. His comrades gasped involuntarily as they saw Naruto fall to his knees from the impact, blood dripping from his mouth. Does friendship mean nothing to you, Niji? Naruto whispered, spitting another ball of blood onto the ground. So, Hyuga protested, raising his palm to strike. That's why I want to bring you home. The palm whistled through the air. But the blow didn't reach the neck where Niji was aiming. Neither Lee nor Shikamaru could believe what had happened. Even the Hyuga, whose Byakugan was supposed to see everything, couldn't keep up with that speed. A second before the soft hand was supposed to knock Naruto out, he managed to roll over with a subtle movement and block the blow. Niji stared wide-eyed at his hand crossing Naruto's. If there was someone else in front of him, then Niji could confidently say that the enemy was defeated. The soft palm technique strike on the arm completely cuts off the circulation of the chakra, which prevents the use of any ninjutsu. But Naruto was different. He not only covered himself from the blow, his hand was covered with a strange red chakra. Hyuga had seen this kind of chakra once before. It was she who gave Naruto the opportunity to defeat him in the final part of the tournament. Then this unknown force restarted the entire chakra circulation system in Naruto's body, which Neji systematically blocked. And now Naruto, apparently remembering the lesson, was using it as a buffer between his soft palm and his own chakra lines, making the Hyuga technique completely useless against himself. AI. Neji pulled his arm away from Naruto, grimacing in pain. It left a bright red mark, as if the boy had been scalded with boiling water. What the hell? The Kyubi chakra, Naruto replied to himself. The perverted hermit taught me how to control it for a reason. The main thing is not to take more than you need, otherwise I will start to become a fox. In hearing same for Naruto answered his fists. A quick triple to the body, and after a powerful kick to the chest, and the defeated Neji flies to the side. Next was Lee, who, judging by Naruto's familiar straining posture, was about to open the inner gate. Uzumaki prevented him from doing this, laying him on the ground with a powerful roundhouse kick. For a few seconds, he stood over Lee, who was trying to get up. This short amount of time was enough for Shikamaru to extend his shadow towards Naruto, and when Uzumaki tried to hit his opponent again, he couldn't even move. It's over, Naruto, Shikamaru said as he tightened his jutsu on him. Lee, get up. And help Neji up. Naruto is aware that I can't hold on to the shadow impersonation technique forever. I will need your help. In vain you guys, despite the fact that he was captured, Naruto remained calm. You'd better let me go. Otherwise, I will have to act in a bad way. And what can you do to us, friend? Lee asked, poking Naruto lightly in the side. You're immobilized. Do it again and you'll be in trouble, big brow. Lee, thinking Naruto was joking, poked him in the ribs again. From this blow, Naruto, bound by the technique of shadow imitation, was dissolved in clouds of smoke. What? Shikamaru shook his head in surprise. So we'd been fighting a clone all this time? No way, Neji shook his head. The shadow clone would not have been able to withstand my blow and would have disappeared immediately. I hit the real Naruto for sure. Then, Shikamaru made a new guess. He had a ready-made clone in stock, and he slipped it into me with a replacement technique before I immobilized him. Well, I'm an idiot. No, Shikamaru, it's Naruto-kun who has gotten smarter. You're right, Lee, Nara agreed with him. He became not only smarter, but also stronger. Looks like we can't do without Sensei Kakashi's help. Before he could finish speaking, 3 Narutos jumped out of the ground, breaking through the firmament, each of which grabbed one of the guys. Get it, guys! All 3 exclaimed at once. And I said that they should have let me go, added the one who held Shikamaru in his grip. Now you are all my prisoners. Now tell me, where is Kakashi-sensei hiding? The guys were silent. And the answer soon came by itself. There was a low whistle, and a kunai was pierced into each of Naruto exactly in the symbol of the whirlpool. 2 of them disappeared immediately, while the third, releasing Shikamaru, fell down. I'm here, Naruto, Kakashi said, jumping down from the tree to the ground not far from the guys. Shikamaru, he turned to the Chunin, good plan. It was smart to leave me in stock. I saw you fight him. Naruto really got stronger. He even defeated the ANBU squad. Though I still don't understand why 5th didn't warn them that they would be here too. I guess she didn't mean to say she wanted me dead, Naruto croaked, trying to get up. It's not like that, Kakashi protested. And Naruto, don't try to get up. The kunai were smeared with a paralyzing poison. Paralyzing, Naruto whispered and smiled. What an irony. Abandoning an attempt to get to his feet, the boy imperceptibly put his hand into his bosom. Impact, and for several meters around everything was shrouded in greenish smoke mixed with gray. Shikamaru, Lee and Neji completely disappeared behind the clubs, only Kakashi didn't reach. Paralyzing gas. The Zenin whispered in surprise. So, he used clones this time too, only one of them had a gas ball with him. Yes, Naruto, you really have become stronger and smarter. Your plan is simply excellent, you have calculated everything perfectly. I have no doubt that you worked out the battle plan with the ANBU to the smallest detail, since 2 of them are no longer alive. But the fact that you managed to come up with an effective counterplan against the second wave on the go, despite the fact that Shikamaru was our strategist, Kakashi shook his head in amazement. I underestimated you, Naruto. As always, sensei. The smoke cleared and Kakashi saw a dirty and rumpled Naruto in front of him. His face showed only weariness and sadness. He looked guiltily at his friends, who now could not move anything but their eyes and lips. Sorry guys, I had to do this to you. But I really can't go back. Wait, Naruto? Kakashi asked. After all, in the village you are waiting for friends who are not indifferent to you, and who want you to be with them. Therefore, they sent us after you, in the hope that we would not have to. do not have to bathe for a long time. Naruto finished for him. Since, trusting my friends, I will immediately relax, and it will be easy to kill me, Kakashi sighed heavily and shook his head. Damn people from the root. Why did they do it? Why did they try to kill his student? Naruto doesn't even trust his friends now, though, to be fair, he doesn't hate them. The ANBU only scared him away from Konoha, pushing him onto the path of darkness. Crap, Kakashi slapped his forehead. Why, that's exactly what Danzo is trying to achieve. He sent his people to kill Naruto, but if it happens that they themselves die at his hands, it will be even better. The leader of the root will have the opportunity to declare Uzumaki a nuke Nin, and at the first opportunity will unleash the full power of Konohagakure on him. Kakashi was furious at such a cynical plan. If he didn't have to answer to the Hokage, he would never have given first aid to the 2 survivors of this damned organization. The world would be a better place without such people. Naruto, Kakashi spoke soothingly, I swear to you that the Hokage didn't order your destruction. That's not true, Naruto cut him off. First history lesson at the academy, the second Hokage created the ANBU as an elite unit reporting directly to the head of the village. Yes, but... So if I was almost killed by the ANBU, it must be Granny Tsunade who sent them here. Naruto, Tsunade-sama has nothing to do with this. Remember Danzo, Kakashi saw in the face of his student that this name did not mean anything to him, so he explained. The man who set the ANBU on you when you were in the village. It's definitely his work. Doesn't matter, Naruto retorted melancholy. I'm not going back to Konoha, especially if there's a crazy old man waiting for me there who wants me dead. Kakashi was about to say something again, but Naruto stopped him with a gesture. Stop it, sensei. Either you let me go, or you attack. Choose. But remember, I'm not going to lose, because my defeat will mean the loss of Sasuke. Naruto, what's going on with you? Zenin shook his head sadly. Are you willing to give up everything for Sasuke? Will you trample on the feelings of your other friends for him? Will you forget your dreams? Naruto, you always said you wanted to be Hokage, but how will you fulfill your dream if you leave Konoha? Naruto looked his teacher straight in the eyes and pulled out a kunai. If the price of becoming Hokage is the life of a friend, he said slowly, then that's my answer. And he forcefully ran the kunai across the steel plate on his bandage, leaving a thick horizontal line on it that crossed out the symbol of the leaf that had once been dear to him. And with him, Naruto crossed out all the ties that once connected him with Konoha. Kakashi, who just a moment ago looked at the student entangled in life's problems, already now saw a nuke Nin in front of him. Renegade ninja. So be it, Kakashi whispered, lifting up the part of the headband that concealed the Sharingan. I'll fight you, Naruto. Sensei, Naruto shook his head. You made the wrong choice. In addition, your option was not on the list, and, raising 2 fingers to his face, the boy quietly said, explosion. Kakashi instinctively covered his face with his hands, expecting the explosive tags Naruto had hidden away to rumble around him. But instead, there were only quiet, barely audible pops. For the first second, the Zenin thought it had passed. Yet Naruto wasn't a master of explosions. But when the already familiar green smoke enveloped him, Kakashi realized that everything that was supposed to detonate according to the plan of his former student had detonated. Naruto, Kakashi said, already dropping to one knee. His mask could not protect against such a high concentration of gas. He could barely move his tongue. Naruto. Yes, senpai. You. Get out of the land of fire. Kakashi coughed from the smoke. Hide far away, where there are no ninjas. Try. Survive. When the greenish haze cleared, the boy knelt down in front of the paralyzed teacher, and putting his hand on his shoulder, said with all sincerity, thank you senpai for everything you have done for me. Don't be angry with me. Maybe we'll meet again sometime. And now, goodbye, Kakashi senpai. Say hello to Sakura and Granny Tsunade. And Naruto disappeared from Kakashi's line of sight. He left the clearing, which had become a battlefield that night, the meadow where his real baptism of fire took place, baptism with blood. Today, Naruto survived his first fight as a fugitive shinobi. And how many of them are still waiting for him ahead? Chapter 4, From the Fire to the Frying Pan. Naruto was staring blankly at the rising sunrise in the sea when footsteps sounded behind him. Why are you up so early, Naruto? The boy smiled at the yawning old man. Yes, something is not sleeping, Tazuna-san. Well, since we're both up, let's go have breakfast. Naruto nodded with a smile and followed his master. A week has passed since the fight with the Konoha ninja, and all these days the boy lived on pins and needles. Afraid to approach large settlements, often spending the night in a forest or in a field, Naruto, as they say, crawled and ran to a place where he could calmly wait for a while. The land of waves seemed to him just such a place, moreover, very suitable for Kakashi's advice. Shinobi have never been here, and they were not interested in this small island country. Even now, when Tazuna completed his bridge, and the state began to rapidly grow stronger and richer, the authorities and local residents resolved issues that required forceful intervention, with the help of the newly formed Dame Guards and militia units. So Naruto could hope to be spared the company of the other ninja for a while. When the boy showed up at Old Man Tazuna's door a couple of days ago, he was very surprised to see him. But Naruto's initial fears were not confirmed. Tazuna immediately accepted him with open arms and without question invited the boy to stay with him for as long as he needed. Touched by the old man's kindness, Naruto did not hide from him what circumstances forced him to come to the land of waves. Tazuna listened to him attentively, and immediately confirmed his offer to stay as long as he liked. Tazuna genuinely sympathized with Naruto's situation, and promised to help him in any way he could. He perfectly understood the boy, who only wanted the return of a friend, and also condemned in strong terms the Konoha shinobi who fell so low that they wanted to kill a child. Moved even more, Naruto promised himself that he wouldn't stay with Tazuna anymore than it takes to recuperate. The boy had no doubt that they would definitely find him, it was a matter of time. And to substitute a person who treated him with such understanding, Uzumaki did not want to. Thank you, Tazuna-san, Naruto bowed respectfully as he finished his meal. Thank you for everything you have done for me. Don't, Naruto, Tazuna waved him off. I just followed the laws of decency. You saved my life and gave me the opportunity to complete my creation, thanks to which my country prospers. It is I who should thank you. What are you, Tazuna-san? Naruto looked down in embarrassment. I didn't do much back then. He only exposed himself to blows, but yelled in vain. You shouldn't think so of yourself, my boy, Tazuna smiled. You managed to transfer the power of your spirit to my grandson, and through him to all the inhabitants of the city. You fought bravely, not sparing your own life. If this is not a heroic act that deserves respect, then there are no such things as courage in the world. Enough for you, Tazuna-san. I was just doing my job. Who is the real hero is Inari. He managed to raise so many people to fight. Yes, my grandson is also great, Tazuna sighed with a satisfied smile. Like his father once, he is also considered a hero. By the way, now he and his mother went to the festival in the capital, but soon they should return. He will be glad to see you, Naruto. After all this time, no matter what Inari did, no matter what he did, he tried to be like you in everything. Naruto smiled sadly at the old man's words. Inari looked so much like Konohamaru. The two saw him as their idol. They found something in him worth emulating. Will they see it now? After all, in these few days he has changed a lot. Not outwardly, no. Changed internally. With the first blood staining his hands, Naruto's childlike glee waned noticeably. His smile, always wide and happy, now carried only heavy sadness and deep sadness. Tazuna hadn't seen Uzumaki for over a year, and he couldn't believe that the calm, collected youth sitting across from him was the same restless Naruto who competed with his friend in training until he passed out. The old man shook his head. What did they do to you, Naruto? Tazuna-san, thanks again, Naruto thanked as he stood up. I'll go for a walk. At the same time I will go to the graves of Tsubutsu and Haku. Tazuna just nodded and followed the slowly moving boy with his eyes. The memory of his first major mission stirred up numerous other memories of home within Naruto. He remembered Sakura, whom he didn't even say goodbye to, remembered Kakashi's teacher, whom he disobeyed. He also remembered Sasuke, because of whom he left the village and became a traitor. The faces of all his friends flashed through Naruto's mind. My heart sank with grief and longing for them. But even though he felt guilt, there was no doubt. He was fully convinced that the path he had chosen was the right one. But what will he do, standing on it? Where will he take him? Naruto didn't know. He left the hidden leaf in hopes of finding Sasuke. Moving towards this goal, he did not see anything in front of him. But now that the blood had cleared his brain, cooling his burning mind, he was able to look at the situation from the outside. No, he didn't admit that he was stupid to leave Konoha. He only realized that, by and large, he acted thoughtlessly. Now it was clear to him, just like that, the uchiha could not be returned to him. Orochimaru was a legendary ninja who would not let his friend go anywhere without a fight, and Sasuke himself is unlikely to meet his former comrade with open arms. Naruto realized that if he really wanted to bring his friend back to the path of light, he had to become much stronger. For real, not the way he did when traveling with Jiraiya. No, of course, Rasengan and summoning is cool. But during the time that Naruto spent in the company of the great Sannin, he could learn something else from him. If he had trained harder, resented less and generally been smarter, he would already have a decent arsenal of techniques. If he talked less and did more, then he would have had the strength to defeat Sasuke in the Valley of the End, and now he would be at home, among friends. Naruto wiped away a couple of tears. Yes, if he was stronger, he wouldn't be alone now. The boy walked along the path for a long time until he came to a pair of familiar graves, hidden under the shade of a tall, spreading tree. At the head of one of them, a huge sword was stuck in the ground, a mask and a shinobi bandage hung on the cross of the other. Everything remains the same as it was a year ago. It seems that the inhabitants, either out of condescension to the enemies, or out of gratitude, kept the graves of the Nukanins in order. Even weapons and symbols were left intact. Naruto chuckled sadly, imagining Zabuza's face if, for example, he saw some peasant cutting down trees with his sword. Zabuza and Haku. Naruto only now finally realized how much he had in common with the two. They are also victims of loneliness. Difficult fate, dangerous life, untimely death. They were close, like brothers. And, even though Haku recklessly loved and respected Zabuza, the fog swordsman himself only realized just before his death how close his ward was to him. Uzumaki, no longer holding back tears, began to cry. Why in the world of shinobi always, when a person acquires something dear to his heart, he immediately loses it all? Why did Haku and Zabuza, who took care of each other for many years, die when their lives were just about to acquire a new meaning? Why is he, Naruto, who spent his whole life alone, but recently found real friends, doomed to be alone again? Why? Naruto cursed in his heart an unfair fate, which first took away his parents, then childhood, and now takes away loved ones. He was helplessly angry and indignant, not knowing why such misfortunes befell him. I don't have anyone again, Naruto whispered, sniffing. How hard it is for me. And unfortunately there is no one to help me. The rest have parents, brothers, sisters. And I'm alone. Always alone. There was a best friend, and he went to Orochimaru. And then it suddenly dawned on Naruto. Orochimaru. Kakashi's conversation with the perverted hermit, which he overheard right after the battle with Sand and Sound, surfaced in his memory. Then, in a conversation with the legendary Sannin, Kakashi mentioned that Orochimaru used the first and second Hokage in the battle with the old Sarutobi. Apparently, he summoned them with some kind of jutsu. So, thought Naruto, for the world of shinobi, which takes lives every day, it is possible not only to kill people, but also to bring them back to life. Surely this technique is forbidden. But the shadow clones were her too. Doubts torn Naruto. He didn't understand why he was still thinking about it, but there was no way to stop. Thoughts dragged him along. Finally, the boy stopped torturing himself and took out a scroll from his bosom. The same scroll that he kept in a cache at home for more than a year. He did not dare to leave him unattended, not because he didn't trust Izuna, but simply because he didn't want to lose him in an unfamiliar room. After all, this was no ordinary scroll. It was a copy of the forbidden scroll that Naruto had stolen at Mizuki's instigation when he failed his exam. Yes, Naruto remembered that day. He had only learned the shadow clone technique when he realized that Iruka-sensei had found him. Then the boy, not wanting to leave the cool techniques unattended, applied the copy jutsu with trembling hands, transferring some of the information into one of his empty scrolls. Naruto's chakra control wasn't very good back then, so he couldn't be sure he copied the entire scroll, but still, the boy unfolded the paper hopefully, frantically skimming through each entry. He hadn't opened it since that night, so he didn't know for sure if he'd find anything there. But he was lucky. The last entry that was on the scroll glowed in blood-red letters, Edo Tensei. Resurrection Technique. Second Hokage. Naruto burst into tears as he laughed. He found what he was looking for. Of course, not all the information about this jutsu was here. But his formula was complete, and this is the most important thing. Besides, can't the technique created by the second be something terrible? So Naruto will study it. And then he won't be alone anymore. Then he can see his mom and dad. Yes, that's what Naruto kept in mind as his thoughts turned to himself. He spent his entire childhood looking at his peers walking hand in hand with moms and dads. All his life he saw that every child in his village receives parental love and warmth. And if there is a chance to resurrect someone, who else, if not the parents, can be brought back from the world of the dead? At the thought that he would be able to see his parents, Naruto forgot about everything. Longing and sadness immediately left, replaced by determination. If the same Tazuna saw him now, he would think that Naruto was a year ago in front of him. Yes, Naruto rubbed his hands. Let's not pull. Training is no joke. Yeah, it means you need to let in as much chakra as possible, focusing on who you want to call. Mom and dad. Mom and dad. So, now let's try. Edo Tensei. As he exclaimed, Naruto clapped his hands forcefully. And at that very moment, he was pierced by a golden stream of chakra bursting out. Chapter 5, An Unexpected Turn. The fox, as usual, lay in his cage, putting his muzzle on his paws, and did nothing. And what could he do sitting locked up? Just thinking about abstract topics, amusing yourself with chatter with Naruto when he came to him, but, in general, that's all. Oh yes. The fox also liked to lean out of his Jinchuriki a little and see what was happening there, in the real world. That's all his work. Nothing else happened in his world. Therefore, Kyubi was surprised when the room of the subconscious, in which his cell was located, trembled. The Ninetales looked around in fear, not knowing what was going on. But suddenly, right in front of the cage doors, a bright golden flow of chakra appeared, in the center of which was Naruto. The boy was clearly unconscious. Streams of energy poured from his mouth, nose and eyes. His body was shaking from the outgoing power. Naruto! The fox growled in astonishment. What did you do? In order to get an answer to his question, the fox, concentrating, closed his eyes and folded his paws in the seal of a snake. Just a moment was enough for him. He immediately jerked open his eyes and roared loudly at the top of his voice. How could he overlook this? Naruto, not knowing anything, took and used the Edo Tensei. Here's an idiot. Does he not know that this technique requires human sacrifice? Naruto! Kyubi roared, trying to shout to the boy hanging limply in the air. Wake up, Naruto! But Uzumaki did not answer. The fox, feeling his powerlessness, growled softly. But why? Why did the technique work, albeit not as it should have? Would the god of death really need just that stupid boy's chakra? Ah, that's it. Fox understood. The world of the dead just wanted to get a huge amount of power for free, while at the same time teaching a half-witted mortal a lesson. Of course, the fox's fabrications were overly exaggerated and metaphorical, only the mortal danger to which the boy was exposed was real. The fox frantically tried to figure out how to interrupt the technique. But he couldn't do anything while he was in the cage. And if Naruto loses all his chakra, then the resurrection will have to pay with his own life. Although, if Naruto dies, then he is a fox, he can be reborn somewhere in freedom. But the Ninetales, even though he would not admit it to Naruto, became very attached to him. He couldn't let the boy die. Not today, the fox growled softly, folding several control seals with its paws. The blue and red chakras, mingling with each other, flowed towards Naruto in a shining stream. When the fox's chakra was too close, it was captured by the flow of the world of the dead, and also turned into gold. When this stream reached the fox, and began to purposefully pump strength out of him, Kyubi flinched. Unpleasant sensation, to touch death. He envied Naruto, who was just knocked out. But the next moment, the fox's eyes widened in surprise. He was able to feel exactly who Uzumaki wanted to summon. Kyubi let out an anguished groan. Well, of course, it was the fourth Hokage and his former Jinchuriki, Kushina. The boy knows absolutely nothing. Where did he get this ritual from? And why did he take it? But the fox wasted no time. He understood that it was impossible to conduct Edo Tensei without a sacrifice, and from this all the problems. But, as it seemed to him, the most important factor was that on the soul of Minato Namikaze there was a trace from the seal of the god of death. And since his wife, Kushina, was present at the imposition of his seal, then her soul too. They simply could not be called into this world. The fox's plan was simple, to reroute the technique from Naruto's father and mother, since he had no way of interrupting it altogether. Then perhaps the two of them would have enough chakra to at least pay the world of the dead for the jutsu itself. Of course, in this case, no one will come to the call of Edo Tensei, but at least they will remain alive. Fox didn't hesitate. He again folded the control seals, and through the flow of chakra began to control the objects of technology. The radiance pouring out of him and Naruto gradually became the usual bluish hue. Now comes the hardest part, Kyubi sighed. The fox didn't know how much time had passed. But he knew he was very tired. He literally felt his endless chakra coming to an end. But the end of Edo Tensei was not in sight. Naruto had already stopped emitting bursts of chakra, and the fox, in order to be safe, passed part of his strength through him. And then die inadvertently. But Kyubi knew that they weren't strong enough. He was almost despairing, when suddenly something amazing happened. The bars that served as his prison began to crumble into tiny pieces of chakra, freeing the fox and rushing towards Naruto. Now the fox was completely free, and the radiance of energy around Naruto intensified. Fox looked around. If he wanted to, he could spit on the boy right now and escape from his body. But no, he won't do it. Now he was free. Free not only physically, but also mentally. He was free to make his own choices, without the influence of the Manjikyu or the power of the forest. And his choice was to save his Jinchuriki. The fox already wanted to stretch out his paw to the boy and stop his torment, interrupting the technique, but suddenly he was shackled by an unknown force. The first Hokage medallion that was hanging around Naruto's neck blazed with green sparks, and chakra began to pour out of it as well. Not more than a minute passed. The huge flow of chakra that was concentrated around Uzumaki finally began to dissipate little by little until it completely disappeared. The fox, realizing that he was now able to move, extended his paw to the boy to check if he was all right, when he was suddenly thrown a decent distance by a familiar stream of wildly rotating chakra. "The fourth," growled the fox, rising to all its paws. "I didn't think I'd see you again." "And I you," Minato snapped back. "What happened here? Why aren't you in a cage?" And added to himself, "And why did I show up so late? After all, I put my chakra into Naruto in such a way that I will appear when he decides to release the Kyuubi, or when his 8 tails appear. I'll answer all your questions, fourth." "Well, try it," Namikaze grunted skeptically. "Only if you get close to Naruto. You stubborn idiot." The fox roared. "Your son used Edo Tensei without any human sacrifice, and if it wasn't for my chakra, he would already be dead. Did my son use this technique?" Minato whispered in disbelief. "But why? What did he want to achieve?" The fox, having ceased to grin menacingly, answered already in a calm tone. "He wanted to resurrect you and your wife." "Naruto has been alone all his life," the fox explained to the question in the eyes of the fourth. "Nobody loved him, he had no friends for a long time. And all because people knew about me, knew that I was sealed inside Naruto by you. But they should have considered him a hero." Minato exclaimed indignantly. "After all, he, a little boy, has been holding you back all this time." "These are people," the demon remarked philosophically. "They feared and hated me, and these feelings spread to Naruto. That is why Naruto left the village." "What you said? Why did he leave Konoha?" The fox, with a sigh, told his former enemy everything he managed to see through Naruto. Minato involuntarily opened his mouth upon hearing that the Konoha shinobi had tried to kill his son, but smiled happily upon hearing that Naruto had handled everything. "How strong my son has become. What a pity that when he wakes up, I will no longer be here." "I'll tell him about you," said the fox. "Will you stay with him?" Minato drawled incredulously. "It seemed to me that as soon as the seal fell, you would immediately be reborn. You are the very embodiment of evil and chaos." "Yes, what do you people know about us, tailed ones?" The nine-tailed objected to him in tone. "I liked Naruto, I understood his soul and accepted him. Besides, as long as I'm with Naruto, I'll be controlled by him. Manage, but do not subordinate. I don't want to be controlled by Uchiha or Senju again. After all, the fact that my mind and body so often fell under the control of others created in me a significant share of the malice that was in me. But not now." "Fourth," growled the fox. "Don't need your stupid jokes, I've heard enough of them in the past. I gave all the chakra I had for your son. He even nearly lost his life. Do you think that the me you fought in the outskirts of Konoha would do such a thing?" "No," Minato had to admit. "And if you're telling the truth, then I'll be happy to know that the Kyuubi himself protects our Naruto." Smiling sadly, Namikaze looked at his son. "Tell him that I and his mother love him. And that we are proud of him and do not condemn his decision to leave Konoha. And tell me that I believe in him. I believe that he will be able to find a way that will make him happy." "Don't worry," Kyuubi nodded affirmatively. "He knows everything. And when it's ready." Minato began, but his body was already beginning to melt. "I understood everything." Fourth, the fox somehow quite friendly put his giant paw on the Hokage's shoulder. "When he grows up, I will tell him about everything." "Thank you, fox. And I'm sorry I had to do this to you. Take care of my son. Farewell, fourth Hokage," Kyuubi growled softly as the image of his former enemy disappeared. "I promise I'll do my best to protect Naruto. I think he and I will make a great team." When Naruto woke up, he groaned involuntarily. His head was pounding, his whole body ached terribly. In addition, an incredible feeling of fatigue was simply crushed to the ground, the like of which the boy had not yet experienced. Looking around, Naruto realized that he was in the same place where his last memory had been chopped off. But it was already getting dark in the yard, so he lay in unconsciousness all day. "Yeah. You shouldn't start so abruptly to study the techniques created by the Kage themselves. Now he will know that before practicing something new, he needs to think hard about it." The Uzumaki rose to his feet. Shaking himself off, he took a couple of steps back, but he tripped over something and fell. What a misfortune, they can't hold their legs at all, tomorrow, they'll barely get up at all, he thought with a laugh. But when Naruto saw what had really caused him to fall, all the amusement immediately disappeared. The corpse helped him fall. Jumping back a couple of steps in fright, Naruto noticed another body not far away. His heart was beating fast. What happened here? But as soon as he looked at the bodies, he immediately understood everything. Turning his frightened gaze towards the graves, he swallowed convulsively. The mounds were dotted with many small craters, and the two lying nearby were Momochi Zabuza and Haku. Not believing what he sees, the boy with small steps approached the huge Zabuza, and poked him in the side with his finger. As the disturbed dead man grimaced in pain, Naruto passed out. So, are you awake yet? Having just entered his subconscious through a swoon, Naruto was ready to fall unconscious here as well. How else, if right in front of him in the lotus position sat the nine-tailed himself? In addition, some strange smile played on the demon's mouth. What's going on here? Naruto exclaimed in growing panic. Why aren't you in a cage? And if you got free, then why am I still alive and in control? I do not understand anything. Calm down, Naruto, the Kyuubi said in a bass voice. Sit down and I'll tell you everything. The boy, without taking his eyes off the gigantic fox figure, nevertheless sat down. To begin with, I will answer your question why I am free. Here because you used up the seal chakra when you cast the Edo Tensei. How is this possible? Fox was surprised. Don't you know that this technique requires a sacrifice? Seeing the boy's eyes turn into saucers, Kyuubi sighed tiredly. So you still don't know? Yes, Naruto. The technique was designed in such a way that in order to raise someone from the dead, you have to give someone's life. No matter how weak and pitiful a person is, his vitality in terms of energy will give much more than the chakra of the strongest of the demons. This is convenient. For the death of a miserable and worthless person, one could call on a legendary warrior. I didn't know, Naruto said in amazement. The fox just nodded without going into details. You applied Edo Tensei thoughtlessly, and chakra began to flow out of you into the world of the dead. But the chakra of even the strongest shinobi is not enough to even just pay off not only for summoning another person, but even for the jutsu itself. If I hadn't intervened, you would have lost all your chakra and died. You saved me. Naruto's eyes, which didn't seem to get bigger anymore, at least doubled in size, and his jaw hit the floor. Yes, the fox confirmed. But it wasn't easy for me. Even my chakra was not enough to call. Both of us would have died if the seal hadn't broken and the energy the fourth bound me hadn't flowed into the Edo Tensei. Along with Hashirama Senju's chakra contained in your amulet. All of this, our chakra volumes, the chakra of the fourth and first Hokage, and the fact that I redirected your technique, made it possible for us to survive. That's it. Wait, you said you redirected my technique. What did you mean? That once I intervened, your parents were no longer the target of the technique. But why? Jumping up, Naruto yelled. Because of you, I will never see them again. The fox sighed sadly, hanging his head repentantly on his shoulders. Naruto, you wouldn't be able to summon your parents even if you performed the technique correctly. Hearing this, the boy calmed down and Kyuubi continued. A special seal has been placed on your father's soul, which keeps him in the world of the dead. And since your mother was with him when this happened, the power of the seal touched her too. Besides, even if it hadn't happened, you would be bitterly sorry to resurrect your parents with Edo Tensei. Why so? Naruto wrinkled his nose. There were already tears in his eyes from the realization that everything he did was pointless. He will never see his parents. Yes, because, Naruto, that the one who is summoned with the help of this jutsu, completely obeys the will of the summoner. He won't be truly alive. He will be a walking corpse, fit only for combat, and his age will not expire until he is released to another world, or a strong enemy seals the summoned soul, giving it no more chances to leave the world of the dead. Naruto was genuinely horrified. God, what an abomination I almost did. Naruto groaned, hiding his face in his hands. Mom, Dad, forgive me. I failed you so. If you are looking at me now, then you hate me. You're wrong, said the fox. Your father said he was proud of you. What? But how is this possible? How could my father be here? You said that his soul cannot leave the world of the dead. He must have put some of his chakra into you before. The fox looked at Uzumaki with a bitter look, and, closing his eyes, let out a tear. He sealed me in you. But how can this be? Really? No, it can't be. Is my father himself? Exactly, Kyuubi nodded. Your father is Minato Namikaze, the fourth Hokage of the village hidden in the foliage. Unbelievable, Naruto whispered through his tears. My father is Konoha's greatest hero. And I didn't know that. Why is everyone always hiding everything from me? Really, they were afraid that I would find out ahead of time that you were sitting in me? That's what they were afraid of, the fox confirmed. Your father appeared before me when you were here, but unconscious. He wanted you to know that he and Kushina, your mother, love you very much. They are proud of you and don't blame you for leaving Konoha. He said that he believes that you will find your own path that will make you happy. Your father believes in you, Naruto. Naruto didn't know how to react. A storm of emotions raged inside him. Surprise and joy that he finally found out who his father was, were replaced by grief for him and his mother. In addition, in place of the initial fear of the freed fox, anger and hatred floated to the surface, because it was the nine-tailed one who was responsible for their death. Why, Naruto whispered through tears, why are you, who killed so many people, took the lives of my parents, sitting here now and talking to me? Why don't you break free and start destroying everything around you? Why? Because I have changed, the fox said in a simple way, as if he was forced to state a well-known fact. Naruto, I really was a monster. But being in you changed me. I understand your pain, because you and I are alike. Despite how everyone treated you, you managed to overcome your anger, and this despite the fact that inside you was me, Naruto. Suppressing your anger in yourself, you suppressed it in me. How is this possible? I don't know. Kyubi shrugged. But doesn't the fact that I haven't revived yet while you were unconscious mean anything? Doesn't the fact that I fought alongside you confirm my words? I don't know, Naruto said in turn, sighing tiredly. I don't understand anything anymore. This is too much for me. Besides, anyway, you killed my parents. I'm grateful for my own life, but what you did by attacking Konoha. It's hard for me to forgive you for that. The fox, understanding the boy, sighed. As he expected, everything rested on this. But in order to protect Naruto, he must win his trust. Naruto, he said slowly, would you believe that almost 13 years ago I attacked the hidden leaf against my will? I was forced to do it. What? Naruto snapped. Is that possible? Unfortunately, yes, the fox sighed sadly. In addition to the Jinchuriki, in which I could be controlled by Uchiha, Sharingan carriers, as well as Hashirama Senju, who wielded the power of the forest. I'm not sure if you know, but Uchiha Madara, one of the founders of Konoha, used me to fight Hashirama Senju. He subdued me with a Manjikyu Sharingan. And when he lost, I, like a trophy, went to his rival, the first Hokage. He also controlled me, however, I was very soon sealed in the body of his wife. Well, after her death, I was sealed in your mother. Was my mother your Jinchuriki? Yes, the fox nodded. But during childbirth, when she gave birth to you, the seal was weakened, and someone from outside freed me, immediately after that subordinating to their will. My body acted on only one command, to destroy Konoha. But when for some reason the connection was cut off, and I began to destroy everything around me in a rage, your father took me away from the village and sealed me in you. Since you were still too small, the fourth separated from me the most terrible part of me, and sealed it in himself with the seal of the god of death. Is it because of her that he could not resurrect? Exactly. And since your mother belonged to the Uzumaki clan, famous for its sealing techniques, she helped him. But it turned out that she, too, died in the process. Forgive me, Naruto, I really am to blame for what happened. Naruto looked at the repentant fox for a long time, and then approached him, and closing his eyes, clung to his fiery fur. Nothing, Ninetales, he whispered with a sigh. I hated you, but now I understand that you are also a victim. So you believe me? Naruto nodded. I don't know why, but I believe. It's like someone inside me, don't laugh, not you, he waved away the smiling fox, told me that all this is true. And since everything you said is true, then we can very well become great friends. The fox couldn't help but smile again as he looked into Naruto's laughing face. He gently shook the outstretched hand of the boy with his huge paw. That's just, Uzumaki immediately frowned, thinking about something. Since we are now friends, we should come up with a name for you. And then the Ninetales sounds somehow stupid. Maybe Fok. Or Miyoshi. No, it's too girly. Ah, I figured it out. I will call you. My name is Kurama. The fox roared, spraying Naruto with saliva. Remember, Kurama. Not Miyoshi, not Fayasai, and nothing else. I'm Kurama, Sage Taikyu Naruto. Okay, Uzumaki cringed in fear. Nice to meet you, Kurama. It's better, the fox immediately calmed down, quite laying down, putting his paws under him. He extended one of his tails towards Naruto and picked up the boy and placed him around his neck. So now that we've got it all figured out, do you have any questions you want to ask? Oh, Naruto suddenly thought, slapping his forehead, exactly. Can you tell me what to do with a couple of animated corpses that are now lying there, next to me? What? Kurama drawled suspiciously, and immediately jerked Naruto back to consciousness. It was time to see what they had done with him there. Chapter 6, Starting a New Life. Naruto looked guiltily from the tall man to the boy, and back again. They, in turn, looked in front of them with completely uncomprehending eyes and were silent. Finally, the man spoke. How is that possible? Haven't we died? I felt the life flowing out of me. I looked into Haku's face, and then I wake up and I see you in front of me, Naruto. What's going on here? Yes, Naruto-kun, the black-haired boy nodded in agreement. Please tell us what happened. Naruto let out a weak sigh and smiled weakly. What should they say? What does a person who has just risen from the dead want to hear? Such a person wants to hear the truth. Kurama made a scathing comment. Keep quiet, Naruto mentally dismissed him. Tell me, why are they here? I need to explain it to them somehow. My mistake, the fox admitted. I couldn't interrupt the Edo Tensei completely, I had to redirect it. Except I did it blindly, without choosing who to resurrect. Apparently, Uzumaki guessed, the power of technology found the nearest dead and summoned their souls. Okay, we need to answer something. And Naruto turned to the waiting Zabuza and Haku. You've been dead for over a year, he said, expecting the two to be surprised, but he himself was surprised, since their faces hadn't changed at all. We know we were dead, Naruto-kun, Haku nodded. It's hard to believe that so much time has passed, because I remember our last meeting as if it were yesterday. Exactly, Zabuza confirmed. How are we resurrected? Me, Naruto's voice trembled. He didn't know how they would perceive that they were resurrected by him. I wanted to resurrect my parents with the help of Edo Tensei. At these words, the mist swordsman's eyes widened, and his jaw touched the ground. Haku, who had never heard of such a technique, only glanced in surprise from his teacher to Naruto. But I didn't know that my parents' souls were sealed, and besides, I didn't know about the necessary sacrifices. Because of this, I almost died. The Ninetales managed to save me, but in order for the technique not to kill me, he changed it. Forgive me, Zabuza, Haku, but it turns out that it was I who disturbed you. It was hard for Zabuza to recover from being raised from his grave by the Edo Tensei. It was simply impossible. Is he now just a puppet that has risen from the dead? He looked at Haku. And, meeting his smile, he smiled himself. Well, if, as a slave to the Edo Tensei, he could see that boy's face, if he could take care of him and protect him, then so be it. He will carry out the orders of the one who resurrected him. He swore to himself. It's hard to believe all this, Zabuza shook his head. He put his hand to his chest, trying to calm his pounding heart. And then his face fell again. What? My heart? Haku frightenedly rushed to his teacher. What's wrong with you, Zabuza? You feel bad? The swordsman put his ear to the boy's chest without speaking. And his face stretched into a happy smile, and tears of joy welled up in his eyes. Your heart is beating, Haku, he explained to the boy's silent question. Me too. Whatever happens here, this is not the Edo Tensei I heard about. Tobirama Senju's technique summons the souls of the dead to this world, sealing them in the body. But she is not able to return a person for real. His heart won't start beating again. He will be just a walking dead man who can neither be hurt nor destroyed. Listen, Naruto, he's right, Kurama drawled thoughtfully. I didn't think about it. Tell him to cut his hand. Uzumaki understood no more than his resurrected acquaintances, so he decided to simply follow the instructions of his inner friend, who was more skilled in these matters than he was. Cut your hand, he asked, throwing a kunai at Zabuza's feet. For what? The swordsman asked in surprise, to which the fox in Naruto's head laughed happily. What are you laughing at? Yes, it is. I'm just glad that they have brains in place. Of course, for complete control, you usually need to attach a seal to the summoned ones. But still, the primary commands that do not require serious ethical analysis, the zombie performs without question. And what does it all mean? In a compartment with beating hearts and a completely normal look? Inquired the fox. This will mean that you not only called them into this world, but truly resurrected them. Oh, and that too. Zabuza, as if following the thought of the Ninetales, cut his palm, from which scarlet drops immediately dripped. Blood, the swordsman muttered in surprise. Of course, blood, Zabuza, Haku sighed worriedly, tearing off a flap from his kimono and wrapping the wound. You cut your hand. You must be in pain. No, Haku, Zabuza smiled, it doesn't hurt me. I'm generally very good now. Looks like you and me. You're both just alive, Naruto finished for him. The fox told me that in your case, Edo Tensei has taken a new path, bringing you back completely. I don't know what is the reason for this. Maybe because your bodies were right here. Maybe because Kurama and I have a lot of chakra. I know one thing, you are not zombies, subordinates of Edo Tensei. Now it's like you never died. Unbelievable, whispered Zabuza. Can you really raise the dead with the power of your bijou? No, Naruto shook his head. That trick won't work again. I managed to return you only because the power of the seal that bound my tailed one, as well as the chakra that was here, was added to the chakra given by me and Kurama. As well as the chakra that was here, he lifted the medallion around his neck. It belonged to the first Hokage Hashirama. And who knows what kind of power was enclosed here. I see, Zabuza nodded, swallowing the lump in his throat. Although, to be honest, he did not understand much. In such high realms, he was not strong, and he didn't want to know. Most importantly, he was alive, and next to him was the same living Haku. The rest didn't matter. So, Naruto-kun, Zabuza and I got a second chance as a gift from you? So it is, Naruto shrugged. There was an awkward silence. Zabuza and Haku went into themselves for a while. Naruto didn't rush them, yet it's not every day that a person comes back to life. They had a lot to think about. To take the awkward pause, Naruto gathered some brushwood and lit a fire. When the bright flame dispelled the darkness of the night, Zabuza and Haku, as if waking up, smiled at each other with the happiest smiles. Naruto was happy for them. At least someone in this cruel world got the opportunity to catch up, correct mistakes, do what they simply did not have time to do in the past. Thank you, Naruto, Zabuza bowed, which surprised the boy very much. My gratitude cannot be expressed in words. You opened my eyes back there, on the bridge, making me understand what was most important for me in this life. Now you have returned Haka and me to the world of the living. Yes, Naruto-kun, the black-haired boy nodded. You gave us the opportunity to be together, and we will never forget it. What are you? Naruto muttered. I'm glad you two are alive. At least something good, but lately everything is somehow not so. Zabuza was surprised by the terrible sadness that flashed through Uzumaki's eyes. In addition, in the firelight, he could see the crossed-out bandage of the boy. What happened to him? Tell me what happened to you, Naruto. The boy, without arguing, nodded, and without hiding anything, told his story. Hearing about the circumstances under which Naruto left the village, Zabuza frowned and Haku's eyes filled with tears. That's how it ended, Naruto concluded, staring into the fire. Now if the Konoha ninja find me, they will surely attack me. It doesn't matter if they want to kill me or just return me to the village. Nothing good will come of either one or the other. Naruto-kun, Haku said with pity, how much you got hurt? You've been hurt so much. But you don't have to worry. Zabuza and I will not leave you, we will not let the shinobi of the leaf be offended. Is that right, Zabuza? The mist swordsman, smiling thoughtfully, got up and silently walked towards the graves. With a light movement, he drew his sword and walked over to Naruto. Since I left the village hidden in the fog, I bowed my head to no one, he said sternly. I only fought for myself. Revenge on my past and misunderstanding of my present made me lead a thoughtless life. I didn't have a specific goal. He looked Uzumaki straight in the eyes. You gave me this goal. You gave me back Haku, whom I consider my family. Uzumaki Naruto, he thrust his huge sword into the ground right in front of the boy with force, and he himself knelt down on one knee. I am Momodi Zabuza, one of the shinobi swordsmen of the fog. I swear that I will protect you. I will carry out any of your orders. I beg you, do me the honor and consider me your friend. Get up, Zabuza, Naruto asked him. He was surprised at the calmness with which he accepted the swordsman's gesture. You don't need all that. You and Haku will do me the honor of choosing to be my friend. Then it's decided, Naruto-sama, Zabuza announced loudly as he stood up, putting his blade on his shoulder. From this day forward, Haku and I will never leave you. I'm very happy about that, Naruto smiled, but then frowned. Just let's not use unnecessary suffixes, okay? And then I somehow feel uncomfortable, yet I'm not your Mizukichi. It doesn't matter, the man shrugged. I swore an oath not only to you, but to myself, Naruto-sama. Besides, since we are now together, then, as one team of renegade ninjas, at these words he grimaced in a perky smile, we need a leader. And you are perfect for this role. Naruto was surprised. But why? After all, you are older than me, more experienced, and you know the technician many times more. It's not the number of techniques that defines a good leader, Zabuza shook his head. You will make up for it, and I will help you with this. A leader must be able to make others believe in themselves. And you made it. He's right, Naruto-kun. I also believe in you, and smiling sweetly, he added, where now, Commander? Naruto considered. I think the first thing to do is to say goodbye to Tazuna-san. I'll go get my things. And you wait here so as not to shock him. And, if it's not difficult, please sprinkle the graves. The next morning, the trio left the Land of Waves, returning to the territory of the Land of Fire. During the few days they spent on the road, Naruto managed to get to know Zabuza and Haku very well. The Mist Swordsman, whom he had previously considered a very strong ninja, turned out to be a true storehouse of knowledge, and most importantly, he was ready to begin training his young master, as he sometimes called Naruto, at the earliest opportunity. In communication, the Fog Demon turned out to be a very pleasant person. Uzumaki didn't know what he was like in the past, but now he had a very nice person in front of him who treated him and Haku like little brothers. With Haku, Naruto seemed to have intermarried. The boys understood each other perfectly. Sometimes it got to the point that they did not need words to explain themselves to each other. Zabuza, watching them, was very glad in his soul that these two children met in life. Finally, something good happened in the shinobi world. Now they were sitting in the tavern of one of the coastal cities of the Land of Fire, and decided what to do next. Naruto-sama, Zabuza addressed the boy respectfully as always. What are we going to do? Haku and I are renegade shinobi, you are being hunted by the Konoha ninja. But we have to eat something, therefore we need some work. You've been a renegade for years, Zabuza, Naruto drawled, leaning back in his chair. Tell me, are there many like us? A lot, Naruto-sama, the swordsman replied. It's not just the apostates of the 5 great villages. There are hidden villages in many countries, so criminals flee from there too. In addition, do not forget about independent clans living outside the ninja villages, as well as all sorts of loners. Some of them also get on a slippery slope. After all, there is always a demand for a shinobi, even a nuke, even if there is not a single war going on. And without wars usually does not do. Sure, Naruto nodded. As I understand it, there is no shortage of free ninjas. How is it not in the work that they can find? Zabuza nodded and looked at the boy with interest. He could tell by his tone that Naruto had already thought of something. Confirming his suspicions, Uzumaki pulled out a flyer from his pocket. The swordsman vaguely remembered seeing them as they walked through the streets. It says here that a rich merchant is recruiting experienced warriors for his guards, Naruto quoted as he handed the flyer to his comrades. The detachment is gathering in a large city, which is a couple of days from here, and will proceed to the capital in 4 days. I think this is a good opportunity to start. I agree, Zabuza, Haku nodded. And you? The swordsman only smiled in response. We decided to leave right now so as not to waste time. After several hours of traveling, Naruto heard the fox's voice. Naruto, I think you could do with a little extra gear. I agree, Kurama, but where? I don't have much money, and shinobi equipment in ordinary cities is expensive. Kurama thought for a second, closing his eyes, and then said, once upon a time, these lands belonged to the Land of Whirlpools, your mother's homeland. From Kushina's memories, I know one place where she hid some things. Follow the path that I will show you. Naruto nodded and headed towards the hiding place. Since the Land of Whirlpools, along with its hidden village, was destroyed during the Second Great Shinobi War, there was no longer a road to this place, it was completely overgrown with impenetrable jungle. But, thanks to Kurama's precise instructions, as well as Zabuza's sharp sword, the group reached the place by nightfall. They saw an old, dilapidated and overgrown with ivy, lonely building, which looked especially gloomy in the sepulchral light of the blazing moon. It seemed as if now the dead shinobi of the past would jump out of the bushes and drag the people who had disturbed their peace with them to the next world. Naruto, making his way through the thickets, reached the wall. As he cut through the green ivy with his kunai, the familiar whirlpool symbol came into view. Well, hello, the boy whispered, and pressed on the center of the symbol. As soon as he did so, a piece of the wall obediently moved aside, letting the heir of the Uzumaki clan into his vault. Neither Zabuza nor Haku asked questions as they obediently followed Naruto. When they entered the secret room, and torches were lit around, they realized that they had come all this way for a reason. A huge amount of weapons appeared before their eyes. There were kunai, shurikens, swords, naginats. Armor hung on the walls, exactly like the ones worn by Konoha's Anbu, only black and with a whirlpool symbol on the back. The masks were also included. Also, upon closer examination, there were several scrolls with jutsu, as well as some clothes. Great! Haku exclaimed, looking around in astonishment. Naruto, how did you know about this place? Kurama suggested. Is that the nine-tailed one? Zabuza drawled suspiciously. I was silent, Naruto-sama, but are you sure that he won't harm you? I'm sure, Zabuza, the boy chuckled. He is like you, his past is dark, but his soul is turned to the light. Besides, suddenly thundered in the room, and red chakra foamed behind Naruto's back, which immediately took the form of a fox's head. Momochi Zabuza, you're not the only one willing to kill for Naruto. Zabuza, already grabbing his sword, let go of the hilt. I wanted to personally thank you both. The fox bared his teeth in his smile. It's good that Naruto has human friends. My name is Kurama. Nice to meet you. I'm also very pleased, Kyubi-sama. Haku bowed towards the phantom. Zabuza just nodded. He was still looking suspiciously towards the red chakra. The fox, having greeted the friends of his Jinchuriki, disappeared. Well then, Naruto clapped his hands. Let's pack everything we need, and then we'll have some rest. The first thing Naruto did was change his clothes. Having taken off the hateful orange suit, which no longer corresponded to his new status, he pulled on completely black pants and a shirt, and on top he put on the same black Taiyunin vest, which, like special armor, was exactly like Konokov's. That's just the whirlpool on the back meant not friendship, but belonging to a clan. Zabuza and Haku also needed new clothes. The swordsman, who preferred gray, in which it was easier for him to hide in the fog, chose from a great variety of all kinds of clothing almost the same as what he was wearing. Haku, like Naruto, preferred black, with the only difference being that his choice fell on a kimono. Next came the time for weapons and equipment. Zabuza did not need anything, his cleaver was always with him. But Haku was already stuffing his favorite senbon into his bosom. Naruto, for a long time, could not decide what to take, while stuffing projectiles into his pockets. Take this, Naruto-sama, Zabuza advised him, taking from the shelf a medium-length straight sheath, from which hilts protruded from both sides. The swordsman helped the boy attach the ninjato behind his back, which is remarkable, in a horizontal position, after which he asked, well, how? Naruto drew both blades a little awkwardly, swinging them a few times. Looks good, he concluded, sheathing his blades. A good weapon. Made from chakra-active steel. Great for elemental techniques. Which you promised to teach me, Naruto remarked. I didn't forget, Naruto-sama, Zabuza nodded affirmatively. We'll start tomorrow morning. In the meantime, I would advise you to sort out the scrolls that lie here. Take whatever you find useful. Nodding in agreement, Naruto moved to the right shelf. There were dozens of scrolls. As Kurama had commented to him, the Uzumaki were famous for sealing techniques, so a good third of the jutsu scrolls were for them. But there were others that described many common techniques of all 5 elements, as well as many other jutsu, including taijutsu and genjutsu. At first glance, there is everything you should learn, Kurama drawled thoughtfully. Since you, do not be offended, Naruto, no little, I advise you to take everything. There are dozens of them. Horrified Naruto, looking around the rack. Throw away your backpack, and take one of those that lie to your right, the fox advised. It is made of a special material impregnated with chakra. It's not noticeable at first glance, but it fits a lot more than any other backpack. Uzumaki even in such trifles manage to use their knowledge of seals. You won't even notice how you pack a whole arsenal there. Having collected everything they needed and prepared for the journey, the trio lit a fire and went to bed. Tomorrow they were waiting for a difficult day, which will mark the beginning of their joint adventures. Chapter 7, The First Mission. The next morning our friends woke up very early. And while Haku, who volunteered to cook breakfast, was drooling around the fire, Zabuza decided to take the first step in teaching Naruto. As you know, he began his lecture, there are hundreds, even thousands of different ninjutsu in the world. But especially strong and popular are the jutsu that use the elements as their basis. There are only 5 of them, fire, water, earth, wind and lightning. Depending on which element a person is predisposed to, he will use certain techniques. And one person can have several elements at once. Of course, Zabuza nodded. The same Kakashi uses 3 elements at once, water, fire and lightning. But to achieve this, you need to practice a lot. And, of course, have a predisposition. Now we will check which elements you have a predisposition to. He took out a stack of what looked like ordinary pieces of paper and asked Naruto to sit down. Close your eyes, he said, laying 5 pieces of paper in a row in front of the boy. These were not ordinary chakra detectors. On each sheet there was a label for one of the opposite elements, which made it possible to immediately determine all the elements that the shinobi had. So, if Naruto is predisposed to the elements of water, the leaf with the mark of fire will get wet, since fire was weaker than water. Do not think about the elements. Think only of the chakra. Make her get out of you. Uzumaki immediately tried to concentrate. Fortunately, ever since Kurama stopped fiddling with his emotions, and he himself began to control himself better. Meditations began to turn out much better for him. He tried to drive out of his head all thoughts that could lead him astray. Only he and his chakra remained, and nothing could stop him. He took hold of the flow of his own energy, and tried to gently push it out. "You can open your eyes," Zabuza said in a low voice. When Naruto opened his eyelids, he saw that the leaf on the far left was very wet, and the second on the right was only ashes. A fresh breeze blew, and the leaf that was in the center succumbed to its strength, and flew away with it, falling apart into 2 even halves. "Great," Zabuza concluded. "You have a predisposition to the elements of fire, water and wind. But what is really good is the presence of water. I can teach you my techniques." "Yes, I'm cool, Dadabayo." Naruto clapped his hands smiling. True, he did this, rather, out of habit. The former childish excitement in him was much less. 3 elements. Yes, I did not hope to find one in myself. "Don't rush, Naruto-sama," Zabuza gently reprimanded him. "We have only determined what jutsu you can physically control. Take Haku for example. He has a Kekkei Genkai of ice, which he is excellent at. But he does not use his predisposition to water and air, since ice is closer to him. Why doesn't he practice water and air techniques?" Naruto was surprised. "Because, Naruto-kun," Haku said, "my ability to control ice is in my blood. This is the improved genome. I can use the element of ice instinctively, but I'm not very good at controlling the basic elements." "Sure," Naruto nodded. "So, let's start training water. I think we'll get started right now. And I will study fire and wind myself when we have time." "But, Naruto-sama," Zabuza asked in surprise, "what about your plan for our work?" The boy just smiled back. "I've thought of everything," he replied, folding the seal. Shadow cloning. 4 more Narutos appeared nearby. "I started to notice something when I was using shadow clones," Naruto began to explain. "With each new use of them, I seemed to receive all the experience that they gained in battle. My suspicions were confirmed when I fought the Anbu and Kakashi-senpai. There were moments when I, sitting in ambush, could not see what was happening on the battlefield. But when my shadow clone dissolved, I immediately received all the information he had obtained." "And you made this conclusion yourself?" The mist swordsman muttered in surprise. "Yes, it's just incredible. But everything is logical. If your clones learn to use any techniques, then once the clone jutsu wears off, all their knowledge will pass to you. And you can train something else at the same time." Or, Naruto agreed with him, "if several of my clones train the same thing, then I will learn everything as many times faster as the number of clones will help me with this." "Then let's get started," exclaimed Zabuza, rubbing his hands contentedly. Of course, the mist swordsman decided to teach the boy water techniques. To begin with, he chose 4 of the simplest techniques: a water ball, a wave, a water wall, and a directed jet. Showing all 5 of Naruto the seals for each technique in turn, he waved towards the bushes farthest from the building. "There's a stream there. You will train next to him. It is very difficult to apply water techniques without a source of water." "Yes." The Shadow Quartet answered in chorus, and, overtaking each other, hurried to the first training session in a long time. Zabuza shook his head, smiling. Naruto, after seeing his copies with a calm look, threw on his new vest, after which he said, "Let's eat faster. We need to hurry." Once they'd had some refreshment, it was time to move out. And from behind the thickets, the curses of the clones were heard for a long time, of which there were at least 100 by the stream. The original Naruto, in order not to throw off all the work on his copies, conscientiously stuffed seals on his fingers, which Zabuza showed him. Snake, bird. Snake, bird, snake. So. Ox, dog, snake. Damn, it's not customary to work with seals, Dadabayo. But each time he got better and better. Now he was working without chakra, simply bringing the technique algorithms to automatism. But Zabuza, watching him, could already tell that Naruto would perfectly master all 3 elements. He was even more convinced of this when, at a halt, Naruto, taking out a flask of water, instead of taking a sip, began to peer into it intently. Neither Zabuza nor Haku couldn't help but smile as a thin trickle came out of the neck, which with a wave of the hand turned into a water ball, which Naruto immediately put into his mouth. "Well done, Naruto-kun," Haku praised him. "You learn very quickly. Very soon you will become much stronger." Naruto felt that his clones were still training, so he came to this on his own. Not bad. What happens when technology breaks down? Encouraged that he began to gain control over water with the help of chakra, the boy opened one of the wind scrolls, and, still on the move, began to study it. Here, his friends could not help him, none of them possessed wind element techniques. so they were forced to watch from the side as Naruto, reading the scroll, tried to focus chakra on his new blade. They reached the city they needed just in the evening. Seeing burning fires in the distance, the shinobi quickened their pace in order to quickly get to some tavern and, having eaten heavily, had a little rest. What they needed, especially Naruto. For as soon as they passed the gate, Uzumaki literally fell off his feet. Hey, Zabuza sighed, picking him up. It's true what they say, everything has a side effect. Probably, your clones dispersed, and along with their experience, you received their fatigue. Naruto, breathing heavily, still smiled. Even if his strength left him too abruptly, he expected it. The main thing was the result. Pushing off from Zabuza and putting himself in a more or less stable vertical position, Naruto folded several seals with barely moving hands. The water left in the tub by some mistress after washing, obeying the strength of the shinobi, immediately reared up. Zabuza stared in amazement at the water wall, the same defensive technique he showed Uzumaki just this morning. Ah, Databeo! Muttered Naruto, and once again launched into free fall. Wonderful, Naruto-sama, Zabuza praised him, throwing him over his shoulder. No wonder you are our leader. Zabuza, take me to where there is ramen, he muttered at his back, unable to move. He promised himself that he would be more careful with the study of new techniques. That is okay. The first time is always difficult. But he will become stronger very quickly, so fatigue did not bother him much. After all, his friends will be with him, who, in which case, will ensure. Come on, idiots! Shouted the man in the red kimono, urging the porters on. Faster, I said. If Hiroyuki-sama doesn't leave right away, I'll cut off your heads and put them on the spikes. It was in the shopping district of the city where Naruto, Zabuza and Haku came. The rich merchant was preparing to leave earlier than he thought, so now everything was a complete mess. Hiroyuki, a man in his 50s who was the same merchant, sighed heavily. Most of this mess was caused by his assistant, who threatened everyone in a row, as well as a team of 20 swordsmen who crowded around him and only interfered with the gathering. No, he understood that protection was necessary, moreover, he was ready to spend a hefty sum to protect his life. But the thought began to visit him more and more often that among these thugs there were no really good warriors. Hiroyuki did not immediately notice that a strange trio appeared in the courtyard of his house. In the center stood a fair-haired boy of about 14, dressed in all black. The hilts of swords peeked out from behind the teenager's back. But the main thing that caught Hiroyuki's attention was the shinobi vest, and the steel protector of the leaf on the boy's headband. So he was a ninja from Konoha. But the sheet was crossed out, which means the boy was no longer a member of the hidden village. His companions, standing behind him, also looked interesting. One is a healthy, tall man, with just a huge sword behind his back, the other is a boy, the same age as the first, very handsome, a bit like a girl. Finally, Hiroyuki's dumb-headed assistant noticed that intruders had appeared in his master's domain, and he threateningly grabbed the hilt of the katana and shouted, "Come on, go away, dogs! What the hell do you want here?" "We came according to the announcement," the boy who was in the center calmly responded. He showed a flyer, one of the ones that Hiroyuki's people put up in neighboring towns. It says here that a rich lord will pay skilled warriors to guard his life. I think he will agree that shinobi are the best defense you can find. Mr. Hiroyuki doesn't need people anymore. Shouted assistant. He already has a detachment of strong warriors who will protect him from any danger. These, or what? The big man grunted, adjusting the cleaver behind his back. From this movement of his, the guards immediately grabbed their weapons in fear. Young people, do you think that you can surpass them? Hiroyuki asked curiously as he watched the trio with undisguised impatience. They seemed very interesting to him. Naruto-kun, the black-haired boy turned to what seemed to be the main thing with a warm smile. Let me demonstrate to them. Just don't kill anyone, Haku, Naruto said in an indifferent tone, nodding. I won't even hurt them, the black-haired man smiled back. Immediately, in his hands, it is not clear where the senbons appeared from. The swordsmen didn't have time to blink an eye, as sharp needles flew at them. The 10 people they were thrown at shuddered, but remained on their feet, not understanding what had happened to them. At first it seemed to them that the guy had missed, trying to attack the whole crowd, but as soon as they wanted to teach the impudent ones a lesson, they realized that they could not move. Each of you got a senbon in one of the acupuncture points, the boy in the black kimono explained with the same smile. You are paralyzed, and now you cannot even move your eyes. Now you are nothing more than useless pillars. But there is still us. Roared one of the mercenaries who hadn't been attacked. The guy had already drawn his sword and, waving it menacingly, moved towards the ninja. Naruto could see in his eyes that he was going after Haku. Naruto glanced around the yard. Among all the confusion, he noticed several buckets of water, as well as a tub from which it was collected. He folded several seals with lightning speed. All the water that was in the vicinity gathered into one big wave, which in an instant swept away the screaming guards, slamming them into the wall of the house. "Well done, Naruto-sama," Zabuza whispered to the boy. "Simply superbly executed. Even I barely followed you." Naruto just nodded in response and turned his full attention to the merchant. He, in turn, stepped over one grief fighter, squelching his sandals, approached them. "I will pay you 100,000 ryo if you agree to protect me. This is a hard bet. If you have to join the fight, I will add another 50,000 to you." "But, sir," yelled, it was a guy in red. "Shut up, Rashi," he snapped at his henchman. "Say thank you that I do not expel all this rabble that you found for me. You will guard my things on the road, and I will entrust my life to these worthy shinobi. My name is Hiroyuki. I am very glad that you decided to take on my protection. I'm Uzumaki Naruto." The boy shook the outstretched hand. "This is Zabuza and Haku. If you want to move forward right now, then I think there is no time to waste. A few days' journey to the capital." "And that's true," he said, climbing under the palanquin of the stretcher, which the servants immediately picked up. "Rashi, gather people, we're leaving." The servants, at the signal of the master, went forward, and our trinity paced behind the stretcher. Naruto didn't see the need to carry on conversations with his client, even though the merchant often peeked out from behind the palanquin and looked at it with interest. Surely, such a rich man, besides living in the land of fire, has already had to deal with the ninja of Konoha. In addition, he may have had time to meet an renegade ninja. Perhaps the old man was worried about his crossed-out protector, or maybe his age. Naruto didn't care, to be honest. It was his first order, and he was going to simply fulfill it. The money they will receive from this mission will ensure their comfortable existence for a long time, which will bring some confidence in the future. Instead of entertaining the client with chatter, Naruto once again took out the scroll of air techniques and began to study it thoughtfully. Kurama, as they were leaving the city, promised to give the boy a signal if he sensed danger. And Naruto trusted him, because he knew how strong the feelings of the fox were. And he was not mistaken in trusting him. In the middle of the day, when they were about to stop for a halt, Kurama stirred inside Naruto. "Danger ahead. 3, all shinobi. Average, nothing more. Zabuza, Haku, get ready," Naruto commanded calmly, surprising Hiroyuki. The merchant looked around at the trees that grew in an even wall on both sides of the road, but did not notice anything. "What's the matter, young man?" "That's what." Naruto spun around and drew his blades from their scabbards. "Zabuza, on the right." "Understood." The mist swordsman in one jump was in front of the stretcher, and with a light movement of the sword, he repulsed the shurikens that suddenly flew out from behind the trees. Haku had already moved into position on the left, looking around. Between his fingers, as always, were Senbon. As Kurama said, there were 3 enemies. After the ranged attack failed, they jumped out of their hiding place and went on a direct attack. Each of them was armed with a sword. Their faces were hidden by ordinary rag masks. "Haku, Zabuza, don't interfere," Uzumaki pleaded as he prepared to attack. "I'll do everything myself." "But Naruto-kun, there are 3 of them, enough for all of us." "I'm not talking about that." Naruto shook his head. "I just want to try something new." And he rushed forward. Passing streams of chakra through his blades, as stated in the scroll, he tried to control it so that 2 directed streams seemed to sharpen each other. He didn't know if he could do it right away, but it was worth a try. Here is one of the enemies swinging in his direction, and his blade meets Naruto's blade. And notwithstanding the power of the elements of the wind, it breaks in half. The chakra-soaked ninjato Uzumaki wounded the shinobi in the shoulder, and he, clutching the bleeding wound, jumped back. But 2 others were approaching. Naruto, who was already happy with the new move he had learned, decided to try another one. Gathering chakra in his blades, he turned 360 degrees and struck with them. The element of the wind. Air blades. A directed wave of trembling air reached one of the shinobi in an instant, punching through his chest. He fell and didn't get up again. The third, seeing what fate befell his comrade, spat on everything and disappeared behind the trees. "Kurama," Naruto mentally called as he sheathed his blades and pulled out a kunai. "Where is he?" "Over that oak, which is between 2 pines, Kurama prompted, calculating the chakra of the attacker. Naruto thanked him, and then, passing the wind chakra through the kunai, threw him in the indicated direction. The chakra-enhanced kunai punched through the thick wood with ease. There was a cry of pain, proving that the boy had hit the target. Naruto smiled, and had already turned to face his friends, when suddenly the ground heaved under his feet. Zabuza twitched towards the wounded shinobi that Naruto had forgotten about, and who, taking advantage of his gaffe, used an earth element technique. but there was no need for his intervention. Naruto, pushing his hands directly from the currents of air, deftly avoided the blow. Damn bastard! The injured shinobi yelled, throwing some shuriken at Naruto. But Naruto, having folded a couple of seals, only put his hand in front of him, and all the projectiles were reflected by the wind. Who sent you? Naruto asked coldly, concentrating Kurama's chakra on his hands and stepping towards the shinobi. Tell me, who sent you? Go to hell! The attacker shouted, after which, throwing a saber under his feet, he disappeared in clouds of smoke, taking with him the body of his comrade. Naruto, showing no emotion, returned to the stretcher. We need to move on, he said to Hiroyuki. Only now you tell me who's after you. The merchant was very surprised by this statement. Where did you get it, young man? Because, Naruto was not at all embarrassed, that you didn't just hire such a guard for yourself. Naruto waved his hand at the mercenaries hurrying towards them. When there is such a unit, shinobi are not hired if the main threat is ordinary robbers. You were afraid of something, and since we were attacked, your fears are not unfounded. So what's up? Hiroyuki sighed heavily and nodded. You're right, young man. I really fear for my life. And the thing is that I was once the owner of the Kongar mine. Naruto and Haku looked at each other in surprise, but Zabuza whistled in surprise. It's one of the most secure prisons in the entire Fire Nation. Exactly, Hiroyuki nodded. And since the environment there drains chakra very effectively, my mines became a favorite place for shinobi to send their criminals. Not only from Konoha, but also from other villages. What happened? Riot, Hiroyuki replied simply. The prisoners mutinied and fled. Among them were notorious villains who swore to get to me. That's why I'm moving to the capital. With the daimyo's protection, I hope I'll be safe. I see, Naruto said, and giving the command to the servants with a gesture, he went forward. So you will continue to protect me? Yes, he said without stopping. I'm not used to giving up my words. Let all your former prisoners come for you, we can protect you. Naruto never imagined that his words would turn out to be prophetic. The next 3 days passed without incident, and with only a few hours to go to the capital, the group began to believe they were safe. But it was not there. A whole crowd was waiting for them at the crossroads. With a cursory glance, Naruto counted about 30 people, a third of which were clearly shinobi, and the rest also looked presentable, unlike Rashi's guards. Naruto, about a dozen more lurked in the ambush, the fox said, moving his muzzle from side to side in Naruto's subconscious. Thanks, Kurama. Hiroyuki-san, stay here with your guards while we take care of everything. Come on, Zabuza. Haku, cover Hiroyuki-san. The boy nodded, after which he created an ice wall from the water in the flask, which closed him and their ward from possible attacks. Zabuza, along with Naruto, prepared their weapons and moved towards the crowd. Ah, here are our mice. One of the enemy shinobi exclaimed, grinning nastily. And we already thought. What did they think there? The guy did not have time to say, because in the next moment he was blown away by a powerful stream of air. Naruto did not listen to him, immediately attacking with an air whirlwind, which he created with the help of ninjato. He was always infuriated by the chatter before the battle, as he did not see the point in talking about something with his enemy. Zabuza didn't waste any time either. Since he could not effectively use his water techniques, due to the lack of its source, the mist swordsman used his huge sword to the fullest, the first blows of which killed 3 warriors at once. And Naruto wasn't far behind him. Having knocked down 4 more with long-range airstrikes, trying not to kill anyone at the same time, he burst into the thick of enemies, standing with his back to Zabuza's back. And what will you do? Roared the shinobi, who had a crossed-out cloud bandage on his forehead. He seemed to be in charge. There are several times more of us. That's what you think, Naruto grinned as he put away his swords. Shadow clone technique. Clones began to appear everywhere, and after a moment, the attackers were already surrounded by hundreds of Naruto. What the hell? The bandits yelled with one voice. The ambush quickly fell into disarray. Even the shinobi that were among the attackers were already thinking about running away. But the leader of the bandits, apparently, still believed that the advantage was on his side. He gave a signal, and the same fighters that Kurama spoke of emerged from the shelter. A fierce fight ensued. Blades converged more than once, shurikens flew in all directions, fire, lightning and earth techniques intertwined together, turning the intersection into a brutal battlefield. Not in vain, according to Naruto's plan, Haku remained in the rear, his ice wall quite effectively held back the blows of crazy shurikens, fireballs and dashing lightning that reached her. Seeing that Zabuza and his own clones were doing fine with the remnants of the gang, the real Naruto turned his full attention to the leader, a renegade ninja from the cloud. The burly red-skinned kid, unarmed, fought with his bare hands, pumping chakra through them, creating something that Naruto likened to Kakashi's Chidori. With heroic swings, he sent more and more new clones into oblivion, so Naruto decided to deal with him personally. Swinging his swords in front of him, he blasted cold steel straight at him with a war cry. But, surprisingly, the renegade easily blocked the blade straight with his hands, and in turn landed a crushing kick straight into Naruto's chest. What the hell? The boy whispered, spitting blood. He watched in surprise as a bolt of lightning jumped down his opponent's leg. So, with the help of it, he makes his body invulnerable, and the blows are so powerful. And how to overcome it? Wind is stronger than lightning, Naruto, Kurama spoke in his head, giving another clue. Use your element against him, and win. Uzumaki literally dawned on the fox's prompt. Wasting no time, he charged at his opponent again. The big guy greeted him with a smile, but Naruto quickly wiped it off his face. Moments before his ninjato would make contact with the renegade ninja's hands, the boy forced chakra through them using wind element. Like Kurama said, wind is stronger than lightning. The wind chakra-enhanced blades cut through the lightning shield with ease, slicing through flesh and then bone. The red man staggered back and roared furiously in pain, shaking his bloody hands that were missing fingers. I'll kill you. He rushed at the boy. But Naruto was ready. His clone had been spinning chakra in his palm for a few seconds now, and as the big man approached him, Naruto attacked back with all his fury. Rasengan. The leader was thrown far back by the chakra blow. There were traces of blood on his chest, broken ribs could be seen pierced through his lungs. But Naruto didn't care about him. Taking a Rasengan from another clone, he hit another shinobi, then with his bare hands sent an ordinary warrior to the shoulder blades. The clones, meanwhile, under the guidance of the swordsman of the mist, dealt with the gang, and now tied the hands of the survivors. Great job, Naruto-san, a joyful Hiroyuki approached them. I recognize many of my prisoners among these people. And that one from the cloud, Rinoko, their leader. It was he who revolted. I think you'll be rewarded in the capital for capturing him. As well as the promised reward from me. Thank you very much for the praise, Naruto nodded discreetly, suddenly drawing his swords. But, apparently, my work is not finished yet. He took a defensive stance, peering into the distance as the fox warned him of the approach of another squad. But, surprisingly, it was a formation of soldiers, on whose standard the flag of the country of fire fluttered. Hiroyuki-sama, the breathless squad leader bowed. Your letter has been received, and we were instructed to meet and escort you to the city. The officer looked around the battlefield. Dead bodies, pools of blood, as well as many groaning wounded did not hide from his experienced gaze. Did your guard do it? These are respected shinobi, Hiroyuki nodded affirmatively at the Trinity. They saved my life and escorted me here safe. I see, the officer nodded gloomily, studying Naruto's crossed-out protector for quite some time. But, since Hiroyuki looked at the boy more than favorably, he remained silent. Well, please. Follow me. Ten's manager. He shouted into line. Escort these robbers to the dungeon. Even though we haven't had time to fight them, we'll at least put them under lock and key. The line of soldiers, prisoners and servants moved forward in an uneven crowd. Naruto, Zabuza and Haku, a little behind, were walking behind. Here we have completed our first task, Naruto-sama, Zabuza said contentedly, placing the cleaver behind his back. And this is just the beginning, Naruto replied quietly. Only the beginning. Chapter 8, Unexpected Encounter Number 1. Having dealt with their first task, the happy trio stayed in the capital for several days, resting, eating and indulging in various entertainments. Each of them had their own. For example, Zabuza, as soon as he had a free minute, went to the Mizu-Sebai quarter, the realm of debauchery, drunkenness and excitement. And he went there not for cheap love or booze, but for worthy opponents, as the swordsman of the fog missed shogi very much. Of course, in the shady quarter, he found what he was looking for. However, he had to enjoy not only the excellent logic game, but also the good fight after it ended. Haku, if he did not go along with Zabuza, went for a walk around the city. Born in a small village, and after constantly traveling with Zabuza, he was struck to the core by the size of the capital of the Land of Fire. He gazed in fascination at the ornate houses and mansions that made up the local landmarks, chief among which was the daimyo's palace. Naruto didn't give himself much time to rest. As soon as Hiroyuki gave them the money and declared the task completed, he immediately said goodbye to the client and continued his training. Fortunately, the owner of the hotel, having received a decent amount from his clients, allowed the young shinobi to train in the backyard. Money came in handy. Naruto began to try more and more destructive jutsu. He continued to train water and wind techniques, and added a few more simple ninjutsu to them. Surprisingly, either due to the fact that he had changed, or because of the help of the wise Kurama, Naruto comprehended everything much faster than he could have imagined. And when he started the techniques of seals, it seemed to him that nothing could be easier. That's what clan jutsu means, Naruto the fox said in a satisfied tone, when the boy sent another thing, an animal, or even a drunkard who had fallen asleep on the threshold of the tavern, into the scroll with another successful seal. From the outside it may seem that you have been studying seals for many years. Probably, Uzumaki's blood is playing in me, Naruto replied contentedly, manipulating another scroll. To be honest, if you showed him who all these complicated symbols and hieroglyphs were from a month ago, he would have laughed in the face of this person. Well, he could not then believe that all these paper seals have such power. But now, when he had read a lot about them during these days, he began to believe that the seals are, if not the most, then one of the coolest jutsu. He understood why his clan was so feared in the past. As it turned out, anything could be sealed, from objects and animals to living people and the most powerful ninjutsu. It was dangerous to seal creatures like bijou in pieces of paper, since they consisted mainly of chakra, which is why gentrix, or objects that could contain their power, were needed. Naruto understood that, having learned a little of everything, he was not yet very strong in seals. Only those that he knew came out of him notably. He especially liked the paralyzing seals that could be placed on the enemy, as well as the blocking seals that pulled any attacks into themselves, whether it was a rain of shurikens or even elemental ninjutsu. Naruto himself was amazed at how much he was able to learn in a week. Precisely in a week, because after 7 days a man came to them, who, on the advice of Hiroyuki, decided to hire them for his protection. He traveled to the land of bamboo, but since his family was at odds with one shinobi clan, he feared for his life. Naruto agreed and the next day they were on their way. Of course, they met opponents along the way. But thanks to the knowledge and strength of all three, they successfully dealt with the enemies, and managed to complete this task as well. Then they got a new one, and then another, and another. Several months passed in endless tasks. At first, these were ordinary escort missions, classified as level B ninja, no higher. But it so happened that every time they were attacked, and sometimes they were not only ordinary robbers, but very strong shinobi. But Naruto, Zabuza and Haku defeated everyone. They successfully acquired a reputation as a reliable team of shinobi, turning to which a person could hope to solve his problem. Then they began to give them more serious work, in particular, the rescue of important hostages. Among others, they snatched the daughter of the governor of a northern province of the Land of Fire from the clutches of the renegade ninjas, returned the son of the second minister of the Land of Earth, and also dealt with a dangerous gang that, trying to rob the currency house right in the capital of the Land of Wind, took hostage more than 40 human. The name Uzumaki Naruto and his companions resounded in many countries. Everywhere they spoke of him as a very decent shinobi, even if he was an apostate, and the local authorities, even seeing his protector, were in no hurry to catch him, especially since Konoha never received official statements about him. On the contrary, knowing about his attitude to the matter, Naruto began to offer even delicate tasks, and not only private individuals. Naruto was doing one of them right now. He quietly made his way along the ceiling of the palace, in which he needed to conduct reconnaissance. His mission was to learn about the plans of the High Military Command of the Land of Apple Trees. This task was entrusted to him by the daimyo of the Land of Rivers. Naruto during his journey learned a lot about the geopolitical situation among the dwarf states. Being a carefree genin of Konoha, he could not even imagine that there were constant wars around such a giant as the Land of Fire, as well as around other great countries. Small states, lands and principalities constantly attacked each other, defended themselves from enemies, built cunning intrigues, made and broke alliances, converged in furious battles and killed their opponents from around the corner. And in all this they were helped by shinobi. And since not all of these countries had hidden villages, some of them resorted to the help of free clans or apostates. Thus, the daimyo of the Land of Rivers hired Naruto, Zabuza and Haku to help him figure out if he should prepare for another war. Naruto quietly crept into the meeting room. The ceilings here were high, so no one noticed him. Below, several men in battle gear were leaning over the map, discussing something. The boy looked closer, but could not see anything. Crap! He whispered, jumping down from the ceiling onto the balcony. Below, in the direction of the commanders, a servant was walking with a tray in his hands. As long as he didn't turn towards them, he had a chance. Oh, it wasn't. Naruto easily jumped down from the balcony, and, catching up with the servant, kicked the tray out of him, and while he flew up with the cups, the boy knocked out the servant himself. Well, after that he picked up a tray that was in free fall. Well, you're a freak, brother, Naruto shook his head disapprovingly, examining the pockmarked servant. Well, okay, there's nothing to do. Transformation Jutsu. Turning into a servant, Naruto, trying to give his face a respectful expression, approached the military leaders. Putting the tray on the table, he looked at the map with a cursory glance, after which, bowing, he went away. When the corner hit him, Naruto disappeared. Zabuza, Haku, as well as a man in his 40s, dressed in blue armor, stared hard at Naruto, who sat in front of them with his eyes closed. Suddenly the boy started up, his eyelids fluttered. "Eat!" he exclaimed. "I found out everything." "Well?" the daimyo asked impatiently. "The country of apple trees is preparing its army?" "Yes," Naruto nodded back. "I knew it." But, Naruto stopped his ranting, "she's preparing her against the Reed country, whose troops are harassing their southern borders. The apple tree does not even think about the north. Is it a precise information?" "Yes," the boy nodded. "I myself saw the location of their troops on the map. Everything is accurate. They are preparing to defend, not attack." "Very well, Naruto-san," the daimyo exclaimed, jumping up. "And thank you very much. Come to my treasurer today, he will give you the fee." "Thank you daimyo-sama," Naruto bowed. "We'll probably go." Saying goodbye to the happy ruler, they hurried to leave his palace and find some quiet place where they could rest. Naruto was thinking that it wasn't so bad to be a renegade. If not for him, then the Land of Rivers would certainly have launched a preemptive strike on a neighbor who, in their opinion, was too active in mobilizing. Such tasks brought peace to Naruto's soul. After all, during these 6 months he had to do things that the Uzumaki genin would never have done. Yes, he did not take missions to kill anyone, but in the course of completing the tasks for which he undertook, he had to take lives. Many lives. And only the realization that he not only kills, but also saves many people, did not allow him to go crazy and become an ordinary soulless mercenary. It was decided to mark the next successfully completed task on a grand scale. Zabuza, who loved not only delicious food, but also knew how to find where delicious food was prepared, led them to one restaurant, where a huge table was already laden with all kinds of dishes. "Happy birthday, Naruto-sama. Congratulations, Naruto-kun." Naruto smacked his forehead and smiled. How could he forget his 14th birthday? Yes, completely out of my head. And how could his friends know about him? Because he didn't tell them anything. To his question about this, Zabuza, frowning, replied, "I don't know about Haku, but a giant fox appeared to me in a dream. He said that today is your birthday, and that it would be nice to arrange it." Naruto laughed furiously, clutching his stomach. "Kurama," he mentally called out, "your tricks." The fox did not answer, only growled contentedly in the boy's subconscious. "Yes, he is," Zabuza muttered in an offended way. "I have never seen a nine-tailed, but I definitely recognized the Biju chakra. I almost died when I saw it, and I liked the fox." Haku smiled broadly. "We had a little chat, and he told me a lot about you, Naruto-kun." So, chatting and chuckling, the trinity began to eat. In parallel, gifts were presented to the birthday boy, knowing that the boy fell in love with the sealing techniques. Zabuza gave him a large scroll soaked in chakra, and which was great for any seals. And Haku went further, he carved several sealing techniques on one of the sets of Maelstrom Anbu armor, for sure copying them from the Uzumaki scrolls. Naruto, touched, immediately took off his vest and tried on the armor, and also drew one of the seals on the scroll from memory, immediately sending a couple of kunai into it. After thanking his friends, he apologized to them as he sank into his mind as Kurama called out to him very insistently. "Naruto, I also wanted to wish you a happy birthday," the fox said seriously as the boy appeared in front of him. "And also give a gift." When Naruto woke up, Zabuza and Haku looked at him a little worriedly. Of course, he actually passed out for a while, and now his face is just burning with excitement and anticipation. Suddenly, the red chakra began to concentrate around him, which, bubbling and foaming, took the form of a nine-tailed fox, which in size looked like either a big cat or a small dog. Looking into the laughing red eyes of the Kyuubi, Zabuza bounced back against the wall. "Don't be afraid," Naruto exclaimed happily, pulling out one of the swords. Steel flashed, and blood dripped from the boy's slashed palm directly onto the chakra phantom. Mixing with the blood of the Jinchuriki, Kurama's chakra began to take on a physical form. Bones were already visible, overgrown with veins and muscles. Exactly a minute passed, and in front of the trio, fanning himself with 9 tails, sat a miniature fox cub, which looked at its new red fur with interest. "It seems that nothing happened," the Corporal Kurama said in a soft, kindest voice, after which he looked at the fucking Zabuzu. "What do you think?" "You're just gorgeous, Kuramadano," Haku smiled broadly, stroking the fox's head, causing the Kyuubi to just fall out, crashing to the floor in pleasure. But how did he get out?" Zabuza asked in a trembling voice. He still doubted that the Kyuubi, whom he had heard so many horror stories about, had really submitted to Naruto. "But I didn't get out," the fox answered, sitting down next to the Jinchuriki, who began to gently scratch him behind the ear. I'm still inside Naruto. Just from my chakra and his blood, I was able to create a body for myself, which would be a physical conductor for me. I can still communicate with Naruto in his subconscious. Then why are you going out? In such a body, I can not only help Naruto with chakra, but also fight with him, Kurama explained patiently, sniffing at the food on the table. Is that breaded pork? Oh heaven, it's been so long since I've eaten. Zabuza's eyes widened even more, but Naruto and Haku were clearly having fun. Kurama, do you really need to eat? Not necessarily, Naruto, the fox replied, diving behind him, and then laying his muzzle on his shoulder. I am fueled by chakra. But since I have now got a body, I can experience everything that a living being can experience. Naruto looked at him in fear. And the pain too? Yes, Kurama replied distractedly. Just don't worry if they kill me in this body. I can always be reborn in it. And so that you don't have to hurt yourself every time, the fox pushed off the boy's back, and, waving his tails, landed next to the very huge scroll that Naruto had given Zabuza. Taking it with both paws, the fox, groaning, dragged him to Uzumaki. We will conclude an agreement with you, he finished, dropping his burden on the floor with a crash. Unfolding the scroll, Kurama, with a claw reddened with blood, entered the necessary formula into it himself. Naruto could only sign under him, leaving traces of his fingers. Here you go. Kurama said, smiling happily. Now that I'm not around, you just use the summoning technique and I'll appear. If I am not alive, my body will regenerate itself. Cool. Naruto said in surprise, winding up the scroll. You are right, this is a wonderful gift. Now you will travel with us. It's great, I wouldn't say, Zabuza muttered under his breath, but no one heard him. Only, Naruto looked at the 9 tails of his fox with a skeptical look. They can recognize Kyuubi in you, and then. Listen, can you somehow disguise your tails? Kurama very cutely twisted his muzzle in a grimace of thought. When the decision came, he, uttering a victory cry, jumped up to the very ceiling, twisting his tails in flight into one big fluffy tail. Well, how? He inquired proudly, showing off his new body part. Excellent, Naruto said, running his hand down Kurama's back. Now our little secret will be safe with you. Otherwise, heaven forbid, the shinobi of some hidden village will think that the 9 tails have broken free. That's for sure. Kurama replied hotly, and he, Naruto, and Haku burst out laughing. Now let's eat. I haven't tried pork in years. People watched in amazement as the fox, sitting in front of the table in a lotus position, intelligently takes chopsticks from the table and moves towards him a plate piled high with meat. Here's a foodie, Naruto shook his head. Give him pork. Take a cue from me, ate ramen for a quick, and satisfied. You're a fool, Naruto, even though you're smart, the fox answered him in a wise tone, picking up a piece of pork with chopsticks, and, enjoying the smell, threw it into his mouth. Why do you think Hashirama Senju defeated Uchiha Madara? It's all about the meat. And also in rice. What? Naruto shook his head in disbelief. What did you think? Chewing, muttered the fox. A good shinobi should eat good food. So he quickly restores physical and spiritual strength. And if you continue to eat all sorts of nonsense like Madara, then you will end up like him. Naruto, not sure if the fox was joking or not, shook his head again. Are you serious? I think you're exaggerating. Well, look, the fox sighed. While Hashirama was single, and ate everything, his strength was equal with Madara, and in many battles they could not determine the winner. But as soon as Hashirama married Mito Uzumaki, the fox sighed dreamily, and switched to homemade food, meat, vegetables, rice. Oh, what a delicious vegetable stew Mrs. Mito cooked. The fox, realizing that he was not leaving there, cut himself off. So, as soon as he began to eat normally, he easily, seeing the skeptical face of Zabuza, Kurama recovered, dealt with Madara with relative ease. I think that's complete nonsense, Naruto concluded. If you don't want it, don't believe it, the fox shrugged, moving a cup of vegetables towards him. But healthy eating only makes shinobi stronger. Laughing at the story of the 9 tails, the shinobi also resumed their own meal, keeping up with their furry comrade, who cleared the table of food with amazing speed. Everyone joked a lot, laughed, new congratulations and wishes sounded. Naruto, having fun with his new friends, involuntarily remembered the old ones. Sighing sadly, he thought about how they were there. What are busy now? Do they think about it? He was wondering what Grandma Tsunade, Kakashi, Sakura, Jiraiya-sensei were doing now, as Naruto began to call him to himself, and the rest of his friends. He missed them and wanted to see them. But in all 6 months, he never took on a single task that could lead him to a dangerous distance from Konoha. He knew they were still looking for him. He was distracted from mournful thoughts by Kurama, who, releasing his chakra, created a black kimono with its help, which he immediately dressed in. Since I am now a ninja fox, he said contentedly, I must emphasize my status. Also, I will need. He jumped close to Naruto, searching his forehead with a captious look. A moment, and from the red chakra in the paws of the Kyuubi, a bandage with a protector appears, on which, like Naruto's protector, there was a crossed-out leaf. Now I'm a real ninja beast, Kurama announced, tightening the bandage. Well, how? Naruto honestly admitted that the fox, dressed in a black kimono, moreover, with an apostate bandage on his forehead, looked menacing. And his red eyes, glowing with power, gave him even more aplomb. Welcome to the team, Kurama, Naruto nodded smiling. I'm glad you're with us now. Naruto knocked back several shinobi at once with an airstrike, slamming them into the wall. Zabuza and Haku did not lag behind, hitting the enemies that broke through with senbon and dexterous sword strikes. Kurama, who, thanks to the chakra, had grown to the size of a large dog during the fight, used his claws and teeth. They quickly cleared the barrier in front of the castle gates, and now, having concentrated the chakra in their legs and paws, they climbed the wall. It was the morning after Naruto's birthday. A lathered messenger ran to the hotel where they were staying, kneeling begging the sleepy boy for help. The messenger came running from one of the feudal lords of the Land of Rivers, and Naruto decided that he should not refuse a possible job. As it turned out, the militant clan of Shinobi Karasui attacked the castle of the feudal lord. They killed all his people, and the daimyo himself barely managed to escape. But the trouble is that his little son remained in the hands of the villains, and now he was in mortal danger. The local army would hardly have coped with the shinobi, so the feudal lord went straight to Uzumaki, who, according to rumors, was visiting the city. Naruto agreed to the mission without question. The castle was not far from the capital, so they soon reached it. Having dealt with the shinobi at the gate, Naruto, Zabuza, Haku, as well as Kurama, made their way behind the wall, where a whole crowd of enemy ninja immediately attacked them. Fortunately, there were wells, so Zabuza and Haku used their water and ice techniques to the fullest. Ice needles flew into the shinobi Karasui, and dozens of them were also demolished by water dragons, which the swordsman of the mist summoned. Naruto wasn't far behind either. He made full use of everything he had learned in those 6 months. Air currents of various strengths and directions smashed enemies to the right and left, often destroying small buildings. Even fire techniques that were unfamiliar to the boy, such as the fireball, inflicted serious damage on the opponent. After 20 minutes of fighting, only Naruto and his comrades were left standing in the castle courtyard. The Karasui shinobi were either bleeding or already dead. But suddenly steps were heard from the direction of the palace, and 2 men began to descend the stairs, holding a little boy by the scruff of the neck. Naruto just couldn't believe his eyes. How so? Why? Where did these 2 come from? Haku looked from the couple to Zabuza and back in surprise. The mist swordsman himself stared at the 2 that were approaching them. Black robes with red clouds, whispered Zabuza, gripping the hilt of his sword so tightly that the skin crackled. Same. Akatsuki, Naruto finished quietly for him, looking furiously straight into the eyes of one of the renegade shinobi. Naruto, Itachi said calmly, holding the boy's gaze. I'm glad you came to us. He paused for a moment, he continued, you have become strong. But you fell into our little trap. Chapter 9, Combat. Sakura and Hinata ran into each other right at the door to the Hokage's residence. Both were thoughtful, looking only at their feet, so do not be surprised that both girls kissed their foreheads not weakly. I'm sorry, Sakura-chan, Hinata blushed in embarrassment, helping Haruno up. Nothing, she replied. It is my fault. Hinata, what are you doing here? Hyuga blushed even more and awkwardly looked away. Sakura understood perfectly. She came to see if there was any news about Naruto. For both of them, as well as for all of Uzumaki's friends, Naruto's departure came as a shock. But the 2 of them grieved especially hard. For Sakura, Naruto was the best and closest friend who always cared for and protected her, and whom she could trust. For Hinata, the fair-haired boy was an idol, a role model, and, as some, including Haruno, noticed, she treated him not only as a friend. Hyuga after his departure was upset even more than Sakura herself. She increasingly chose to be alone, avoiding even her teammates. And Sakura understood her perfectly. She herself was not allowed to break only by the fact that Tsunade took her as her student, and now she studied with the Sannin in order to become stronger and be able to return her friends home. Sakura-chan, you, by chance, interrupted by embarrassment, Hinata spoke, maybe. Something was heard. About Naruto-kun? Sakura just sighed sadly. Of course, she was close to the Hokage, but only if something was known about the fugitive. She was not told about it, but she really wanted to do something useful. Something that would hasten Naruto's return. Listen, Hinata, Sakura suddenly said, taking the dark-haired girl by the hand, let's go to the Hokage together and find out the news. Hinata smiled widely and nodded. Together they reached Tsunade's office, but when they were about to knock, they realized that some kind of meeting was taking place there. At first, the girls simply did not want to interfere with the Hokage, but when they heard through the half-open door what exactly the conversation was about, they, exchanging amazed looks, decided to eavesdrop insolently. Jiraiya, what you said is true. Tsunade asked her old friend with hope in her voice. Your source is not lying. Do you really know where Naruto is? Jiraiya sounded like he jumped off the windowsill, and it sounded like he was shaking his head. Tsunade, I don't know where Naruto is now, the Sannin emphasized. But I know where he will be after a while. And, Jiraiya-senpai? Hurried him Kakashi, who was also present at the conversation of the Sannin. According to my source, Naruto is heading to the land of rivers at the invitation of a local daimyo. Does he perform tasks of this level? Kakashi whistled in surprise, surprised at his student. Exactly, Jiraiya nodded. But don't be surprised. During all this time, Naruto has completed so many missions that it is enough to award him the title of Zenin. For him, even the rank A is not a problem. So, the land of rivers, Tsunade said thoughtfully. Jiraiya, who would you recommend sending for him? Definitely Kakashi, the hermit replied immediately. And someone from reliable ANBU. Such a team would be able to deal with Naruto. Can he handle it? Tsunade asked skeptically. You talk about him as an unrealistically strong ninja. He's not a child, Tsunade. Jiraiya cut her off rudely, and he was so serious that even Tsunade's eyes widened in shock. In the time that you did not see him, he became even stronger. Haven't you heard rumors about his deeds? At these words, the Hokage looked down in embarrassment. Besides, unknown apostates are traveling with him. The squad that will go after him should consist of shinobi who can defeat him. And if it doesn't work out, Shizen added sadly, who, as always, stood behind the Hokage, then, no! Sakura and Hinata, without saying a word, burst into the office with angry faces. You can't kill Naruto. Sakura added. He didn't do anything wrong. The older shinobi were so surprised by the appearance of the girls that they even forgot to scold them for eavesdropping. Sakura, Tsunade spoke patiently. We have to get Naruto back at all costs. We can't let him become a criminal. He's already contacted unknown apostates. If they take him down a slippery slope, then I want to be on the team that goes after Naruto. Sakura said in a tone that brooked no objection. That's out of the question. Shizen protested, but Jiraiya stopped her. Tsunade, we can kill two birds with one stone. Everyone immediately turned to him with all attentiveness. Although the Sannin was a little eccentric, he was very wise. I think since Sakura is showing such zeal, I would like to give you another piece of advice. Send for Naruto Team No. 7, number 8 and No. 10, as well as Guy's team. Are you kidding? No way, Jiraiya shook his head. The members of these 4 teams are Naruto's friends, so there will be a chance to persuade him to return. Jiraiya ignored Kakashi's skeptical face. If he balks, then their strength, as well as the strength of 4 Zenins, will be enough to pacify him. And so that you are completely calm, I will go with them. I agree, the Hokage immediately slammed on the table. Kakashi, Warngai, Kurenai, and Asuma, you're leaving with Jiraiya immediately. You must return Naruto. Itachi, Naruto whispered angrily, looking straight into the Akatsuki apostate's eyes. Have you done all this just for me? The Uchiha shrugged. We need you, and this little spectacle helped us lure you in. He looked around at the piles of bodies that were scattered all over the place. After all, we have heard a lot about you, and that you always take on the salvation of people. Itachi remained calm, but his companion laughed contemptuously. Itachi, Kisame asked in a nasty tone, am I going to kill the boy already? Come on, Itachi waved his hand dismissively. Kisame smirked, and dropping the boy on the steps, raised his sword. But a moment before the impact, a red-black whirlwind swept by, and Samahata hit only granite. I have it, Naruto, Kurama mumbled, lowering the child to the ground next to his Jinchuriki. Okay, Uzumaki nodded without taking his eyes off Akatsuki. Haku, Kurama, take him to the city, and tell the locals not to come here. But Naruto-kun, do not argue, Haku, throwing the boy on his back, Kurama nudged Haku with his muzzle. He was one with Naruto and already saw the plan in his mind. A very destructive plan, I must say. We have an order, let's go. And now only two Akatsuki and Naruto with Zabuza remained in the castle square. The mist swordsman did not take his eyes off the shark-like shinobi, who looked back at him with an equally interested look. There were rumors that you were dead, Zabuza, Kisame drawled mockingly, leaning on Samehada. I'm glad they turned out to be false. Zabuza did not answer, and only sneered contemptuously. He did not want to tell how exactly he had escaped the eternal vacation in the world of the dead. And yet, why do you need me? Naruto spoke up again, looking from one renegade to another. For what purpose is the nine-tailed important, that for the sake of it you, Itachi, subjugated an entire clan with your genjutsu, forcing them to go to death? Itachi didn't answer, but Kisame laughed out loud. Did the kid grow wiser during this time, Itachi? He quickly figured out how we all turned here. You're right, Kisame, the kid has wised up, Zabuza entered the conversation. But you two won't get it. We'll see. Kisame pushed off and jumped towards Naruto, swinging his Samehada. But the way was blocked by Zabuza, blocking the blow. Ha, Zabuza breathed out with a smile. Finally, we will fight. After all, you were always afraid that we would meet in battle, huh, Kisame? Why did it happen? Groaning, he replied. Well, how? After all, my decapitator does not use chakra, and you have nothing to absorb with Samehada, the fog demon grinned. In our battle, the mastery of Kenjutsu will decide everything. And he, pushing off from the enemy, turned around and rushed forward with renewed vigor. Kisame clearly did not expect such agility from his former comrade. Besides, everything he said was absolutely true. Zabuza did not let chakra through the sword, and Samehada would not be able to touch him for a long time. So Hoshigake had only one way out, to cut the demon in half. How are you doing, Hoshigake? Itachi asked his partner in an indifferent tone, on whom Zabuza seemed to be madly attacked. Do not interfere, and everything will be fine. Better take the nine tails. Okay, Itachi nodded wearily. Then he turned to the boy. Protect yourself, Naruto. And he looked at him with such a creepy look that Naruto had never seen anyone. Well, except for Iruka, when he painted the faces of the Hokage for the 10th time. That look made Naruto double over from the burning pain in his chest. The whole body seemed to shackle, blood flowed from the mouth. What? Itachi sounded slightly surprised. Naruto, Kurama minced in the boy's head, I'm sorry for the pain. But he tried to trap you with one of his most powerful genjutsu. I mixed your chakra with mine, and then abruptly stopped both flows to block it. But I didn't, sorry. Nothing, Naruto spat blood again, but now a smile was playing on his lips, only I need your help now. The Uchiha was surprised again when Naruto straightened up and closed his eyes. With just this minor action, he deprived Itachi of the ability to use a significant part of the techniques that made up genjutsu. Akatsuki took a deep breath. It looks like he will have to use physical attacks to defeat the boy. Naruto, meanwhile, didn't stand still. Rushing forward, he slammed his ninjato straight into Itachi. Naruto was guiding Kurama, and if the Uchiha hadn't reacted, he would have been cut in half by the blades of the wind. Having gone to a decent distance, Itachi folded several seals with lightning speed. Fire technique. Giant fireball. A huge sphere of pure flame flew towards Uzumaki, spinning and blazing. But Naruto wasn't far behind either. He was guided by the instinct of the fox. Feeling the fire, the boy immediately stuck his blades into the ground and responded with an elusive set of his own seals. Obeying the power of the technique, the water that was around entwined together, turning into a huge dragon, which swallowed the ball with ease. Not bad, the Uchiha nodded, folding new seals in parallel. Fire technique. Phoenix whirlwind. Now he spat several dozen bursts of fire at once. Without thinking twice, Naruto transformed the dragon into a wall of water that surrounded him and effectively blocked all attacks. Realizing that his opponent was not that vulnerable to fire attacks, Itachi switched to close combat. Closing the distance, he threw several dozen shurikens at Uzumaki, but none of them reached the target, meeting with Naruto's projectiles. When he was within striking distance, Itachi swung his kunai, but Naruto, whose speed matched his own, easily dodged that attack as well. Now Uzumaki went on the attack. Even with his eyes closed, his taijutsu attacks were targeted, and it was only through his high skill and activated Sharingan that Itachi was able to block or dodge them. When Naruto's body began to be covered with red chakra, Itachi chose to move away. The Uchiha admitted that he had a worthy adversary in front of him. In addition, since the last time he saw him, Naruto became much stronger, having learned many new techniques. So he could throw many more surprises at his renegade colleague. And Naruto presented them. Clad in a crimson veil, he closed the distance to Itachi in an instant, and dodging his attack, dived behind him. The blow to the back was powerful and crushing. Itachi, with a kunai burning hot from the red chakra in his back, fell to his knees. But only to scatter like cawing crows. Not bad, Naruto, Itachi praised the boy, thrusting his own kunai into his back. Again passed, the kunai slashed at the stone cobblestone that Naruto managed to slip into him with the replacement technique. Itachi saw this, but since Naruto, thanks to the fox's chakra, was very fast, he did not have time to deliver a sure blow. But Naruto immediately, as soon as he was in an advantageous position, folded the seals of the tiger, ox, dog and exhaled towards the enemy with a stream of air that swept away everything in its path, pulling out cobblestones from the paved area. But now Itachi used the prevalence of his own technique over Naruto's. He puffed out a simple fireball in front of him that burned all the air in Naruto's ninjutsu. But the boy knew this, and when the fire dissipated, Itachi could see kunai with explosive seals approaching him. They were too close. Miraculously avoiding direct hits, Itachi still singed his robes on the flames of cleverly arranged explosions. His face grew more and more dissatisfied with the protracted battle. All of a sudden, all emotions were completely gone, and he became completely calm. He widened his right eye and closed his left. Naruto! The fox roared. Get ready to print. He is using her. Naruto was surprised that Itachi chose to use this particular ability of his. After all, according to Jiraiya, it was quite a deadly jutsu. Had he pushed him that hard? But if Kurama says it's necessary, then it's necessary. With a lightning movement, he pushed a scroll out of the vest section and, unfolding it, wrapped it around himself almost completely. During Amaterasu! Itachi exclaimed, and the part of the scroll covering Naruto's legs engulfed in black fire. Naruto, with some wild irony, came to the conclusion that even though they needed him alive, the Akatsuki could act freely at the expense of possible injuries. Right now, Itachi intended to open his legs, probably so that he, Naruto, would become a little calmer. Seal of 3 trigrams, sealing fire. Naruto tossed the scroll to the ground before clapping his hands and black flames were sucked into one of the seals. The boy smiled without opening his eyes. Still, the uzumaki seal techniques were cool stuff. Itachi, sighing, did not dare to use Amaterasu anymore. You never know. Moreover, this technique required a lot of strength, and the boy managed to repel it too. Instead, he once again closed the distance separating them in one sitting, and after exposing Naruto to a blow with a stone replacement, he circled around him to strike again with a kunai from the back. This time the blow hit the mark. Naruto fell down, spitting blood. He opened his eyes and glared at Itachi. You'll die. Naruto growled softly. I don't think so, Itachi retorted calmly, closing his right eye and opening his left. Naruto understood, he wants to use the power of the Manjikyu Sharingan again. Learn my most powerful genjutsu, Tsukuyomi. I told you you'd die. Naruto said with a satisfied smile, and then vanished. Itachi realized too late that it was a clone. The Rasengan hit sent him flying straight to the stairs, and only because Naruto, not seeing the enemy, hit in his approximate location, because of which he missed the place a little, he was still alive and even managed to get up. Amaterasu! Itachi exclaimed, no longer trying to select parts of the opponent's body. But Naruto was warned by his inner prompter, and still immediately swallowed the fire with another seal. And then, taking another whirlwind from the clone, he rushed to Itachi with a battle cry. Barely in time, Uchiha, using the elements of the earth, raised a stone wall in front of him, thus managing to protect himself from the Rasengan. But not from Uzumaki's leg, which he charged right on the top of his head when he broke through the screen. The chakra-soaked blow disintegrated the clone Itachi had replaced himself with. When Naruto tried to attack him again, Uchiha only dodged, after which he again went to the distance. He glanced to the side where Kisame and Zabuza were selflessly slashing at each other with their swords, trying to get at least once. But, since the arms and legs of both were intact, it could be concluded that their strengths are equal. After confirming that his partner was okay, Itachi stared at the floor in front of him as if he sensed something. Indeed, in the next moment, a strange white creature, very similar to a man, grew up right out of the ground. Retreat, enemies are approaching, it said quickly, after which it just as quickly disappeared into the ground. Kisame, let's go, Itachi said, waving at him. Seeing that his partner was in no hurry to leave his fight with a former colleague, the Uchiha blazed with fire, and a huge wave of flame separated the two. Red tongues reared a couple of meters up, and in length reached both sides of the fortress wall. You shouldn't be like that, Itachi, Hashigake remarked offendedly. I could handle it. That's not the point, Itachi shook his head. Zetsu reported the approach of enemies. Alright then, Kisame nodded. It seemed that the prospect of fighting someone else didn't make him very happy. Naruto had already opened his eyes and, trying not to meet Itachi's gaze, glared at both Akatsuki. Are you leaving already? Yes, Naruto, Itachi nodded. But don't worry. We will meet again, and then we will have a chance to finish our duel. Naruto had a different opinion on this matter. He rushed to the attack, intending to overcome the wall of flame, inflicting the final blow on the enemy. But as soon as he approached the fire, when suddenly he turned from red to black, and Naruto stopped right in front of him, as if rooted to the spot. Next time, Naruto, Itachi still shook his head calmly. And if you meet my brother, say hello to him. And, having said this, Itachi, and with him Kisame, reached the roof in 2 jumps, after which they completely disappeared from view. Chapter 10 Unexpected Encounter Number 2. After seeing off the fleeing enemies with an angry look, Naruto turned to Zabudes. We need to get back to the city as soon as possible. We grab Haku and leave this country. But for starters, he took another scroll with unused seals from his vest's chest harness. Naruto thought that it was not worth leaving Amaterasu burning here, yet ordinary people could suffer from it. Printing technique. Sealing fire. The black flames slowly began to draw into the scroll. The empty areas of the seals began to fill one by one with flows of energy, after which a blocking symbol loomed in them. Thus, in order to seal all the tongues of fire caused by the manjik, Naruto took a whole scroll, which he painstakingly painted with seals. Well, now that's it, Naruto sighed tiredly and fell to the ground. With unruly hands, he somehow wound up the scroll. Now everything, Zabudza. Not really, Naruto-sama, he retorted gloomily, gripping his sword tighter. We have guests. Naruto watched with some lazy irony as the castle gates seemed to heat up from the inside, and then shatter into small chips. He was not at all surprised when he saw people familiar to him cautiously stepping through the gates into the square littered with corpses. Guys, Naruto whispered softly with a smile. Indeed, this time all his friends went with Kakashi, Sakura, Shikamaru, Choji, Ino, Kiba, Hinata, Shino, Lee, Niji, Tenten. In the same row with his former sensei, the mentors of the guys who came, Kurenai, Asuma and Guy, also stood. Naruto smiled wearily. The only thing missing was Granny Tsunade, Jiraiya-sensei, and Sasuke, and then he would definitely think that Itachi caught him in one of the genjutsu, and now he is delusional. Oh my god. Unable to withstand the external environment, gasped Ino. What can I say, even the guys were not very pleased to look at the bodies lying around. Because of this picture of the fight, the shinobi didn't even immediately notice Naruto sitting by the stairs. As Kakashi admitted to himself, he would never have recognized this guy as his student. In his black maelstrom ninja outfit, he looked older. It seemed that he had not seen his student for an eternity. Naruto, Sakura whispered softly, looking at the guy in black. As if he heard her, Uzumaki looked up at her and smiled sadly at her. Hard, but still Naruto got to his feet. Having unbuttoned his waistcoat, which prevented him from breathing, the boy moved towards his friends with an unsteady gait. Naruto, Kakashi spoke up, deciding to distance himself from the fight that had taken place a little earlier. We have come to bring you back to the village. The boy's smile became even more dreary and wide. Senpai, it looks like we've been through this before. My answer remains the same. I will not be back. Naruto, look what you've become. Hotly exclaimed Guy. Is that kid that always? Shut up, Naruto cut him off, grimacing at the overly loud Zenin's voice. If you are talking about this, then it's not my fault. Yes, I had to kill some of these people, Sakura gasped at these words, and Hinata almost fainted, but only because they massacred everyone who lived in this castle, and then attacked me when I saved hence the child. And you don't feel anything? Kakashi asked him. Tired, Naruto admitted. You know, the battle with Itachi thoroughly tired me. At the mention of Akatsuki, Asuma, Kurenai, and Kakashi himself flinched. The memories of their last meeting were still alive. Then the three of them had absolutely nothing to oppose the Uchiha, and if Guy had not arrived in time, they would have come to an end. Did you defeat Itachi? Guy swallowed hard. No, Naruto waved his hand dismissively. You disturbed us. But, be that as it may, even such a fight tired me. So I'll go. Naruto. Kakashi called out to him. We didn't come all this way to miss you. I admit, you beat us half a year ago, but now there are more of us, and we will return you to the village at any cost. Hey guys, what am I to you, a piece of furniture? Inquired suddenly Zabuza, standing next to Naruto. He leaned eloquently on his cleaver. Who else are you? Kurenai asked belligerently. She looked at her friends for an answer, but lingered on Kakashi in surprise. The copy ninja looked at the big man with saucer eyes. Kakashi, what's wrong with you? Guy asked. You have such a face, as if you saw a dead man. And he seems to have seen. Sakura swallowed in fright, backing away. Sensei, this is Momochi Zabuza, Kakashi said. What the hell, Naruto? Edo Tensei, Naruto replied simply. There was no strength to play. Although, it should be noted, it happened by accident. Then his face twisted for a moment in an evil grimace. After all, no one told me that the souls of my parents were sealed. You know? Kakashi gasped in shock. Yes, Sensei, Naruto nodded. But let's not get too pretentious. Let's agree that if I knew everything that I should know, then much of what I should not have done, I would not have done. Kakashi looked down in embarrassment. Here his former student was absolutely right. If the Hokage, Jiraiya, and himself had kept less from Naruto from the start, he might never have left the village. But, in an attempt to protect him, they only pushed Naruto away from them. So I'll go. Uzumaki was about to leave when he suddenly met Kurenai's furious gaze. We won't let you go anywhere, cried the woman, folding several seals. Naruto knew she was a genjutsu master, as well as the fact that looking into the eyes of the master of this very genjutsu is dangerous. This was what Kurenai was counting on, to overcome the boy without a fight, trapping him in an illusion and not harming him. What she didn't realize was that Naruto wasn't wrong either. Printing technique. The boy with lightning speed snatched a scroll from the unloading and unfolded it with symbols towards the zenins. Mirror surface. The young ninja looked at their friend in surprise, who still held the scroll in front of him. But Asuma, Kakashi, and Guy were already shaking the kunoichi frozen in place, which stared blankly in front of it and did not show any signs of activity. What did you do to her? Asuma spoke softly. What with her? She hit her own genjutsu, Naruto replied calmly, winding up the scroll. Noticing that Kakashi had closed the seal, the boy warned, it's useless. If a person is hit by their own genjutsu reflected by a mirror seal, they can only get out if they apply the counter seal. Konoha will give it to you, so come back. No Naruto, Kakashi shook his head. If you do not agree to go with us voluntarily, then we will force you by force. He nodded, and Tenten rushed forward, unrolling her war scroll. A whole cloud of kunai and shuriken flew at Naruto, which, in theory, was difficult to dodge. But at the last moment, an ice wall grew a meter from Naruto, which protected him from all the fired projectiles. What? The girl said in surprise. Haku landed next to Naruto. I made it, Naruto-kun, he reported with a smile. The boy is safe. The locals have been warned. Then he looked at the shinobi crowded at the gate. Oh. These are your friends. He recognized a pink-haired girl among unfamiliar ninjas. Sakura Dano, hello. And you too, Kakashi-san. Now there are 3 of them, Kakashi, Asuma said quietly, considering how they should act. And we already lost Kurenai. What do we do? Kakashi looked from one renegade to another. He knew that Haku and Zabuza were very strong. In addition, the black-haired boy has a Kekii Genkai. They needed to properly concentrate their forces. Asuma, he spoke. You, me, and Guy will take care of Zabuza. I think the 3 of us will quickly overcome him. Niji, Lee, Tenten, Choji, Shikamaru and Ino, you will take on Naruto. Watch out, we don't know how much stronger he's gotten. Kiba, Shino and Hinata, behind you is a guy with a Kekii Genkai of ice. Be careful, he can trap you in ice mirrors, from which it will be difficult to escape. And what about me? Sakura asked in surprise. Sakura, you're a doctor, Kakashi replied. If one of us is injured, you will have to heal us. That's why you can't fight. Better watch out for Kurenai. Sakura wanted to be outraged, but Kakashi was adamant. What are you whispering about? Called the Konoha shinobi Zabuza. If you want to fight, then come and fight. At that very moment, Kakashi gave the signal, and the teams rushed to attack with the lineups that the copy ninja had approved. Zabuza greeted the 3 zenin with a smile. Haku had a no less anticipatory face. Just don't kill them. Naruto called out to his companions as he dodged the new rain of steel. Like they heard, the mist swordsman had just been dancing for now, blocking his opponent's blows, determined to wear them down. Haku generally moved extremely fast, and now Kiba and Akamaru, guided by Hinata, were trying to catch him. Naruto, on the other hand, had to fight in hand-to-hand combat with 3 opponents at once, which in itself was a difficult task. Overpowering fatigue, Naruto reflected all blows, trying not to be exposed to attacks. Which was hard work. Even though he protected himself from Niji's taijutsu by covering his body with red chakra, even though he was still blocking Lee's extremely fast punches, and even Chuji, who ate the green pill, he knew he was at a disadvantage. From above, Tenten constantly bombarded him with shurikens, moreover, just when he intended to carry out some kind of combination. And Shikamaru and Ino, who stood aside, did not add confidence either. One can catch him and immobilize him, the other can move into his body. Just shine. In principle, the Konoha shinobi had such tactics that Naruto feared. Separating him from his companions, they tied him up in battle, waiting for the moment to capture him. And the moment soon presented itself. Naruto, having laid down Neji and Lee with a series of blows, missed a blow from Choji, and at the same moment was caught by Shikamaru's shadow. Come on, Ino. The guys ran to the sides, giving the girl a good view for an attack. Eat. Mind transfer technique. Ino's body swayed and flew down, but Choji, showing uncharacteristic agility for him, managed to catch her, after which he carried her to Sakura in 3 jumps. Look after her. Shikamaru, meanwhile, sweating, called out to his partner. Ino, how are you? Naruto's eyes fluttered. A second later, a sly smile spread across his face, the one that usually appeared on Ino's face. It's all right, Shikamaru. Naruto is under my control. Excellent. Nara exhaled heavily and took off his technique. Good thing we didn't have to hurt Naruto. Yeah, Lee nodded wearily. Even without opening the inner gate, Uzumaki using the Kyuubi's chakra exhausted him greatly. And not only, from too many blows, his hands, like Neji's and Choji's, even despite the bandages, burned with fire, as if burned. Okay, now let's help Kakashi-sensei and the others, Shikamaru said. Ino, you go to Sakura. When she binds Naruto, return to your body. Maybe I can do something to help. Naruto's face twisted into a sly smile. Fingers curled into a seal. Shadow cloning. In an instant, shadow clones appeared behind the guys. It all happened so fast that they didn't have time to react. And now each of them, kicking, is in a strong grip on his Uzumaki. But how? Shikamaru whispered in shock, looking from the unconscious Ino to Naruto. She didn't miss. How are you? Naruto just snorted, pulling out a piece of paper from his bosom, streaked with symbols Shikamaru didn't recognize. In the center was the brightest hieroglyph, which now even smoked a little. Blocking technique, Naruto replied simply, winding the paper up into a tube. Now Ino's mind will have to stay in this seal for a while. Damn, Naruto. Choji roared, trying to break free from the grip, which, by the way, was getting weaker. I'm going to kick your ass. It won't. Naruto shook his head as he walked over to him. Taking out a couple more small sheets of paper from his pocket, he took each of them in his palm and hit both Choji and Tenten, who was standing nearby, in the chest at the same time. With the impact, the clones dissolved, and Choji and Tenten fell to the ground screaming in pain. What did you do with them? Lee roared as he tried to elbow his Naruto. But, since nothing came of it, he was forced to look helplessly at the torment of his friends. Naruto, stop this. Doesn't make sense. Naruto shook his head. It's a paralyzing seal. True, he did not say that if this was the first level of the seal, then there would be no pain. But the first level is not reliable, the seal could be easily broken, freeing the prisoner. The second level put a seal directly on the body, and cardinal countermeasures were required to remove it. Soon, the seals on Choji and Tenten were showered with ash, and they stopped screaming and froze, panting. They couldn't move because they already had a blocking symbol painted on them. Now it's your turn, Naruto said as he walked over to Lee and Neji. And, despite the fact that the guys tried to kick, the situation repeated itself. Once again, the air filled with screams as paralyzing symbols burned into the skin of Naruto's friends. Uzumaki looked in the direction where Zabuza was fighting. The Mist Demon lived up to its name. He seemed to be tired of passively fighting back, and using his secret technique, he covered the space around him with fog, and now fought with opponents hand to hand, periodically pouring water on them with his water element techniques. In general, he was alright. Only his joyful laughter could be heard from the darkness, and the swearing of Guy, receiving time after time on the head from an invisible enemy. Haku was fine too. He still managed to capture all 3 of his opponents in his mirror prison, and now he harassed them with cute ridicule. True, he also attacked them hand to hand, yet Uzumaki asked not to kill his friends. Otherwise, they would surely have died. Naruto well remembered how he and Sasuke ended up in the place of Kiba, Shino and Hinata, and almost glued their fins together then. True, this trinity was far from being saved. Kiba, like Naruto before him, tried to get out of the trap by force, but there was clearly not enough strength. Hinata carefully examined the mirrors with her Byakugan, but apparently she did not find any weak points. The most positive and constructive position was taken by Shino. He, noticing immediately that no one was going to kill them, sat down on the ground, folding his arms over his chest. Shino, help me. yelled Kiba, unable to pierce the mirrors yet again. Akamaru and I are missing quite a bit. Come on, call on your bugs and let them suck the chakra out of those damn mirrors. But the guy in the dark glasses just shook his head. This action is useless, because my beetles prefer warmth, not cold. The ice will kill them, and they are like my own children. Kiba roared. Yes, help me. Don't you want to get out? I want to, but there's no point in worrying, Shino shrugged. Naruto won't kill us. But we suffered a defeat, and since we are in captivity, we should be calm now. Suddenly our strength will be good for something else. He's right, Kiba-kun, Hinata said uncertainly. Looks like Naruto-kun Jay just wants to take us out of the fight. I think we should just wait and we... Yeah you. Kiba waved his hand at them, and also flopped next to Shino. Smiling contentedly, Naruto turned his attention to the last remaining opponent standing. Shikamaru waited in horror for his turn. No, he was not afraid of pain. He was afraid that once again he would be defeated, because of which his friend would once again be far from them. Naruto, we don't wish you harm. I know, the blonde nodded. So why are you running from us? Is Sasuke more precious to you than all of us? Look, have you come one iota closer to his return in these 6 months? Naruto smiled sadly as he moved closer to Shikamaru. No, he nodded. But before I went to rescue him, I needed to get stronger. Now I'm almost ready. Soon I will snatch Sasuke from the clutches of Orochimaru. So, what is next? Nara exclaimed. Will you get what you wanted? How will you return Sasuke to Konoha if you yourself have ceased to be a part of it? Naruto just shook his head in response. Shikamaru didn't seem to understand him very well. Shikamaru, he patted him on the shoulder in a friendly way. Even if I lose the opportunity to return to the village, it doesn't mean that I can't bring Sasuke back there. The Chunin looked at him with a startled look. But if Sasuke doesn't want to go back to Konoha, at least I'll save him from Orochimaru and Itachi. He picked up a piece of lime from the ground and inscribed several symbols on Shikamaru's vest with measured movements. Binding seal. He exclaimed, hitting his friend in the chest with his open palms. Shikamaru, grimacing in discomfort, flew back. From the drawing, small gossamer discharges dispersed all over his body, preventing him from moving. Uzumaki, sighing, turned away from the guy sprawled on the ground. The new fight tired him even more, and if after the first it was difficult for him to stand on his feet, now he just fell, taking only a couple of steps. He got up with difficulty, and even then, because he poured a very large amount of Kurama's chakra. By the way, about the birds, what garbage dumps does this tailed one wander around? The boy was not allowed to dive into the subconscious, calling out to him, Naruto. He turned to the call. Sakura was standing next to Shikamaru with a kunai in her hand. Her face expressed everything, sadness, grief, pity, and at the same time, a willingness to stop a friend. Sakura, Naruto whispered, walking towards her. No need. The girl still took a step, and Naruto had to fold several seals. They were immediately separated by a water wall. Sakura held a kunai over the barrier in surprise, not understanding how her unlucky friend could use such techniques. But at the same moment, the wall collapsed, and the girl saw Naruto's face again. Don't, Sakura. He gently moved her kunai aside. Don't hurt me even more by making me fight you too. From the anguish in the friend's voice, tears welled up in the girl's eyes, her hands dropped helplessly. Wait, Naruto. Why did you go away? Why did you leave us all? In the heart she exclaimed, splashing tears. Believe me, it was not easy for me to decide on this either, the boy assured her, gently taking her hand. Run away from all your friends. Run away from you. Naruto paused for a moment, wiping a tear from the girl's cheek. I also suffered from our separation, he said, and then added quietly. Because I love you. Sakura looked up in surprise. She didn't believe her ears. Of course, Naruto always gave her attentions, but it was always nothing more than boyish bluster and she never took them seriously. But now Uzumaki spoke directly, in a serious tone, and she just didn't know what to say. Meanwhile, he continued, that's why I can't keep my promise to you. I have to bring Sasuke back because you love him. And I myself cannot leave a friend in trouble. And, since, because of my idea, I became a hindrance to the village, let it be. The main thing is that I will do what I have to do. He quickly hugged Sakura before pulling away and stepping back. Goodbye, Sakura, Naruto whispered. Maybe someday we'll meet again. The girl wanted to follow him, but with horror she realized that she could not even take a step. Hugging her, Naruto discreetly attached a paralyzing seal, and now she was powerless to stop him. Haku, Zabutza, let's go, Naruto called to his comrades. The black-haired boy immediately emerged from his mirrors, but he was in no hurry to remove them yet. But Zabutza was in no hurry to go anywhere, exhaustedly leaning on his sword, he, catching air in his mouth, inseparably watched his opponents. Kakashi and Asuma were also not in the best shape, but the worst of them was Guy, whom his friends supported by the arms. The green beast after a fight in the fog turned into a green stake. The Zenins did not dare to pursue them, and this was not necessary. As soon as the trio moved towards the exit, a mocking voice called out to them, "You seem to have forgotten about me." A tall white-haired man jumped from the roof of the palace, who, having landed, stood in a strange pose for many. The legendary toad Hermit Jiraiya has come to put an end to this circus. Chapter 11, An Important Decision. Zabutza, scratching the back of his head, waved his sword towards the eccentric old man. "Who is this clown, Naruto-sama?" Jiraiya glanced at the mist swordsman, then at his apprentice, then turned his gaze to the Zenin and other battered personalities. Realizing that few people were surprised by his appearance, he literally boiled over. "Yes, you, puppy, do you even know who I am?" He yelled at Zabuzu, who had insulted him. "I am Jiraiya, the legendary Sannin of Konoha." The mist swordsman immediately deflated as he stepped behind Uzumaki. "My mother is a woman," he swallowed convulsively. "I didn't think those damn Sannins were still alive." Alive, Naruto nodded wearily. "Besides, one of them is the 5th Hokage, and, ignoring the finally dropped Zabuzu, the boy turned to Jiraiya. "Sensei, just don't attack me, okay?" And then I had no strength left. "Okay, Naruto," the Sannin grunted, biting his finger. "I came not to fight but to bring you home. Do you remember when I brought you to Konoha after a particularly exhausting training session?" Naruto's eyes widened in surprise. He understood what Jiraiya was talking about, but he couldn't get ahead of him. Sannin, having laid down the seal, hit the ground. Summoning technique. There was a deafening bang, the dust rose to the sky, and when it cleared, the shinobi saw a huge, disgruntled toad with a pipe in its mouth and a sword in its belt. Naruto was already crying in his heart. "Looks like he won't be able to rest today. Jiraiya." Meanwhile, the toad yelled, addressing the peasant sitting on his back. "What the hell are you calling me for? For the 100th time I repeat to you, do not dare to call me if your life is not at stake." "Calm down, Gamabunta," the hermit asked him, patting him on the back. "I wouldn't call you just like that. We need to get Naruto back to Konoha, and you can help me with that." "Okay," the toad boss muttered displeasedly, arranging his ass comfortably on the roof of the castle. "Naruto," he said amiably to the boy, "let's not fight. Get on my back and let's go to Konoha. And then I have to train my sons today." "Well, no, Gamabunta," Naruto replied seriously, taking a step back. "If you don't want to fight me, then back off." "Naruto, are you going to fight Gamabunta?" Jiraiya said mockingly. "Don't be stupid. Give up." Naruto just chuckled in response, biting his thumb. "I'm not used to giving up. And what are you going to do?" The Sannin asked with a smile, sitting down on his haunches. "I have already summoned Gamabunta. Or do you think his kids can handle him?" "No, Jiraiya-senpai." Naruto shook his head as he folded the seal. "I'll show you something new. Summon technique." In thick clouds of dust, a huge creature appeared like a red-black rock. Spreading its 9 tails in all directions, it roared with a wild roar, the like of which no shinobi had ever heard. Jiraiya couldn't believe his eyes when he saw him, and the Zenin's first simultaneous thought was that the mist swordsman hit them too hard on the head. Otherwise, how could they see what they saw now? The 9-tailed fox demon appeared in all its glory. Baring his teeth, he glanced around at the people in front of him. When he stopped, there was an eerie silence around him, which was interrupted by the deafening roar of the tower of the palace that shattered into small pebbles. A huge pipe of Gamabunta flew down after the jaw of its owner. And it was not clear what the ninja of the leaf were more surprised at, that the strongest of the Biju appeared before him, or how this Biju looked. By the way, the fox's favorite kimono and headband with a protector, even with its new size, remained with him. "Naruto," Jiraiya swallowed in shock, who was speechless at first from such a picture. "Have you broken the seal?" The boy, clinging to Kurama's back, shook his head. "The seal fell by itself when I tried to resurrect my parents with the help of Edo Tensei." Uzumaki looked into his teacher's eyes with a sad look. "If not for the foxes, I would have died. He redirected the ritual, gave all his chakra, all to save me. Would a terrible fox demon do something like that? Would he have remained in me when the cage fell?" "Naruto," Jiraiya replied gloomily, folding several seals. "I don't know what Kyubi told you, but know that he is a product of evil. It needs to be sealed ASAP." "Jiraiya-sensei," Naruto shook his head in disappointment, You don't understand anything. The fox has been free for 6 months already. At these words, the Sannin opened his mouth in shock. And, as you can see, everything is in order, Konoha is intact, I'm alive, and I'm not going to raise an army to conquer the world. But how did you manage to subdue the Kyuubi? Subdue? Naruto asked a little surprised. No, senpai, I didn't subdue him. The Ninetales is my friend. He won't hurt me or my friends. Jiraiya, judging by the skeptical look, did not believe it. So Kurama decided to insert his 5 Rios. Naruto is right, Kurama roared, baring his fangs. I would very much like to eat frog legs, but at his request, I will not hurt any of you. Jiraiya didn't believe it again. You never know what Kyuubi rubs, since he is in front of him, then he will have to fight. He looked down to where the battered Zenin stood and concluded that they weren't much of a fighter right now. Yes. Apparently, he will have to enter this fight alone. The Sannin carefully examined the upcoming battlefield. Crap. Why, the kids are still here. Lying motionless, cut down by Naruto's seals. This means that it was impossible to fight the Kyuubi right here. Then there was only one way out. Gamabunta, Jiraiya said softly. Attack the Ninetales. Take him out of the castle, into the wilderness so that no one gets hurt. Understood, the Toad boss replied grunting, after which he rushed forward with a roar, powerfully pushing off the roof. Naruto was surprised by the swiftness of the attack, but still managed to give Kurama a mental order to shield Haku and Zabuzu. The fox immediately picked them up with his tails and threw them closer to the walls. Just in time, at that very moment, a huge toad crashed into the Nine-tailed, breaking through the fortress wall near the gate. As the paws of the 2 giants touched, Naruto jumped at Jiraiya. The Sannin, not expecting such a move, flew off Gamabunta's back, and the boy followed him. Kurama, Naruto called out to the fox, can you handle it? Certainly. He roared back, wrapping his tails around Gamabunta. I've been wanting to get even with that fat ass for a long time. We're having frog legs for dinner tonight. Just don't kill him, Naruto added mentally, looking over at Jiraiya rising. Still, he is also my friend, he helped me defeat Shikaku. Realizing that Kurama agreed from the discontented grumbling in his head, Naruto finally focused on his opponent. The enemy. It sounded strange. He could not even imagine that someday he would have to fight with his teacher, the legendary Sannin of Konoha. But there was no way out. We'll have to fight. Naruto had almost no strength left, and now he only used the fox's chakra, which he poured into himself. In a fight with a ninja like Jiraiya, he would need every trump card, so he let that energy out a little bit, covering himself with a red cloak. Shadow cloning. Folded seal, exclaimed Naruto. But, to the surprise of Jiraiya, who was already ready to repel the attack of an entire army, he did not see a single clone. Deciding that the boy simply had no strength left, the Sannin rushed forward with a smile, creating a very small Rasengan in his hand. Naruto didn't defend himself. What was Jiraiya's surprise when the boy disappeared from the blow? Clone. Exactly, senpai. Behind him, 2 Narutos were rushing at once, behind which stood a third. A huge Rasengan was concentrated in their hands, so the Sannin did not dare to dodge it, putting up a stone wall in front of him. When a pair of clones smashed her, Jiraiya had already dived behind them, and with a series of lightning strikes with his hands sent him into oblivion. But when the man turned around, intending to give something epic in the face of his student, he did not find him. The Sannin saw with annoyance that Naruto was running at full speed towards the gap. Haku and Zabuza kept up with him. Jiraiya was about to rush after them, but in doing so, he nearly stepped on one of the explosive seals that Naruto had scattered. Naruto, Jiraiya shook his head with a smile. Why didn't you show your talent sooner? Having combined the snake, ox, and dog seals, Jiraiya again applied the earth technique. A wide crack went along the ground, part of the seals detonated, freeing the corridor for the Sannin. That's just Naruto himself, too, was not a miss. Once in the gap, he took out the very scroll with which he sealed Amaterasu. Printing technique. He exclaimed, jerking the scroll open. Get loose. The black flame, having gained freedom, immediately engulfed the gap, climbed onto the walls, spread along them in all directions. Not today, senpai, Naruto said with a tired smile, looking into the Sannin's eyes. After briefly holding Jiraiya, Naruto rushed off in the direction where Gamabunta and Kurama were fighting. The 2 giants, having met after a long break, were now trying to knock each other down. But the forces were, apparently, equal, and so far both creatures, like sumo wrestlers, rested their paws on each other, taking a breath. Kurama, finish it, Naruto said as he and his companions jumped onto the fox's back. We have to leave. To give his Biju the opportunity to do so, Naruto closed his eyes and began to return all the chakra that he had borrowed to him. After receiving the signal and some fresh energy, Kurama roared and fell on the toad boss, knocking him to the ground. There was a deafening roar of a falling mountain, which somehow immediately flowed into the clap of a callback. Looks like he left, Naruto commented. Good, Kurama rumbled, breathing heavily. I'm still not very good at managing my new body, and then immediately the fight. I wasted too much chakra increasing myself. No more experiments like this. Okay, Naruto agreed. Just before you return yourself to your normal state, please take us away from here. And, if possible, without Akamaru and Pikun smelling us. Whatever you wish, my lord, Kurama joked abstractly. Through the fire, Jiraiya saw the Kyuubi, along with his passengers, disappear over the horizon in one jump. He sighed heavily. Naruto left again, only now the failure was complete. Even the Sannin missed the Uzumaki. It was necessary to appear earlier, otherwise how it happened. Tsunade will definitely kill him. Damn, Jiraiya muttered under his breath as he moved toward the Zenin, maybe we shouldn't have sent Gamabunta away. On the way, he walked distractedly over the paralyzed children, attaching a seal to each of them. A moment, and they could already move. The trinity that was trapped in the mirror also got free. As soon as Haku left, the ice began to melt. Naruto, Jiraiya thought, helping the Zenin to come to their senses, what are you going to do now? We can't hide from the Hokage the fact that the Nine Tails has been released. Now the hunt for you will intensify. What will be your next step? Meanwhile, already in the territory of the Land of Fire, the fox became small again, and now Naruto's team was resting. What are we going to do now, Naruto-sama? Uzumaki, panting heavily, lay in a semi-conscious state, leaning against a huge tree. Next to him lay Kurama in a symmetrical pose, his tongue sticking out in a funny way. I think since Konoha now knows about Kurama, the boy spoke in a weak voice, then I will certainly be put on the wanted list as a dangerous criminal. So it's time to implement the plan for the return of Sasuke. Yes? Tsubutsu drawled in surprise. And what's the plan? Should we kill Orochimaru? They say they give a lot of money for his head on the black market. Naruto only chuckled in response to the swordsman's statement. No, Orochimaru's death won't bring Sasuke back to Konoha. He left to become stronger and have the opportunity to kill his brother. Kill Itachi. Is that the guy you fought today? Yes, Naruto nodded. So it turns out that if I want to save Sasuke from his revenge, I need to deprive him of the opportunity to fulfill it. The boy's face became extremely hard. I have to kill Itachi, and then Sasuke will have no one to take revenge on. Moreover, now I have some claims against him. The Akatsuki obviously won't rest until they catch you and me, Kurama agreed. And it seems to me that this organization includes not only the two that we met today. So there is a possibility that in order to carry out your plan, you will have to fight everyone. But we don't know anything about them, so we'll have to get information. And I know where we'll get it. Where is Naruto-kun? Haku asked with interest. The blonde smiled slyly in response. A former member of Akatsuki, and after a pause, he added, Orochimaru. Chapter 12, Family Reunion. The frightened trinity ran headlong through the dark streets, not understanding the road. Stumbling over the abandoned rubbish, stumbling over the chipped stones, they still did not let themselves stop, for he was hiding in the darkness. Breathing heavily, they looked around, trying to see him in the night. But they could not make out anything but a thick, soul-destroying darkness. And only a guttural, courage-destroying roar, coming from somewhere far away, proved that he was still pursuing them. The roar grew stronger, as if closer. One of the trio, unable to stand it, turned around and shouted in a broken voice, "The element of fire! Fireball!" The two remaining ninja were relieved to feel the heat behind them. From behind the shoulders flashed a bright light, which instantly cut through the darkness of the night. But then the fire went out, and the darkness regained its own. And in a second there was a heart-rending cry, which was answered only by the joyful howl of the monster. One of the shinobi glanced sideways at his remaining partner. Maybe he'll back off a bit? I don't know, he said, breathing heavily. Just don't stop, I don't want to spend it. Here he was literally jerked somewhere back. Friend! But the shinobi could no longer help his comrade. The monster took him, and now it has come for him. The man, stumbling backwards, began to retreat, preparing to meet death face to face. Sweat ran down his cheeks, but he was determined. Behind him, the wind shook the burning lantern, and the ninja hurried to stand under it, as if expecting the bright light to scare away the monster. But he was wrong. He stepped out of the shadows, huge and bristling. On the fangs of his grinning mouth, the shinobi saw blood. The blood of his comrades. Swallowing, he plucked up the courage to look the beast in the eyes. In vain. It was as if death itself had taken on its most horrific form, and now bored him with its blood-red gaze. The mouth slowly opened, and the jaws, quivering in anticipation, slowly approached the victim, bathing him in the heavy smell of blood. "I'm not afraid of you," the shinobi bleated stutteringly, hitting the monster in the neck with a kunai with force. The beast twitched from the blow, but immediately turned its angry gaze back to its prey. And then the shinobi roared in the face. He finally could not stand it, falling into a faint. A short figure stepped out of the shadows. She was dressed in all black, so she could easily hide in the dark. "He didn't die, did he?" the man asked suspiciously. "You offend," the monster growled in response, shrinking to the size of a cat in front of his eyes. "Fuh, it's still hard to walk," the little fox complained, jumping onto the shoulders of the owner. "You will learn," the figure waved his hand. "Now let's go. And take this with you." His answer was the grumbling of an animal jumping to the ground, which with difficulty dragged a man driven by it by the scruff of the neck. Naruto's plan to guide his friend to the path of light was not bad. But there were too many links in it, and this complicated the matter a little. But the more Naruto thought, the more he became convinced that the path he had chosen was the right one. So, in order to pull Sasuke out of the pool of hatred, he must kill Itachi himself. Well, and grab Orochimaru at the same time. After all, at first saving a friend from a dark Sannin was his original goal. Although, something told Naruto that his friend, even though he was consumed by his revenge on his brother, was not a complete idiot, and he had a plan on how not to become the snake's new receptacle. And if so, then he is Uzumaki Naruto. He should only worry about Akatsuki. But, as already said, Naruto and his companions had absolutely no knowledge of Akatsuki. Which is why Naruto saw fit to make a brief truce with Orochimaru. Of course, once Uzumaki dealt with Akatsuki, he would come after him too, but for now, the Sannin was too valuable a source of information about his former colleagues, so Naruto decided to just ask him first. There was only one problem: Orochimaru was hiding no worse than Akatsuki, so finding him was not an easy task. Although, unlike the organization, Orochimaru did not hide everything. Thus, for example, the village of Sound flourished, which he founded in the former country of rice fields, which he successfully conquered some time ago. The Sound ninja, like other shinobi, often completed quests, so it wasn't hard to find them. Which, in fact, Naruto did in a short time. And even though the Sound trio caught his eye by chance, Uzumaki didn't flap his ears. After scaring them to death with the help of Kurama, Naruto captured Orochimaru's sixes, and they were immediately dealt with by Zabuza. As it turned out, the mist swordsman in interrogations was Adoka, cleaner than Ibiki Marino. So within a couple of hours, Uzumaki knew everything he wanted to know. More precisely, all that he was able to draw out of the inconsistent testimony of the frightened ninja. And even though he didn't know exactly where Orochimaru was hiding, he got the next key. This clue was the exact location of one of the Sannin's bases, and judging by the fact that the tongues told frightening stories about it, Orochimaru often appeared there. So Naruto decided not to waste time, especially since it was not far to go. "Naruto-sama," Zabuza addressed the boy. Uzumaki saw from the swordsman's face that he had long wanted to ask him something, but did not dare. "Now, finally, I decided to ask," yet there was not much left to the place. "Tell me, why don't we just kill Orochimaru himself when we meet?" Still, defeating one S-rank apostate is much easier than defeating several. Naruto didn't answer right away. He himself thought about it for a long time, but each time he came to the conclusion that Orochimaru's death would change little in his lost friend. "That won't help much," Naruto said softly, looking ahead with a sad look. "I escaped the village in order to get Sasuke back by snatching him from Orochimaru's clutches, but by coming face to face with Itachi, I was able to better understand why Sasuke left. If we kill Orochimaru, it won't bring Sasuke back. He will continue to wander the world in search of power. Do you think that Sasuke-kun will return to the village in revenge?" Haku said incredulously. "Perhaps when there is no one to take revenge on, he will understand the pointlessness of his departure." Naruto shrugged. Zabuza shook his head disapprovingly. "Naruto-sama, I know from experience that if a person is deprived of the desired revenge, then his anger falls on those who deprived him of this revenge." Uzumaki only smiled broadly in response. "All the better. To do this, Sasuke will definitely have to return to the village." Looking at each other, his comrades only sighed heavily, and continued on their way in silence. They didn't understand Naruto's logic, but if he had some kind of plan, then they would surely help him. In the meantime, the thickets were getting thicker and thicker. In order to move on, the shinobi had to use their swords. It was hard to believe that someone settled in such a wilderness, but if you remember exactly what Orochimaru preferred to do, then everything immediately fell into place. The impenetrable thickets were perfect for hiding a secret base in the depths of which murderous experiments were carried out. Naruto and his comrades made no mistake in trusting the captive's information. Behind another wall of overgrowth and branches, they saw a dark clearing, poorly illuminated by the midday sun, which they had been looking for so long, because of the dense crowns. Forged iron doors were dug directly into the ground, which, judging by the lack of a lock, were locked from the inside. It was clear they had found what they were looking for. Ready? Naruto asked as he drew his swords. 3 synchronized nods were his answer. Well then, thought Naruto, I really hope Orochimaru is here today. The chakra-soaked blades cut through the thick doors like butter. 3 strokes, a mighty blow, and an even triangle falls inward, letting intruders into the frightening darkness of the shelter. The stairs led them down for a very long time. We walked slowly, it was not enough to stumble in the dark and break our neck. In the lair of the enemy, death could not have been more ridiculous. Finally, the path straightened out and the group came to a halt. There was little to see in the darkness, so Naruto made several seals. Fire technique. Fireball. A jet of flame passed through the entire room, illuminating everything around. In passing, several torches on the walls were lit. But the main thing, Shinobi looked around. Now they were in what looked like a hallway, a small oval room. Behind the back is a staircase to the outside, ahead are 2 corridors leading deep into the base. We'll have to split up, Naruto said as he created a shadow clone. Zabutza, Haku, you go to the left. If you find something, the clone will dissipate, and I will come to you. Kurama, you are with me. Nodding, Zabutza removed one of the torches and moved in his direction. Naruto turned right. It was so dark and quiet all around that at first glance one could tell that the base was empty. Only Naruto wasn't kidding himself. His own instinct screamed that it was dangerous here, and the scent of the fox only echoed him. A solid corridor led on and on, no branches or rooms, only occasional turns. Uzumaki was already beginning to think that he would not find anything, when suddenly ahead, from around the corner, a light dawned. Trying to step quietly, Naruto looked around the corner a little. To his surprise, it turned out to be something like a guardhouse. The hall was quite large, even Naruto managed to notice several lattice doors that led in different directions. But most importantly, there were people in the hall. 2 shinobi with sound protectors were sitting at a table playing shogi. Naruto saw no need to interrupt them. After folding a couple of seals, he exhaled a powerful stream of air towards the guards. The gust sent the pair flying, banging their heads hard against the walls, knocking them out for a long time. Well, the boy, pleased with himself, calmly moved on. Suddenly, there was a prolonged rattle, and to Naruto's surprise, the passage behind him was closed by a stone block. Gotcha! Someone exclaimed. Naruto looked around the room and saw that on the wall, 3 meters from the floor, there was another grate, probably an additional corridor leading here. Behind the bars, a 3rd shinobi was smiling. The pockmarked black-eyed bastard was, apparently, very pleased that he managed to lure the intruder into a trap. Now we'll see what you're worth. The pockmarked man giggled disgustingly, pulling on some kind of lever. If you prove yourself, then Orochimaru-sama may leave you life. When Naruto heard the Sanin's name, the surprise on his face changed to readiness. Meanwhile, all the doors around him opened, and strange creatures that Naruto had never seen in his life were pouring through them with slow steps. Their skin was dark, bumpy, their eyes ceased to be human. They were larger than an adult, and often it was not just about muscle mass. Many monsters had outgrowths sticking out of their backs, like wings, some had horns, some had extra arms or legs. Naruto scolded himself with some black irony. He's already met this one. Sound 4, Sasuke. A cursed seal, then, the boy drawled thoughtfully, examining the crowd of mutants surrounding him. Though they all look far from Sasuke, Pockmarked was surprised that the boy who was among the monsters did not show fear. Grimacing with anger, he yelled at his master's test subjects, "What are you waiting for? Whoever kills the boy will get freedom." The monsters, hearing this, wasted no more time. Roaring wildly, they all rushed at Naruto. The nearest one was knocked to the floor by a grown Kurama. Roaring viciously, he rushed into the midst of freaks, using his fangs and claws. Naruto was not far behind him. A couple of monsters that approached him were immediately turned into a pile of meat by a series of strong slashing blows. Spinning around, Naruto sent out a cutting blast of wind that cut 3 more in half. At that moment, a particularly large individual hit him from behind with great force, but the boy slipped him a piece of one of his brothers as a replacement. Ducking behind the big man, he jumped on his back, and drove both blades hard into his neck. The creature roared, and after a short convulsions crashed onto the stone floor. Naruto didn't have time to fold, so he clumsily flew off against the wall. A couple of monsters wanted, it was, to take advantage of this, but there it was. The ninja fox, knocking them down, turned both of them into mincemeat with quick blows of his paws. The sound shinobi was at first completely confident in the success of his idea. Even when several of his captives were killed, he continued to laugh hysterically, waiting for the imminent death of the boy and his pet. That's just the boy, as if nothing had ever risen, and immediately burned the nearest creature with a fireball. As the charred monster fell, Naruto allowed himself to look the pockmarked one in the eyes and smile. Without taking his eyes off him, he folded the seals of the snake, dragon, tiger and horse. The element of fire. Wrath of the Phoenix. The boy exclaimed, exhaling many fireballs. Flames scattered throughout the room, burning many creatures in their path. Naruto calculated with satisfaction that at least half of the fruits of Orochimaru's experiments had died during the fight. With even greater satisfaction, he noticed that the sound shinobi, spitting on everything, ran away down the corridor. Time to end this, Kurama, Naruto said behind him. Remember, I wanted to combine the two elements and try what happens. I think the time has come. Alright, the fox answered, and stood closer to his Jinchuriki. He imagined how killer the technique would be, even though Naruto was trying it for the first time. So, despite the fact that the creatures began to squeeze the ring again, he remained in place, next to the boy. It was safer that way. Uzumaki began to furiously fold seals. There were many, but from the outside it was impossible to distinguish any of them. So only he knew that he was now mixing the seals of the wind and fire techniques. Naruto finished as quickly as he started. Clapping his hands, he clasped them in a tiger seal. His left hand turned red as if on fire, while the air around his right hand trembled. Fire absorption technique. And Naruto exhaled with force. At the same second, the entire room from floor to ceiling was filled with cruel flames. Moving from the boy in all directions, it burned everything in its path. And only Naruto himself, as well as Kurama, who clung to him, were safe. The fire raged for only a few seconds. Gradually, he went into the open doors, and there, in the distance, gradually went out. It turned out great, Databayo. Naruto coughed as he looked around the empty room that was still full of smoke. Still, the wind really makes the fire stronger. Yeah, Kurama answered him, falling heavily to the floor. And it really turned out great. Uzumaki nodded, but as he took a closer look at his battlefield, he immediately became sad. There were charred bodies lying around, some of them completely burned to dust from the fire. What's wrong with you, Naruto? Yes, I was thinking, the boy waved his hand. After all these people were simple prisoners, victims of Orochimaru's experiments. They are, in fact, no different from Sasuke. And I had to kill them all. Naruto, the fox said seriously. They are different from Sasuke. Apparently, they are the fruits of an unsuccessful experiment. They could never be the same. You freed them from suffering, gave them freedom. The Uzumaki smiled back at him weakly. You're probably right. He pulled out his blades from the coals into which his technique had turned the monsters. As I understand it, Orochimaru himself is not here. But I can't let this guy go. That's right, Kurama smiled broadly, after which he followed after Naruto, who had already knocked out the door to the upper corridor. This passage was no different from what Naruto had left behind. When he passed it, he found himself in a new room, which, judging by the cells, was a prison. As, in general, and the whole complex. In front of the camera stood a frightened sound shinobi, with whom this time there were 3 comrades. They immediately threw up their hands, which, by the way, were dressed in bracers already familiar to Naruto. He had already seen similar weapons in the Chunin exams, so he guessed that they were attacking him with sound. Only now, Naruto was completely different in front of the enemies. Of course, Uzumaki did not flatter himself with hopes that he had mastered all wind techniques, but he was smart enough to understand that it was air that conducts sound, as well as the fact that the elements of air can not only attack, but also defend. So Naruto just put some seals together to defend himself against the sound attack. The shinobi looked at the boy who stood in front of them in surprise, as if nothing had happened. What the? Air, Naruto replied in a mentor tone, nodding to the side. Indeed, if you look closely, you could see that the layers of air seem to have compressed towards the walls. Sound is conducted by air. So I just created a complete vacuum with the help of my element, dispersing the air to the sides. Therefore, your attack failed. Without waiting for their new steps, Naruto quickly jumped up to the shinobi and deuced to the body, and then with a powerful roundhouse kick sent one of them to the floor. The others tried to stop him, but Naruto, dodging their blows with a backflip, quickly closed the distance and pressed the 2 guards open-handed into his chest. In each palm trembled transparent swirling currents, blanks on which the boy had practiced to get the Rasengan. But for now, that was enough. Compressed air threw the sound shinobi back with such force that the steel bars they slammed into buckled. Wait! The pockmarked man yelled, falling to his knees. Do not kill me. Do you know where Orochimaru is now? Naruto asked sternly. Shinobi only shook his head in fear, and the boy, thanks to the fox, realized that he was not lying. Sighing, he took out one of the scrolls, after which he activated the seal, and all four were sucked into the scroll. Naruto was about to leave when a strange sound in one of the cells caught his attention. Looking through the bars, he was surprised to find a girl in the cell. She leaned against the wall in fear, and when she noticed Naruto, she screamed, "Please don't touch me. Don't worry, I won't hurt you," Naruto reassured her. "Now I'll let you out of here." To the girl's new cry, he swung his ninjato, cutting them off the hinges of the door. "That's it," Naruto smiled, holding out his hand, "Come out, you're free." The girl stumbled out of the dark cell, giving Naruto a chance to see her. Apparently, she was about his age, perhaps a little younger. She had bright red hair, now very disheveled, light scarlet eyes, and very pale skin. Broken glasses sat askew on his nose. "Who are you?" she asked, still fearful in her voice. The boy didn't blame her. He stood in front of her, spattered with blood, so he tried to smile at her as friendly as possible. "My name is Uzumaki Naruto." At these words, the expression on the girl's face changed from frightened to surprised. "Uzumaki? You too?" "Same." Naruto asked. "My name is Karen," the girl introduced herself. "I am from the Uzumaki clan. We must be related," Naruto shrugged. "I heard that after the destruction of the maelstrom, the Uzumaki spread throughout the world." "Well, okay, little sister Karen." At this address the girl was a little embarrassed. "Let's get out of here." The girl nodded in agreement, then followed Naruto. They walked in silence for a while, but Naruto saw that the girl was looking at him with a strange look and was trying to ask him something, but did not dare. "Naruto," she called softly as the boy removed the boulder blocking the way back with a few explosive tags. "If you're an Uzumaki, why do you have blonde hair? I thought that all members of our clan had red hair." "My mother was an Uzumaki," Naruto smiled back. "I bear her last name. But I got the appearance from my father. He was Namikaze." "Sure," the girl nodded. When they reached the hallway, Haku and Zabuza were already waiting for them there. Karen was startled at first when she spotted them, but Naruto took her hand reassuringly. "These are friends." "Haku, Zabuza, did you find anything?" "Absolutely nothing," Zabuza shook his head. "Except for a couple of frenzied monsters that ran through the local tunnels." "Alright, let's get out," Naruto nodded. Once they were on the surface, Haku and Zabuza looked questioningly at their leader. Sighing, Naruto introduced the girl to them. "This is Karen. She was a prisoner, I freed her," and he turned to the girl. "Karen, tell me where your relatives are, and we will take you to them." In response, the girl just sniffed her nose and wept softly. "It's clear." The girl had nowhere to go. Naruto remained silent, not knowing what to say. He also did not know what to do with the former captive. But he knew one thing, he couldn't just leave her. "Listen to me, Karen," he said to the tearful Uzumaki, "how do you feel about coming with us? Still, after all, we are relatives." The girl looked at him in surprise, and then, with tears, fell into open arms. Apparently, this unfortunate woman, like Naruto himself, did not know what the love of relatives was, and now she was glad that at least someone had appeared. And Naruto himself was happy that he found, albeit so unexpectedly, someone whom he could call his own blood. Suddenly the girl, happy with the end of her loneliness, pulled away from him. "No, brother Naruto," she sobbed. "I can harm you and your friends." Then Naruto, hugging the crying Karen again, noticed 3 black tomo around her neck. The cursed seal so familiar to him. "Damn," Naruto swore, nevertheless hugging the girl tighter. "We'll take her out, Karen." "Here, I'll take it off you," he said. Karen whispered through her tears, shaking her head, that only he can take her away. "What is Orochimaru in front of all the power of the Uzumaki clan?" Naruto said with a wicked smile. Karen, surprised by his smile, calmed down. Something about this boy made her believe. With him, she felt warm and at ease. As if he was able to protect her from everything. "Now let's go," he said, helping her to her feet. "You need to eat and rest. The nearest town is a few miles from here." And the whole group moved away from the shelter of the dark Sannin. Naruto was satisfied. Even though he didn't learn anything that could point to Orochimaru's current location, he found something more. Quite by chance, he stumbled upon perhaps the only person close to him. Now, in addition to friends, he could have a real family, a family that he would definitely protect, no matter what it cost him. P.S. from the author, here is a new chapter. I hope you liked it, thank you very much, leave feedback. Chapter 13, S-Rank Criminal. From Konoha, falcons flew in different directions with quick arrows, trying to convey their messages to the addressees as soon as possible. The villagers followed the birds with surprised looks, for no one understood what kind of news could require such an urgent notification. Only a few shinobi, namely the senior zenin who were members of the council, knew what was going on. One of them was Kakashi. He looked after the proud birds with undisguised sadness, unable to accept what they would bring on their wings. He still couldn't believe that this had actually happened. After giving the Hokage a full report of his failure, Hatake felt that something serious was about to happen, but that this was it. Kakashi hadn't expected this. When he, Asuma, Kurenai and Guy came to the council, they could not even imagine that they would have to make such a decision. But just looking at Tsunade's face, full of confusion, and then into Danzo's eyes, which shone with triumph, everything immediately became clear. Anyway, Kakashi figured it out. The Hokage had no right to hide what had happened from the elders, as he himself did not hide from the leader of the village that the seal of Naruto had fallen and the Nine Tails were no longer holding back, so Tsunade told Danzo, Hamura and Koharu everything. And for the young fugitive, that was the end. Kakashi still painfully recalled how a proud Danzo slowly rose from his seat to announce the agenda. Like a bolt from the blue, there were accusations against Uzumaki Naruto of all mortal sins. The elder did not forget anything, remembering the murder of his own people, whom he passed off as ordinary Anbu, and the boy's use of forbidden techniques like Edo Tensei. And when the Zenin heard that the Jinchuriki had released the Kyuubi, the fact that the seal had fallen as a result of exhaustion, the old stump deftly lowered, the assembly was finally in the hands of the root leader. We have no other choice. Danzo croaked then, looking around the audience with a belligerent look. If Uzumaki continues to commit crimes, Konoha's reputation will be trampled into the dirt. We must notify all the hidden villages of his betrayal, otherwise our allies will no longer trust us, which is not surprising. How can you trust people who cover up crimes? We have no other choice, we must declare Naruto Uzumaki an apostate. Kakashi flinched at the memory, a single tear rolling down his cheek. Only a few Zenin spoke out against Danzo's proposal, Count himself, Kurenai, Asuma, Guy, Nara, and a couple of their mutual friends. The rest warmly supported the elder. Even the Hokage's arguments that Naruto were the Kyuubi's Jinchuriki, and that in the event of his capture, the Nine Tails could fall into the wrong hands, and in the event of death, break free altogether, were discarded. The elders simply put a bounty 10 times higher on a living Naruto than on a dead one. And so the falcons with this news flew to all corners of the world, carrying only one piece of news on their wings. From this day on, Uzumaki Naruto is a rank S renegade. Kakashi was in the Anbu, so he saw through Danzo's idea. The old man was a graded calic, so it was foolish to believe that he let everything take its course. No, having forced the Hokage and the council to declare the boy a nukenin of such a high rank, and accordingly give the right to destroy him, he thought out a plan for his further actions. Konoha had spies almost everywhere, so even if the Anbu of the other hidden villages got on Naruto's trail, the Konoha would know about it. In addition, even if the boy is killed, the Nine Tails may not snatch the opportunity to leave his body, and Konoha will have a chance to take him back. The thing was, according to standard Anbu protocol, special forces fighters after neutralizing foreign fugitives of S rank should always seal the body of their victim. A killed person of this level could tell a lot about his strengths and abilities, unless there was a special indication of complete destruction, as is the case with Zabuza and the Anbu of the Mist. Danzo also took this into account. Even if Uzumaki dies, the imposed seals will keep the Kyuubi in his body for some time, giving a chance to get him back for an appropriate reward, or as a result of diplomatic, or even military, pressure. While Kakashi thought the Konoha shinobi would undoubtedly be the main hunters of Naruto, the rest of the countries were notified more simply for the sake of diplomatic etiquette. But if earlier the main goal of the leaf was to return the draped genin to the walls of the village, now every zenin or Anbu will try to eliminate Naruto as an enemy of the village. And it was sad. Naruto, Kakashi whispered under his breath, get even stronger to survive. Get as strong as you can. Don't let them kill you. The only answer he received was the rustle of leaves swaying in the wind, and the nervous hiccups of a blonde boy meditating 1,000 miles from Konoha. Let's return to Naruto and his comrades, who so unexpectedly became one more person. Karen was able to fit into Naruto's team very quickly. The girl had been held captive for a long time, so she was glad to finally escape from the dark, creepy dungeon. In addition, she was not just free, Naruto was now with her, albeit barely familiar, but still Uzumaki. In just a couple of days, distant relatives became so close that they no longer hesitated to call each other brother and sister. Naruto was not surprised by this situation, because the girl told a lot about herself. With heavy pain in his heart, Naruto listened to the fact that Karen, just like himself, practically did not know her parents, who, being shinobi of the grass village, died, leaving their little daughter an orphan, so she always wanted to have a loved one. But pity and sympathy quickly turned into anger, as soon as the girl mentioned Orochimaru. As it turned out, Karen, leaving her native village, she came across a snake Sannin and voluntarily went with him. But the girl did not yet know why exactly she was needed by the person who sheltered her, who, in appearance, was so sympathetic. Realizing that his sister was already having a hard time, Naruto tried to surround her with warmth and care, leaving her no time to remember her difficult past. And, as it seemed to him, he did it very well. In addition, he was helped by Haku and Zabuza, who received Karen incredibly warmly, trying to become real friends with her. Haku was especially good at it, although, as Naruto himself thought, the warmly smiling black-haired boy could not help endearing him. To please the girl, Naruto first decided to take her to Uzumaki's hiding place, the same one where he and his team got hold of equipment for the first time. Naruto, Haku, and Zabuza traveled all the time during those half a year, but still, all three of them agreed that having a stronghold wouldn't hurt them. So in their free time from missions, the Trinity restored the same dilapidated building left over from the time of the Maelstrom. Now here, instead of ruins, there was a real island of Uzumaki, which seemed to have been transported through the decades to the present and, hiding from prying eyes in an impenetrable thicket, was looking forward to its owners. Seeing the delight on Karen's face at the sight of the shelter, Naruto decided to rest in this wilderness for a while, away from civilization. There were many reasons for this, and not all of them were tied to the red-haired girl. Naruto, assessing from the outside his battle with friends and Sannin, was not satisfied. Something told him that if he had continued the fight then, Jiraiya would certainly have dragged his lifeless carcass to Konoha. But the boy was about to appear before the clear eyes of another legendary ninja who was no weaker than his eccentric colleague, so some doubts settled in his soul. Naruto, after a bit of brainstorming, came to the conclusion that before starting out again in search of the next secret lair of Orochimaru, he should practice for some time. So it's not surprising that for several days in a row there was complete chaos around the hidden hideout of Uzumaki. About 100 blonde boys with strained faces hypnotized their tense palms, alternately shouting out all sorts of exclamations that were incomprehensible to unprepared people, among which Dadabayo was the most decent. It was Naruto who tried to create a Rasengan on his own, but so far without success. And, according to Uzumaki himself, an important role in his failures was played by the good-natured girlish giggles coming from above. On the balcony of the second floor of the house perched Karen, who also did not waste time. She had a bunch of different scrolls with her, which she studied with pleasure, sometimes throwing a cheerful look at the straining Naruto. As it turned out, the girl was not devoid of talents. First, Karen was a sensor, and quite a strong one at that. She was able to recognize people by their chakra from quite a distance, which was a very useful ability. She also had a clear talent for medical techniques. And, since Uzumaki had a lot of information on these sections, Karen also improved, because she could not lose face in front of her brother and new friends. Which, by the way, also trained, only by the stream, yet their techniques required a source of water. Suddenly, an uneven, uncontrollable flow of blue chakra swirled wildly on one of Naruto's hands. The boy wheezed softly as he tried his best to stabilize the technique, but he was violently thrown against the wall. Naruto! Karen screamed in fright, slumping over the railing. Naruto! Calm down, came a voice from behind her. It was just a clone. Turning around, the girl shuddered. In front of her stood a small fox cub in a kimono, which at the moment was eating meat impaled on a stick. Naruto did not hide from his sister who this kitsune was, and the animal itself did not show aggression, but still she was a little afraid of him. He'll be fine, Kurama continued, coming closer to the girl and, closing his eyes, bowed his head slightly. Karen was already surprised, not for the first time, but nevertheless she began to gently stroke the animal, which made it purr lustfully. The Uzumaki glanced at Naruto huffing below. It was strange that her brother contained the most dangerous of bijou, but it was much more strange now to caress this bijou so peacefully, scratching behind his ear. I hope so, she said softly. He tries so hard that he just can't fail. But why is he torturing himself like this? After licking the sauce off his paw, Kurama replied, he wants to get back his friend who escaped from Konoha. A strange desire, Karen said weightily. And an even weirder performance. Why return a friend to the village if he himself left it? The fox smiled knowingly with all his fangs. He himself often asked this question to his Jinchuriki, but received only a chaotic explanation and a huge boost of confidence in response. Well, he could only trust Naruto. You see, he said aloud meanwhile, his friend Sasuke didn't just leave the village. In search of power, he went to Orochimaru. Karen froze in horror, rolling her eyes. Can't be. She whispered. Maybe, the fox waved his paw abstractly. So, that's why Naruto is constantly training and improving. By the way, in that dungeon where we found you, we were hoping to meet Orochimaru. True, not to kill him, the fox frowned, because his thoughts were again entangled in the thorns of Naruto's plan. But, yes, that's not the point. We still need to know where it hides. But Karen wasn't listening to him anymore. Naruto! She yelled as she tumbled over the railing again. We need to talk. When the clones with loud pops disappeared, and only the real Uzumaki remained, she added, looking into his eyes, I want to tell you something about Orochimaru. Chapter 14, Snake Track Number 1. Naruto, Zabuza, Haku and even Kurama sat in a circle and prepared to listen. Everyone was very interested in what Karen might know about the snake Sannin. After all, the girl for a long time did not see anything but the dark corners of her cell. At the time you saved me, Karen said, meanwhile, I was in Orochimaru's captivity for about a year. But I spent only a few months in that very shelter. At first, I was generally very often transferred from base to base. Are you saying, Naruto asked in surprise, that you know where Orochimaru is hiding? No, Karen shook her head. I can only find a few of his hideouts where they kept me. But it is quite possible that we will meet him there. Anyway, sometimes I could feel Orochimaru's chakra, but I didn't see him. Naruto looked at his friends. Looks like they're starting to get lucky. If Karen really could lead them to other facilities, then it's possible that they could find Orochimaru. Well, or at least attract enough attention of the Sannin, and he himself will find Naruto. Where are these shelters? The blonde asked. One each in the land of fire, hot springs and lightning, as well as 2 more in the land of sound. Zabuza chuckled thoughtfully, scratching his chin. I think we should start with the first one, he said. How far is it? A couple of days' journey, the girl replied. I'll just say right away that the security there is much better than you met in the shelter where I was. Karen bit her lip. There is not only a laboratory, but also something like a support base. Bases? Zabuza asked doubtfully. In the land of fire? I can't believe that Leaf Sanbu missed this. Zabuza, that's not the point, Naruto cut him off. Orochimaru is a cunning snake, so it's not surprising that he managed to hide his sixes. And is it worth worrying about them if soon they will no longer be there? At such a statement, Haku broke into a bloodthirsty smile. He was echoed by Naruto himself. Zabuza just shrugged, but Kurama shook his head with his paw covering his eyes. Again, you don't know where you're poking around, the fox said in a disapproving tone. Surrender to you this Orochimaru with his Akatsuki. We have already discussed this. The boy pulled the animal to him and began to stroke it. I need information about Akatsuki, and I'll get it. Okay, now let's get ready and sleep. Tomorrow we'll move out at dawn. In appearance, Orochimaru's base did not look suspicious, especially compared to its previous counterpart. Indeed, even Naruto admitted that the dark, ivy-covered cave looked much more innocent than the steel doors dug into the ground. Watching this entrance into the unknown, Uzumaki thought about how to get inside more easily. Still, he was never a fool, and lately he had shown miracles of intelligence and ingenuity in general, so that he had the strength to guess that the entrance was guarded. That's just what. And by whom? Where is the security? The boy muttered under his breath. There was a rustle behind her, and Karen's head rested on her shoulder. There are 2 in those bushes, the girl pointed her finger at the thickets to the right of the cave. 1 sat on a tree on the left, and 3 more in a cave, right behind the growth. Naruto raised an eyebrow in surprise, marveling at his sister's ability. Of course, he already knew that she was a censor, only hearing about it was one thing. But seeing the use of these abilities in practice was another. The girl instantly managed to figure out all the enemies, solving several problems at once. Great! Naruto praised Karen. Don't you feel Orochimaru by any chance? The girl, inspired at first by the effect produced, immediately lowered her head and shook her head in disappointment. Even if he's at the base, I can't feel him from here, too far away. Well, you'll have to come visit, Naruto shrugged. Haku, take what's on the tree, Zabuza, bushes are behind you. Grass rustled nearby, and the shinobi who had been disguised hitherto left to carry out the order. Naruto himself prepared kunai and also moved through the woods towards the cave. Wait here, sis, he smiled over his shoulder. Karen nodded and remained where she was. Even though she owned taijutsu and some ninjutsu, she was still of little use in a serious battle. Her specialization was not the same. So all she had to do was wait for her comrades to remove the sentries, and keep an eye on the surrounding background, in case new enemies appeared out of place nearby. In fairness, it should be noted that the wait was not long. It seemed that Naruto had just been there, and the next moment kunai glowing with chakra were already flying towards the cave, to the handles of which the unpredictable ninja attached balls with paralyzing gas. At the same time, sounds of a struggle were heard in the bushes, which, judging by the crunch, ended in broken bones and other injuries. And from the tree on which the observer was sitting, on a thick rope and with a gag in his mouth, this same observer was hanging. When the trinity of saboteurs, pleased with themselves, lined up in front of the cave, they were joined by Karen, as well as Kurama, who until now was trying to find the back entrance. Judging by the mental report, unsuccessfully. "Let's go," Naruto waved his hand, after which he cut through thick ivy with his blade. The gas had already knocked out the grief of the guards, so they did not meet any resistance at the entrance. Stepping over the drooling shinobi, the sabotage quintet moved deeper into the base through a dimly lit tunnel. Orochimaru obviously saved on torches, which mercilessly smoked and gave so little light that he could barely see what was happening under his feet. Naruto walked ahead, closing the column of Karen, who, at the direction of her brother, periodically attached explosive seals to the walls. Even before the attack, Uzumaki thought out a plan for a possible retreat. Although, the boy was already beginning to doubt that they would need him at all, since no one had met them for a long time. Only when the tunnel began to end and a bright light began to dawn ahead, Karen gave a signal that there were enemies ahead. "Don't you feel Orochimaru?" Naruto whispered to her. The girl shook her head. Naruto sighed sadly and shrugged his shoulders before nodding to Haku and Zabuza. The two immediately rushed past the guards, knocking them out in a variety of ways. So the Uzumaki couple, passing by, only saw a few unconscious bodies scattered all over the place. An unenviable fate awaited the last sane shinobi. The big man Zabuza knocked out the front door for them. In a word, the group decided to go through it, since the circumstances were so fortunate. Nothing complicated. Pleased with himself, Zabuza proudly walked forward first, finding himself in a large hall. "I'm even a little disappointed." When several sound shinobi ran out from the other end into the noise, he smirked rather, defiantly put the decapitator on his shoulder and nodded mockingly, inviting the opponents to attack. Those, moving away from surprise, put on masks of readiness on their faces and began to disperse around the hall with slow steps, gaining a moment for an attack. The one on the left attacked first. With a loud cry, he rushed straight at Zabuza, intending to cut him with a kunai. With a slight smirk, the mist swordsman intercepted the blow with a single hand, after which, with a sharp movement, he broke the boy's own limb, from which a more useless weapon immediately fell out. Two other Zvukovites also did not stand still. One intended to plant a kunai directly into Zabuza's back, but a powerful kick in the chest from Zabuza, who caught himself in time, discouraged him from fighting along with his lungs. The second swordsman hooked a cleaver on the ankle, filling up on the floor. And he did all this without letting go of the broken limb of the very first unfortunate man, who now completely lost consciousness from the shock of pain. "Cool, Dadabayo." Naruto whistled, deftly attaching paralyzing seals to the defeated ninja. Something weak in Orochimaru's servants. "Do not relax, brother Naruto, you never know what awaits us ahead." Naruto just snorted in response. He was completely confident in his abilities. Without hesitation, he pushed the next door. And immediately somehow regretted his indiscretion. Several dozen dissatisfied, surprised, incomprehensible and frankly angry looks immediately turned to him. Behind the door was not the next corridor, and not even an empty room. Naruto, followed by his companions, frankly stumbled into what looked like a training room, brazenly interrupting the sound ninja training taking place there. At first, the Zvukovites did not understand what kind of newcomers were walking around here. Then they saw the protectors of leaf and mist on their foreheads, and little by little it dawned on them that these were not new ones, but enemies. Of course, everyone immediately grabbed weapons, of which there was an unmeasured amount, intending to chop the intruders into small cabbages. How wrong they were. Yes, the sound shinobi had a complete numerical advantage, in general, somewhere around 6 to 1. But they didn't know who they were dealing with. The most arrogant, who dared to attack first, Naruto swept away with his beloved airstrike. The next wave was taken over by Zabuza, who even in such a limited space was an unsurpassed master of kenjutsu. The shinobi of the sound could not keep up with his deadly lightning dance, like broken dolls falling under the blows of the decapitator. He was assisted by Haku, whose needles had deprived more than one victim of the Zabuza sword of a chance to defend themselves. Naruto didn't stand aside either. Instructing Kurama to guard Karen, he rushed into the thick of the fight. "Shadow cloning!" he exclaimed, taking on a particularly large group. The copies of the blonde appearing everywhere did not frighten the armed shinobi much to the teeth. They immediately rushed to the attack. Naruto, having given his clones the command to defend himself, retreated into the shadows, knocking out individual enemies from the enemy formation with well-aimed shurikens. Needless to say, chakra-enhanced steel inflicted monstrous damage, leaving behind only bodies torn into meat and pools of blood. True, most of the hits weren't fatal, so the sound shinobi, writhing in pain, had a chance to consider whether they had done the right thing by coming to Orochimaru's service. Although, to their credit, Orochimaru's servants fought fiercely, generously sprinkling Naruto's copies with various sonic and fire techniques. True, a special clone of the blonde, posing as the original, just as generously replenished the Naruto army with new fighters, which, in fact, themselves sought to get hit in order to protect comrades fighting aside from a crazy fireball or an overly clever sound wave. Gradually, Naruto got tired of sitting on the ceiling, and the shells were coming to an end. Going to the rear of his opponents, he simply folded several seals, after which a shock wave passed from his clasped palms around the room, scattering shinobi of sound along the walls. The clones, by the way, a moment before the attack quickly regrouped around Haku, Zabuza and Karen with Kurama, so that their technique did not hurt. Alright, let's go check out the rest. Melancholy distancing himself from the carnage, Naruto waved his hand, moving towards the exit. Although, something tells me that our Sannin friend is not here. He turned out to be absolutely right. All they could find was a small laboratory with some medical equipment and various chemicals, a couple of living rooms, and a few ominously empty cells. And that's it. No clues that could lead to Orochimaru, no commander who might have valuable information. It looks like the Sannin was paranoid, otherwise how to explain his secretiveness? It's a pity, it's a shame, but Naruto was not going to lose heart. There were still a few places that would surely tell them more. I'm sorry, brother, Karen said sadly as they walked towards the exit of the cave. I failed you. What are you talking about? Naruto said in surprise. It's not your fault that Orochimaru suffers from persecution mania and constantly changes hiding places. Sister, you are generally well done that you were able to remember so much. Naruto's smile made Karen feel a lot better, and she walked with a more confident step. What can I say, she didn't want to disappoint Naruto, and the fact that he wasn't angry seemed to have lifted a stone from her soul. Thank you, she smiled flatteringly. Now let's sit down somewhere, and I will finally treat your wounds, Zabuza-san. Naruto and Haku burst out laughing, for it was impossible to remain indifferent to the sight of a medic ninja chasing their patient, and this very patient, who deftly dodged medical jutsu, alternately assuring the embittered Kunoichi that everything was fine with him, but with these scars it will look cooler on the shoulder and chest. Laughing and joking, Naruto and his friends moved towards the campsite, not yet imagining that much more dangers awaited him ahead. The young Nuke did not even suspect that clouds had already begun to gather over him. Chapter 15, Snake Track Number 2. Naruto did not waste any time, and the next morning he went to the land of hot springs. True, even greater disappointment awaited him there. Orochimaru's next refuge met him with empty dusty rooms in which there was not a soul. Judging by the internal devastation and desolation, the Sannin left this base a long time ago. Angry at the failure, Naruto took off on the road again the same day. But even though Uzumaki wanted to find Orochimaru as soon as possible, he understood that it was dangerous to appear in the land of sound. Maybe that's where the snake was hiding, but first Naruto wanted to check out the places further away from the sound village, which meant a long journey to the land of lightning. A very long and dangerous journey. The lightning was far away, and the country, like its hidden village, was a very militarized organization, so that suddenly appeared unknown apostates risked not living long in their territory. But as Naruto had already said, they had no other choice, they had to take risks. In addition, the presence of Orochimaru at his base in lightning was very likely. The aggressiveness of the same cloud perfectly kept at a distance everyone who would like to get a scalp of a Sannin.